Hello, Chad. We are live with next day of our प्रिय उज्बेकिस्तान चेस कप एंड हमारे सामने बैठे हैं हमारे आज के ओपोनेंट एंड देयर वी सी द हैंडशेक्स बिटवीन Ian Nepomniachtchi and Erigesi Arjun and handshakes instantly. Arjun, I think फिर से थोड़ा सा लेट मेरी तरह लेकिन just in time and instantly pawn to e4 played by Ian Nepomniachtchi. Not to forget, Ian पिछले 3 कैंडिडेट्स खेले हैं, 3 में से 2 वर्ल्ड चैंपियनशिप्स खेले हैं and he of course will be a hard opponent to beat with the black pieces and also not to forget कि भाई कैंडिडेट्स अभी यही मैच होने वाला है, so will be very exciting. And chat again, 3 Indians playing this event. Welcome to day number 3 of this important event जिसमें हम कैंडिडेट्स के स्पॉट डिसाइड हो सकते हैं, जिसमें इंडिया नंबर 1 रेटिंग स्पॉट भी अप फॉर ग्रैब्स, फिडे सर्किट का रेटिंग स्पॉट सर्किट कैंडिडेट्स का स्पॉट अप फॉर ग्रैब्स एंड बहुत सारी चीज अप फॉर ग्रैब्स एंड इंडिया नंबर 1 का भी टाइटल आज फिर से स्विच हो सकता है. वी कैन सी राइट नाउ, बाय द वे आई डोंट नो व्हाई अर्जुन की एक्यूरेसी 89 दिखा रहा है. नहीं भाई, अभी तो खेला ही नहीं बेचारा. But anyways, I think we'll have the accuracy updated soon. And chat, बहुत important date. All 3 Indians, Arjun, Prag, as well as Arvind, having the black pieces today. So बहुत important है आज काफी सॉलिड स्टार्ट करना एंड देन अगर मौके मिले तो इंस्टेंटली काउंटर अटैक करना. एंड नेपो बहुत फास्ट खेलते हैं एंड अर्जुन हैज बीन अ स्टार इन हिज ओपनिंग प्रेप सो फार. बट क्या भी हो, आज भी उनकी ओपनिंग प्रेप खतरनाक होगी. दैट्स द पॉइंट टू नोटिस. एंड चैट, वेलकम टू एन अमेजिंग सैटरडे. क्या चल रहा है भाई? वीकेंड स्टार्ट हो चुका है एंड थोड़ा हम चेस देखेंगे, थोड़े मजे करेंगे, थोड़े गप्पे मारेंगे. सो चैट, व्हाट्स अप? We're gonna go to candidates directly. Not really, but अगर प्रग ये टूर्नामेंट जीतते हैं तो he pretty much almost seals his candidate spot. अगर अगर अरविंद जीतते हैं इवेंट तो सडनली ही माइट स्टील प्रग स्पॉट देयर. सो काफी कुछ यहां पे ग्रैब्स के लिए है एंड लेट्स सी व्हाट हैपेंस. एंड ऑफ कोर्स half of the year is over, so Prag is very likely to win that spot. And not to forget, if Arjun keeps increasing his rating, keeps winning, then he might steal the rating spot from Hikaru there. And of course, chat, जैसा हमें पता है कि कल Prag ने गुकेश को ratings में overtake किया. If Prag wins today and Arjun even just draws, Prag might even overtake Arjun and become the new India number 1. So super high stakes. And we have e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6. वही opening जो आप और मैं भी खेलते हैं. लेकिन अब नेपो क्या खेलेंगे? Will he play bishop c4 Italian? Will he play bishop e5 Spanish? कहां का क्विजीन उनको पसंद है मुझे पता नहीं, बट ओपनिंग जहां तक मुझे आइडिया दोनों में काफी फ्लुएंट है. इयान नेपोमनियाchtchi एंड दोनों अपने मूड के हिसाब से खेलते हैं. इतनी वर्ल्ड चैंपियनशिप खेल चुके हैं. एंड द बिशप गोज आउट टू b5. स्लो मोशन में खेला उन्होंने बिशप b5 के ऊपर. दैट मींस ही इज आल्सो हैविंग सम वेपन बिहाइंड हिज हैंड. भाई कुछ ना क्रेजी प्रिपरेशन तो है. अर्जुन, नेपो मजा आएगा आज. बिल्कुल भाई. चैट क्या हाल चलेगा सबके सबसे? चैट में हाई लिख दो भाई. साइलेंट साइलेंट किलर सिर्फ फार्ट्स होते हैं भाई. लोग जल्दी से स्पैम कर दो भाई हाई इन द चैट. a6 खेला, बिशप a4 आया एंड ऑफ कोर्स नाउ नाइट f6 कुड बी ऑन द बोर्ड प्रीटी सून. एंड अर्जुन की प्रेप हैज बीन फैंटास्टिक इन दिस इवेंट. जिस तरह पीस चल ही रहे हैं ना, इट काइंड ऑफ एक्सूड्स कॉन्फिडेंस. ऑफ कोर्स नेपो कैसल्स क्विकली, वो बिल्कुल भी टाइम वेस्ट नहीं करते ओपनिंग के अंदर. प्लेज वेरी क्विकली. इफ अर्जुन विंस द इवेंट दैट मींस उन्होंने बहुत रेटिंग गेन करी होगी. इसका मतलब वो हिकारू के बहुत पास आ चुके हैं एंड इसका मतलब कि वो स्पॉट, रेटिंग स्पॉट कैंडिडेट्स का वो ले सकते हैं. सो हर किसी इंडियन के लिए यहां पे कैंडिडेट्स के लिए बहुत पास पहुंचने का एक इंपॉर्टेंट मोमेंट है. सो लेट्स सी हु विल बी गुकेश चैलेंजर. फिलहाल के लिए कैसल्स हुआ एंड नाउ अर्जुन is thinking. So that's very interesting. Maybe castles was not his preferred move, but I think that's the most logical move in the position. So अपनी prep याद करते हुए e4, e5 में क्या होगा. And not to forget, Prag और अरविंद भी खेलते हुए. Arjun drew yesterday. Prag won yesterday. लेकिन अरविंद लॉस्ट yesterday. तो कैसे वो गेम खेला जाएगा, बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट देखना होगा. उनका कमबैक, ही इज ड्रॉप्ड फ्रॉम वर्ल्ड नंबर 9 टू वर्ल्ड नंबर 16 इन अराउंड 3 गेम्स. तो उनको भी कमबैक करना बहुत जरूरी. अब थोड़ा हम स्लो होते हैं चैट. अब गेम स्टार्ट हो चुकी है. तो चैट कैसा चल रहा है भाई तुम्हारा सैटरडे? स्ट्रीम लाइक करना मत भूलना भाई. जल्दी से 500 लाइक हो जाए तो मजा आ जाए भाई. एक बंदे की मेंबरशिप हम देंगे. एंड मीनवाइल अर्जुन प्लेइंग नाइट टेक्स e4. e4 पॉन मार दिया उन्होंने. यहां पे आई थिंक d4 खेलेंगे नेपो. ही विल ब्रेक इन द सेंटर. नॉट टू फॉरगेट ब्लैक का किंग अभी एटलीस्ट 2 चाल दूर है कैसलिंग से. व्हाइट हैज कैसल, रुक e1 आ रहा है. इसका मतलब d4 would be a very normal move. Of course rook e1 possible है. Apparently queen e2 भी possible है, but that would be surprising. I think d4 will be played very soon. ये लो मेरी हाय भाई. बाकी 300 लोग कहाँ है भाई? कौन देख रहा है ये स्ट्रीम? भाई मुझे पता नहीं था कि भाई यहाँ पे आवर स्ट्रीम इज पॉपुलर इन द गोस्ट कम्युनिटी आल्सो भाई. दैट्स क्रेजी. बाय द वे, ओके ये क्या था भाई, नेपो का पॉन एडजस्ट किया A6 पे। मेरे को लगा ये क्या चलने वाला है भाई वहां कोपचे में। ओके, पॉन टू D4 प्लेड, वेरी लॉजिकल मूव, एंड ब्लैक यहां B5 खेलेगा, बिशप को धक्का लगाएगा, द बिशप विल ड्रॉप बैक, या प्लेड ऑन द बोर्ड। सारे जल्दी जीएम बनेगा, बिल्कुल भाई, बहुत जल्दी, बहुत जल्दी भाई। आई थिंक विद इन 100 years, 200 years इन माई नेक्स्ट जन्म फॉर श्योर भाई। सो बिशप B3 आ चुका है, एंड नेक्स्ट आई थिंक D5 ऑन द बोर्ड। एंड नाउ व्हाइट हैज आई थिंक अ कपल ऑफ ऑप्शंस, वो पॉन से मार सकते हैं, वो नाइट से मार सकते हैं। डी टेक C5 इज द मोर पॉपुलर मूव। आप एक्सचेंजेस अवॉइड करते हो, बिल्कुल उसी से मारा उन्होंने। एंड स्पेशली नाइट ऑन C6 इज अ वियर्ड पीस, राइट? सी पॉन रोक रहा है, सो नाइट से मारने का सेंस नहीं होता। बिशप कम्स आउट टू E6 बिकॉज D5 पॉन हैंगिंग था। एंड अब यहां पे यूजुअली C3, नाइट D2, बिशप E3 एंड A4 ऑफ कोर्स, H3, ये सब मूव्स मिला मिला के किसी ना किसी मूव ऑर्डर में आते हैं। एंड काफी थ्योरेटिकल लाइन है ये, बट अर्जुन फिलहाल के लिए बहुत बढ़िया प्रेप में है। हाय सहज भाई, बिल्कुल। हेलो गाइस, आज मैं कान हिलाऊंगा, तो मैं हूं सहज भाई। मैं बिल्कुल भी फ्लाइट में ट्रैवल नहीं कर रहा हूं। सो या मी हियर। ओके, सो यार विल विन, क्या एक बंदा, यो चैट भाई, ये हटा दो भाई, मेरे बाल अभी सफेदी दिख रही है भाई। आई लुक लाइक सम ओल्ड वाइज 55 year old गाय नहीं रही भाई। फुल स्क्रीन ले जाओ भाई अभी के लिए, जब तक बाल सूखते हैं एंड जब तक मैं अपना हेयर कलर ना कर लूं। एंड फिलहाल के लिए भाई अर्जुन भाई अपने मस्त पोज में बैठे हैं, अपने हाथ फोल्ड करके एज यूजुअल भाई। टू बी ऑनेस्ट, व्हेन आई लुक एट अर्जुन, like opening mein he has been like absolutely a beast, like zero mistakes. I think he has been so impressive in the past, I would say 6 months or so. And I think he will continue playing like this. And of course C3 खेल दिया है, and he stops the D pawn from moving. And of course now knight D2 becomes more of a threat, exchanging that strong knight. And यहाँ black के पास कई ideas होते हैं. Bishop C5 is a very normal idea, putting pressure on F2. Bishop E7 भी एक तरीका है. And at some point black can also play this pawn move to F5 जब भी यहाँ पे the knight on E4 is attacked, कि white मारे तो I can take back with the knight and I can at least solidify my knight there. Bishop played to C5 and now knight D2 very likely. I think क्वीन E2 भी यहां पे एक मूव है, if I'm not mistaken, जहां तक मैंने थ्योरी देखी थी बहुत साल पहले। बट या आई थिंक फिलहाल के लिए अर्जुन प्लेज वेरी क्विकली। एंड टू बी ऑनेस्ट, नेपो के बराबर टाइम मैनेज करना इज नॉट इजी। Nepo plays extremely quickly, by the way. He plays very quickly, and that's why to manage the clock with him is very interesting. Take hair tips from Nepo uncle. भाई यार hair tips यार देखो, उनके बाल काले हैं, मेरे सफेद बाल है बहुत टाइम से, 9 साल की उम्र से है। So it's उनसे टिप्स लेना probably is not the best. बुलेट में 800 से आगे नहीं बढ़ पा रहा हूं, क्या करूं भाई? स्ट्रीम देखिए और लाइक करें भाई। अगर आप टॉप प्लेयर्स की गेम देखेंगे तो यू विल बिकम अ स्ट्रॉन्गर चेस प्लेयर। एंड मीनवाइल एज नेपो यहां पे सोच रहे हैं, मे बी इट्स द परफेक्ट मोमेंट टू हैव अ लुक एट द अदर टू गेम्स। सो लेट्स गो टू द गेम ऑफ प्रग अगेंस्ट याकुबोव। एंड नॉट टू फॉरगेट कि प्रग कल एक बढ़िया गेम जीते हैं, सो कैन ही कंटिन्यू द विनिंग रन? D4 नाइट F6, ब्लैक है प्रग के यहां पे, H6। ओ हेलो भाई, H6 देख रहे हो तुम भाई? H6 देख रहे हो भाई साहब? So already Prag saying, you know what, bhai, I am way ahead of you right now, bro. I don't even need to play like super ambitious openings. H6 bhi chalega. And white now plays A3, D5, knight C3, and C6. And ये semi-Slav सा structure आ चुका है. But कहीं ना कहीं पे, like there's this pawn move on H6, preventing bishop G5, and there's a pawn move to A3. And the question is, semi-Slav normal structure में ये दोनों moves नहीं होती. So who does this benefit more? Honestly, I feel it benefits black more because there is no bishop G5 and bishop B4 तो मैं वैसे भी नहीं खेलने वाला था. So I think maybe Prag kind of confused white here a little bit, and इसलिए मुझे लग रहा है कि कहीं ना कहीं पे Prag is already very comfortable. He got what he wanted from this. Sahaj will be back in the next event chat. He'll be back because he's playing an event himself right now. उनको भी 2500 पहुंचना है. He's struggling is the wrong word भाई. मजाक करना सिर्फ उनके सामने अच्छा लगता है, ऐसे पीठ पीछे नहीं. So he's of course lost some rating points like me. मेरे से कमेंट्री करके रेटिंग गिरना ही था. So that's why he's spending some time away from me ताकि रेटिंग वापस बढ़ जाए. So फिलहाल के चैट स्टेयर दे रहे हैं Yakubov. Prag of course looks very confident, sitting in the same chair he was sitting yesterday. Can he get 2 wins in a row and almost seal his candidate spot? We'll figure it out. Meanwhile, Arvind Chithambaram, the guy who lost yesterday, playing with the black pieces against Param Maksudlu, super important game for him. I'm going to say this is a career-changing game for him because if he somehow loses this, I think this could be a downward spiral. We know Arvind has gained a ton of rating in the last year. Kitna fast growth kiya hai. And usually, as we know, if you've seen any trend, the faster it goes up, the faster it goes down. But Arvind had that stability, that understanding of the game. He was way underrated for years, and that means he has that chance to maintain that rating. But iska matlab ki he will have to be absolutely on point. He cannot allow himself to lose multiple games in a row. And super important game. I think camera galat hai Nidhi bhai. We want to switch the cameras quickly if possible. I think पिछला वाला camera uska tha. I can try again to switch cameras and see if it works. I think Shazam camera kuch check kara hai. We can check Nidhi bhai. I think wo camera. Ha, perfect. And Param, by the way, is a super ambitious player, super attacking player, and he will not really give Arvind a calm game to take a draw. What? Oh my God, A6, what? Chat, you know what? I have traumatic memories from this move. So I'm going to kind of tell you a 30-second recap of when I played this. So I needed a win with the black pieces to get an IM norm. And मैं एक बंदे से खेल रहा था जिसके 8 में 8 थे. And I was like, यार ये बंदा normally तो हारेगा नहीं. तो सब कंफ्यूज करते हैं. Let's try to transpose into some sort of Benko gambit. एंड मैंने कुछ ऐसे A6 खेला सेकंड मूव पे, नाइट F6 के बाद, एंड देन C5 D5 कुछ तो हुआ था, बट D4 C5 D5 B5 आई डोंट नो, समथिंग आई डिड, एंड आई लॉस्ट इन लाइक 15 मूव्स. And I lost in 15 moves. So, you know what? Sometimes when you play something like this, you are really taking a lot of risk. And problem yahan pe ye hai, when Arjun is kind of preparing something offbeat, it's not on move number 2. And also sometimes what happens is ki White has a lot of options here. Like yahan pe force nahi hai. White B3, D4, E3, G3. So it's very hard to prepare black. Although knowing that Arvind is the same guy who played knight F3, knight F6 and rook G1 in an over-the-board game. He played this in an over-the-board game. So knowing this, I think kahin na kahin this can go his way as well. So he's known to do this before. So that's why I have faith in Arvind. If anybody can pull this off, it's Arvind. But yeah, very difficult. So yeah, very interesting chat. What happens? Arvind clearly has, I would say, bamboozled his opponent for sure, but it might backfire at the end. So we'll stick to this game, of course. I think White will think for a long while. So going to the crucial clash between Ian Nepomniachtchi and Erigesi Arjun. Both players vying for that candidate spot. Both players want to challenge Mukesh for the World Championship. It's going to be super important. And chat, C3 के बाद हमने last यहाँ देखा था bishop C5 Arjun played. Nepo took 3 minutes, 2 minutes 59 seconds and played bishop to C2. And the idea is again to put pressure on this knight and of course put this bishop on the king side trajectory. कल को कुछ भी हो सकता है. And now black has to make a choice. I think castles यहाँ पे is the main move, and black will usually put this the king on the king side, and then white plays knight D2, trying to exchange these two pieces. For example, something like this queen se marte, in fact, trying to get the queen into the game. But I think in general, I think black, knowing Arjun, I think he might have a surprise planned. Like castles is the most obvious move here. Is he looking at a surprise, chat? I think he has something up his sleeve. Even if he castles, I think he's going to come up with some novelty or some stuff which we have not seen before. Very possible, chat. So come on. Arjun bhai, what is the surprise for all of us? Is it a new move? Is it something we have never ever seen before? Will we see, Nepo already start to at least panic a little bit? Super important moment for Arjun. I think Arjun will win today. Prag will draw. You know what? That will be an amazing result. Hoping that India performs really well. But I want to tell you, I think Prag has a relatively easy match. Okay, easy is subjective, yeah. But I think in general, Arjun and Arvind are facing extremely tough competition. But do not forget, chat. If Arjun wins today, he crosses Fabiano Caruana in the ratings and he becomes the new world number 3, right behind Carlsen, and Hikaru. If Arvind wins, he's again moving back towards the world top 10. And if Prag wins today, he crosses Arjun. He becomes the new Indian number one and he crosses 2780 for the first time in his life. So every day we're going to break records. Every day we're going to have Indian players create history. And every day we're going to have Needy Bhai constantly create new graphics because India number one change होते रहना है. Why Russians not allowed to keep their flag? Yeah, that's I think a different point. I'm assuming the war is still going on. I really don't have much information. By politics के बारे में थोड़ी कम information है मुझे. So I'm going to stick to chess for now. I think chess invent ही कुछ हद तक शायद इसलिए हुआ होगा कि we can solve our politics over the board. So let's just do that for now. And I think यहाँ पे Arjun definitely going back in his opening books, trying to come up with the best move कि क्या मेरे coaches ने क्या मेरे seconds ने यहाँ recommend किया था, and he's still not trying to remember. I think वही कोशिश है. And of course we can look at the time पे Arjun अभी भी आगे. That is the important factor. And he's about to play something. Can we go full screen again? I think he's about to play something. मुझे feeling आ रही है. And I really want to see Napo's expressions when he comes back and takes a seat. I think जब भी वो आएगा ना, we're going to see a surprise from Arjun. I'm going to see Napo give some weird expressions. Not to forget, Hikaru के बाद expressions के मामले में, I think Napo is number 2 भाई. Like world में number 2 होना हो, लेकिन expressions में he's definitely world number 2 भाई. Definitely. साहिल टिक्कू की अब्बू भाई सही में भाई अभी बाल में सेट करूंगा. मैं गोइंग फॉर अ हेयर कट ऑन मंडे. तो भाई बाल मेरे इतने बढ़ चुके हैं, सफेदी हो चुकी है भाई. क्या करे भाई, बस दीवारों पे सर मलने का शौक नहीं जा रहा मेरा फिलहाल के लिए. अर्जुन playing with his nose, playing with opponent's pieces. What can he do? What surprise can he conjure up? Apparently, Chad, there's this move Bishop G4, which the Indian really loves, but it has never been played before. But it has a great evaluation. So basically, Bishop E6 पे था because, okay, he just castles, yeah? He doesn't play anything fancy just yet. And now after knight D2, what is the plan? Because knight D2 के बाद, apparently knight F2 is one of the main moves. Rook F2, Bishop F2, King F2, and then you play F6 and you try to attack the king. But जहां तक मुझे अपनी opening preparation से याद है, this is not so great actually for white, for black, sorry. And usually black kind of struggles a little bit. दूसरा option है कि यहाँ Bishop F5 खेलो, but now knight B3 attacking the bishop again. The bishop again has to move. So I'm not completely convinced. So unless Arjun has a new plan in mind, something different. So let's see what he does. And Napo still not at the board. Meanwhile, Param is still thinking against Arvind, so no updates there. And Prag की गेम में कुछ updates है. Let's have a look. So हमने देखा था last A3, D5 and knight C3, C6, and now C5 played. Okay, maybe. Yeah, it feels like a decent move. I think because you have played A3, it kind of, feels like a harmonious plan. And आता है knight D7 and now pawn to G3. By the way, apparently B4 was the best. B4 was the best. But, playing on that queenside play, but white now plays G3 and suddenly both A5 and E5 already equalize for black. So G3 is a mistake from his opponent. Chat, I think white is trying to play two games at the same time. He's trying to get the Catalan structure. He's trying to get space on the queen side, but he will not get both. And now Prag can play A5 with the idea to stop B4 because you can't play B4. I take and this pawn is pinned. And next he's going to play B6 and completely destroy this pawn. And then he will have the better center. Or he can even play E5 here. You can take with the pawn, but then knight to E4. And if you take with the knight, I can simply take and play knight to G4, grabbing this pawn, and somehow you have to play moves like queen to D4, which is very uncomfortable if you ask me, because whenever I do take here, you're going to have to move the queen again. So, मेरे को लग रहा है, feeling आ रही है कि Prag already has a dream position after move number 6. बहुत बढ़िया लग रहा है मुझे Prag की position. I think he's doing great. Gukesh not playing chat because Gukesh is playing Zagreb. I think maybe he wanted to take a break. And of course, he's the world champion now. So he will have to be selective about his events, right? So thoda farak padta hai. And right now, I think Prag definitely having a dream position. I think Prag on point, looking great. Going back to the game of Arjun now. Has something happened? Oh, we have this line. We have this line. So we saw this, right? I think castles knight d2, knight f2. Arjun ने literally 10 सेकंड में मार दिया. Rook f2, f6 directly खेला. He didn't take quickly because he anyway pinned है. So there is no hurry to take this rook. White plays knight f1, and now, of course, bishop e3 is incoming. So you have to take, king takes, pawn takes e5, and e4 ka threat hai pinning that knight. So king goes back to g1, and now chat is position mein. Bishop g4 is the most popular move. Queen d6 is the second most popular move. And that's what Arjun plays. But the only problem I have in this position, chat, is that White has a great record here. If I look at the evaluations, the percentages after Queen d6, 62% of games ended in a white win, 16% draw, and only 22% games black won on chess.com. So iska matlab ki historically ये position white के लिए काफी अच्छी रही है. And black को कुछ तो निकालना पड़ेगा. Now, seeing the fact that Arjun has more time than Napo, and just to point out, even Carlsen didn't have more time than Napo in the World Championship. इतना मुश्किल है. So maybe he's still in prep, and maybe he will have a new novelty coming up soon, which might, change opening theory in this line. But as of now, white seems to be better. Chat, let's get to find likes. कोई कह रहा है, शशांक भाई saying Arjun FIDE circuit में क्यों नहीं है? Because he was leading the FIDE circuit last year, and इस साल उसने इतने tournament नहीं खेले कि he's leading that again. Now he can lead it, like it's still possible, but because Prag will also keep playing, the probability कि Arjun qualifies via the FIDE circuit is slightly lower. So he will have to win a few wins. If he wins this one, that definitely gives him some chances to get that victory. But the thing is, you know what? प्रॉब्लम ये है कि अब जो इवेंट्स बड़े वाले बच्चे हैं ना साल में, दे आर इवेंट्स लाइक द वर्ल्ड कप, इवेंट्स लाइक द ग्रैंड स्विस. सो ऐसे इवेंट अगर आप अच्छा खेलने वाले ही हो तो यू विल क्वालिफाई एनीवेज via those rating spots, via those top 3, top 2 spots. So you might not need the FIDE circuit. So इसलिए I think कहीं ना कहीं पे Prag के chances very very high as compared to Arjun there. Chat, super important moment for Indian chess. I think kahin na kahin pe Napo is a very strong player. The same guy who has played, I think, 2 world championships, one against Magnus, one against Ding. And he was very close, by the way. If you remember the standings of the candidates, before Gukesh took the lead, it was Napo who was in the lead, and he had not lost a single game in the candidates until, I think, Gukesh or somebody else. I think somebody defeated, but I forgot who it was. And Napo थोड़ा सर पकड़ के तो बैठे हैं, but I don't think it's stress for Napo. वरना इसके बाली में ही तो होते हैं. I think it's more about trying to remember कि भाई यहाँ पे मैंने क्या देखा हुआ in the past, and we are already 15 moves in chat. 15 moves हो चुके हैं, and he's not okay. He agrees. Napo agrees. 15 moves हो चुके हैं. So clearly, I think he will have to come up with something different if he wants to avoid Arjun's prep. Can Arjun get a wild card for Singfield? I think he can, but the thing is, I'm still not sure why Arjun didn't get an invite for GCT in general, because Arjun deserved it as well. I think Gukesh and Prag got it, and maybe they were like, we want only 2 Indians, and they went with Prag instead of Arjun. But maybe Arjun, I don't know how he feels about that, right? I mean, if I didn't get an invite, I'll be like, यार मुझे भी तो invite करते थे भाई, मैंने क्या किया है? So it's possible, but it's also in the US. So maybe if he was to get an invite, maybe that's not the ideal tournament, right? Maybe it's some other classical event, जो घर के थोड़ा पास हो. And as of now, I think they are also playing the Chennai Grandmasters in August. So I think Arjun is playing that. So there might be some clash as well there. So maybe it is unlikely he plays, the Singfield Cup. But regardless, Napo right now, Arjun not at the board. That tells me he's still in prep. Chat, Sahaj is playing his own tournament right now. So you can send him good wishes on Instagram. He'll be back for the next event. That will be the GCT Zagreb tournament. Jahan pe hame dikhega Magnus Carlsen versus Gukesh yet again. That's going to be a crazy event. Because Prag won Tara Steel, maybe it's possible actually. That's possible. So it's very hard to know the exact reason. And maybe, I think Arjun might prefer Chennai GM, right? Because it's right close to his home, and I think he's already confirmed for that tournament. So yeah, we need to build an chess tour so players can get more opportunity. Absolutely, I think आजकल events आ रहे हैं यार. We have Tata Steel India, right? जो इतने सालों से चल रहा है. We also have now Chennai GM, which has become a household name. And there might be other events coming up. We are having so many FIDE events in India. We had the Olympiad 2022. We had, the FIDE Women's Grand Prix this year. We're going to have the World Cup this year in India. Goa almost confirmed for that tournament as well. In fact, Freestyle India भी होने वाला था, पता नहीं हो रहा है कि नहीं हो रहा है. I don't know exactly the current situation. So we are seeing more and more events in India, and that is absolutely amazing. Yes, Nepo is from Russia actually, and that's why you see the FIDE flag, and he's one of the strongest players in the world. In fact, he's right now world number 9. So Arvind ka spot इन्होंने ही लिया है. So if Arjun wins, he can even help Arvind. He can even help Anish, by the way. If Nepo loses, I think Vei enters world top 10 and Anish enters. No, Anish enters world top 10. So if Arjun wins, Anish enters world top 10. So he can really do all of us a favor right now. Anish said Arjun is a combination of Mamidharov and Nepo. Thoughts? Mr. DC is asking. That's an interesting statement. So mix of Mamidharov and Nepo. The thing is, yaar, Mamidharov na, I'm not sure I understand his style as well. Because बहुत time हो गया उनकी games देखे हुए, and his style has adapted. Like his style 10 years back would have been different to how he plays today, and maybe I'm not completely sure. I think Nepo definitely. I think Nepo definitely. I see some part of Nepo there, but Mamidharov I'm not so sure. So come on, chat. Let's get to 500 likes. By the way, do not forget diamond membership मिलने वाली है आपको 500 like पे. And Prag has played, and he has played E5. By Prag, the legend. By E5 breaking in the center. I know A5 was also good, but E5 is the more logical move. जब भी मौका मिले center में लो. And White, he looks very chill. I think he looks very confident, but I can guarantee you, he looks more confident than he is inside. I can guarantee you, I think he underestimated E5. 100%. Otherwise, he would not allow it. There is no way he would allow it unless he kind of underestimated how strong this move is. And now, after taking with the knight or the pawn, your pawns are split. Yeah, he takes with the pawn, but now, chat, knight E4 or knight G4, both moves are possible. If you play knight G4, however, I think there is this move E6, which is a bit, I would say, difficult because pawn takes is forced, and now white has bishop H3, which is very interesting. And now, it's not easy to go back, right? Because I will take on E6, and that's very, very... Okay, I can't even take on E6 because there is bishop C5. So what's the move here? Oh, B4 first. First B4, and then I take on E6. Yeah, that's a bit unnerving. E6 is interesting. So maybe instead of... Okay, takes... Is there something else after bishop H3? I can go knight D E5. So if you take, takes, now my bishop defends the pawn. But somehow my knight is a bit, hawa mein ghum raha hai. And I still see this, diagonal towards my king. I'm not super happy with this. So that's why maybe knight E4 is a bit stronger. And maybe that's what, Yakubov missed. I think he's expecting knight to G4. And knight E4, if Prag plays, that's much stronger. Because after E6, chat, I'm not even going to take here. I could just take on C5. And I've picked up both your central pawns. You can spoil my castling. But yahan pe I think black is doing fine. Knight E5 check. King G8. Next I develop my pieces. Bishop comes to D6. And slowly I will castle by hand. And Queen E8, Queen H5 bhi aa sakta hai. And I can use the F5 for an attack later. So... And you can look at the F2 pawn under pressure right now, by the way. Queen F6 could be a real threat. Threatening scholars mate kind of checkmate by. So it can be interesting, by the way. Wondering whether Prag has considered this move very seriously, because knight E4 seems to be much stronger than knight G4, the more human move. Look at Param. Okay, Param, I missed Param there, but yeah, I think very interesting position right now. Prag is a pawn down, and now I think he will contemplate both choices. Yeah, he will not hurry. That's extremely practical, play by Prag, not hurrying with the move knight G4, trying to calculate, are there any alternatives? And knight E4 is a brilliant one here. And I think that's what Yakubov has missed. So let's see if Prag finds knight E4. Meanwhile, going to the Napo-Arjun game, jahan pe Nepo is still calculating. I cannot tell you how rare it is to have a 10-minute edge on Nepo. That's insane. That's so rare कि 10 minute आगे हो आप clock पे Nepo से. It's not comfortable at all. And you have the accuracy at the bottom right, chat. Look at the accuracy. 99.5 for Arjun as compared to 99.2 for Nepo. So he's playing amazing chess. Yep, डायमंड मेंबरशिप रह गया था चैट. मैं सोच रहा हूं कि 500 लाइक पे किसी को 3 महीने की मेंबरशिप देंगे, सो 1 महीना एक्स्ट्रा मिल जाएगा भाई लोगों को दैट वे. तो चैट, डू लाइक द स्ट्रीम, लेट्स गेट टू 500 likes as we have the Indian top 3 players apart from Gukesh battling it out, and the candidate spot, the world number 3 spot, the India number 1 spot, all up for grabs today. I can guarantee you we can potentially see either a new world number 3 or a new India number 1. कुछ ना कुछ तो आज चेंज होगा. साथ में नेपो, भाई नेपो ही तो है, और क्या नाम है भाई? आज तो सहज भाई भी नहीं है मुझे कॉन्ट्रडिक्ट करने के लिए. I can tell you, Nepo, by the way, like he doesn't like it. He doesn't like being behind on the clock. कितने लोगों ने कार्लसन नेपो की वर्ल्ड चैंपियनशिप देखी है? कितने लोगों ने देखी है? You know what? He was ahead of Magnus on the clock as well. And Ian blundered, like I think I remember he blundered piece at one point. Even then he was ahead. So his style involves playing very, 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 very quickly. So I think that's why maybe he is going into depth, of course. But I can expect once he plays his next move, the future moves will come up very, very quickly. So as of now, calculating what options does he have? Let's go into the moves now. So first move is bishop e3, right? The most obvious move, because आपका एक ही minor piece develop नहीं है, मैं वही develop करूंगा. I'll put the bishop here. I stop your d4 ideas, and e4 case में my d4 square is also better controlled now, and my rook can now come into the game. Now black can play rook a d8, for example. I was wondering if you can play, okay, bishop e3, rook a e8 as well, if that's an option. But apparently knight g5 here is very, very strong. As you can see, h7 attacked, e6 attacked, bishop f5. And that's bishop 3. Oh, it's on the board. It's on the board. The best move in the position. And apparently, यहाँ से black ने कई moves खेली हैं. Rook a d8 is the most commonly played move. Bishop f5 the second most common. Bishop g4 भी खेला गया है. h6 भी खेला गया है. e4 भी खेला गया है. Rook e8 भी खेला गया है. So lot of possibilities for Arjun. And maybe this is the moment when he has something special prepared. But to be honest, if you have one look at the engines here, they'll tell you rook a d8 has to be played. Otherwise, slowly but surely, I think black is going to get advantage. Bishop f5 can also be played. I think the bishop on c2 is a strong piece, and knight g5. Yeah, rook d8. Excellent move. I think the best move in the position. And now chat, white has multiple options. Queen e1 apparently has been the favorite for white players here. But I think there's also this forcing move, knight g5, which is, kind of forces black's hand. And if you are kind of calculating, right? What is chess? Chess is basically calculation. It's basically predicting the future to some extent. It's not just the moves, right? क्योंकि इंसान सामने बैठा है, वो इंसान है. What is he feeling? How confident is he feeling? How many times has he played this opening? How many times does he get up from the chair? Is he playing fast? Is he playing slow? Is he staring at me? Is he looking, a bit nervous? ये सब कुछ factor करना पड़ता है. And knight g5 kind of really forces black's hand and avoids all of it, because h7 hanging है, bishop hanging है. You have to play bishop f5. Bishop takes, rook takes, and now you kind of play knight g3 again, attacking this rook. The rook has to go back, and now queen g4. And you see how white के सारे pieces game में आ चुके हैं, and they're kind of launching some sort of attack. This rook also coming to d1, e1 or f1 next. I can also play h3 to kind of not get back rank mated later on. And kahin na kahin pe this is difficult. For example, black की best move is rook f6 now, which in itself is not super easy. Now I'm sure Arjun घर पे इससे 4 चालें और देख चुका है आगे, but still I think black का play थोड़ा difficult लग रहा है मुझे practically. So this is the kind of position जहां पे अगर आप घर से सब कुछ देख के आए हो, you will comfortably equalize. But अगर opponent ने कुछ tricky खेल दिया, and you have not seen this at home, you better take a lot of time and figure it all out. एक गलत चाल, एक हल्की सी inaccuracy might cost you the game as black. So Arjun has to be very, very, very careful here. पहले बोल दिया है, if he's not careful, this might bite him later, and he might have a lost position in 5 moves from now. So current position, Nepo now, I think my guess is he will go for the forcing knight g5, because he is that kind of player. He prefers clarity, but also queen e1 is a very, very nice move. I think knight g3 to hai hi logical chal, yeah, developing a piece. And also there's this interesting move, queen to b1, threatening here, and you're tempting black into going e4 and giving you the d4 square. But I think that's too specific. And of course, you would love to play queen d3, threatening mate, but that's a simple fork and you lose the knight. So you can't really do that. I think knight g5 or queen e1, one of these two moves. So let's see what he plays. Meanwhile, Prag ki game pe jaate hain. He has played something and he plays knight e4. By Prag, the legend. And as I told you, chat, look at his opponent now. He did not predict that. He did not see that. I told you, right? जितना confidence से उसने यहाँ पे pawn मारा e5 पे और इतना जल्दी मारा, I think he had seen knight g4. He completely missed or at least really underestimated knight e4 now. And I think Prag is already slightly better after 8 moves. And Yakubov, by the way, playing 3 Indians in 3 games, has had a worse position in every single game so far in the opening. After 7 to 10 moves, he's been worse. So he lost to Arjun, but then of course Arvin couldn't capitalize on that mistake he made. But can Prag do that? And if Prag wins, chat, he yesterday crossed Gukesh, and today he can cross Arjun in the ratings and become the new India #1 with a rating of 2781. That is insane. To be honest, 3 points behind Fabiano Caruana. So can he do so? This is the Prag game, chat. And his opponent is right now under pressure. Prag is not even at the seat. He's walking. He's completing his 10,000 steps, taking inspiration from Erigasi Arjun. And now what can White do? So first of all, why not take the knight, bhai? Free का knight है, मार दो. Pawn से मारा. आपका look at the white pieces. इकलौता knight developed है and उसी को अब चलना पड़ेगा. That's the only piece developed and you move it again. So let's say you play knight d4 now. This is not the best move, by the way. Yeah, knight d4. Knight e5. Now I took my pawn back. I am threatening to take another. And if you were to go, let's say e3 or something, bishop g4 and you resign. It's over. Khatam. You can literally resign. For example, queen attacked there. You play bishop e2, knight d3 check. Oh, king f1, bishop h3. Oh, bhai, ye to meko dekhna bhi nahi hai. So that's why I think you can see how bad it can go a little in a couple of moves. So that's why I think practically it's difficult. And after, if you take the knight, pawn takes knight, you have to actually play e6 now apparently. And which is not completely clear now. Takes and knight d2. And chat, I have a question for you. Chalo e6 mein hita dete hain. Let's say white plays knight d2. चैट जो भी चैट में जिंदगी में 2000 कभी भी रेटिंग करना चाहते हैं या 1500 2000 रेटिंग कभी भी जिंदगी में करना चाहते हैं, आपको ये आइडिया निकालना पड़ेगा. एंड दिस इज स्ट्रेटेजिक ट्रेनिंग फॉर यू. ठीक है. व्हाट शुड ब्लैक प्ले इन दिस पोजीशन? वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट आइडिया, वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट आइडिया जो आपको बहुत गेम्स में देखने. इंजन यूज मत करना बिकॉज इट विल टेल यू द मूव, बट what is a very nice strategic idea for black which really messes up white's coordination. And आप चाहे material भी दे दो लेकिन you will get a better position out of it. बिल्कुल सही बोला भाई. रामापुरम 45, सचिन, होराइजन, विविन, बिल्कुल सही बात है भाई. pawn to e3, that is a beautiful sacrifice. क्यों? White cannot take this with a piece. That's very important. You have to take this with the pawn. If you don't take, I will take this and the king is weak, so आपको मारना पड़ेगा. इसका मतलब क्या? पहले तो ट्रिपल पॉन भाई. इमेजिन करो ये पॉन नहीं भी है, एटलीस्ट डबल पॉन कर दिए. आपने किंग साइड खोल दी व्हाइट की. There is a weakness on e3 which I can later on attack with my pieces and win back. Your bishop is now blocked. So it completely वो harmony pieces की remove कर देता है white pieces की. So beautiful pawn sack, and now you can easily take this pawn. Next I will take this. Next I could even take this. Queen b6 भी आ सकता है, and knight g4 भी आ सकता है. And this is really weird for white, and I would say practically lost position लग रही है मुझे. So going back, I think beautiful move knight e4 by Prag, and जिन लोगों ने e3 निकाला, man, आप 2000 रेटिंग कैसी नहीं है मुझे पता नहीं, पर बन जाएगी बहुत जल्दी. Great positional move, and यहाँ पे Prag in the driver's seat looking great. Amazing position for Prag here. By the going to the Napo game, he has not gone for knight g5. He plays the logical move queen to e1. And again, bishop f5 is the main move. So let's say you play a random move. I play a5. Then suddenly rook d1. And I am threatening some ideas here. Knight g5 फिर से आ रहा है. So, there is, white is really developing and you're doing nothing. So that's why ये strong piece जो है यहाँ पे c2 पे, उसको exchange करते हैं. Bishop f5 played by Arjun. Napo took 24 seconds for queen e1. And Arjun took 26 seconds for bishop f5. So ये तो literally time की race चल रही है भाई. They are playing, trying to beat each other on the seconds, playing super fast. And time situation देखो भाई. Napo, by the way, is 18 minutes behind. That should be a record. I don't know if anybody has been 18 minutes ahead of Nepo after 17 moves. Like, that's crazy. That's crazy. 2150, नॉट सरप्राइज सचिन भाई. सो जिन लोगों ने और निकाला, इमेजिन यू आर प्लेइंग सो वेल यार. 2150 लेवल पे खेल रहे हो आप लोग. So by the way, Nepo now thinking what to do. So he can actually take, I think that's always a decent option, because then you can obviously play knight g3, attack the rook has to move again, and so on. But आपका queen का रास्ता block हो गया. So maybe that's why he might also opt for something else. You can play bishop b3 back with the idea of rook d1 next, and आप कहो कि भाई आपका bishop यहाँ आ गया, so I'm going to come back here and put pressure here. And if you play bishop e6 back, I'm going to probably play rook d1 and again put pressure here. So lot of options available for Ian here, but क्या खेलेंगे Nepo देखना पड़ेगा. He's right now, nodding his head, rock music की तरह enjoy कर रहे हैं शतरंज को. देखते हैं क्या होगा. It is a positional sack, DC. बिल्कुल सही बात है. Positional sack है, and usually that e3 pawn sack you get back anyways. Like ऐसा भी नहीं कि if you have that option, just play it. Calculate करने की जरूरत नहीं है. It's worth the pawn sack and likely you'll get it back. चैट 900 लोग देख रहे हैं. लेट्स गेट टू 500 लाइक्स बिकॉज पहली डायमंड मेंबरशिप गर्मा गर्म आपकी इंतजार कर रही है. एंड नॉट टू फॉरगेट 3 महीने की मेंबरशिप होगी इस बार बिकॉज कल की एक पेंडिंग है. सो लेट्स गो चैट, लाइक करो. मीनवाइल नेपो थिंकिंग वन ब्रीफ लुक एट द अरविंद गेम. वहां पे क्या चल रहा है? यस्टरडे अरविंद लॉस्ट, ही नीड्स टू कम बैक. A6 देखा था हमने, क्रेजी मूव बाय अरविंद अगेंस्ट परम. आया G3 B5. लुक एट दिस ओपनिंग बाय द वे, व्हाट अ रिडिकुलस ओपनिंग. आया बिशप B7, मारा मारा, व्हाइट विंस अ पॉन. E5 in the center. बाप रे. You can't take this pawn because the rook is hanging. So he plays, okay, he doesn't, he plays, oh, this is the current position. Yeah, मैंने कहा ये तो नहीं खेल दिया उसने. Yeah, this is the current position and white is still better. I think white is a pawn up, but Benko gambit like compensation तो है यहाँ पे. तो देखना पड़ेगा. Maybe black will also put another pawn in the center. I don't know क्या रहेगा situation, but yeah. I think super complicated game, completely out of prep both players, and this is going to be fascinating to watch. But यहाँ पे लोग आराम से खेलेंगे because this doesn't feel like mainline theory. Yeah, it's a completely new position. So Arvind really getting Maksudlu in uncharted territory. Oh, bishop d2 played. So let's see what happens. E5 pawn अब hanging है. So maybe d6 खेलेंगे Arvind उस pawn को बचाने के लिए. So we'll come back to this soon, and let's go to the game of Prag. If something has happened, no, nothing has happened. So let's go to the Arjun game and again enjoy what Ian Nepomniachtchi will do now. Arvind can't withhold against Parambai. I know, I think draw is also okay for Arvind, by the way. Draw is not bad. He's playing a crazy game. A draw would actually not be so bad. But the thing is, he needs to have the nerves. Ki, yaar, theek hai, I've lost a game. I can afford a draw here. That is okay. By the way, Nepo playing the solid choice. Bishop takes f5. Rook takes f5 will be played in seconds as soon as Arjun sits at the board. And what does Nepo play next is the question. And good news, chat. When we started this variation, अगर आपको याद हो, I mentioned कि भाई white has a great record. याद है when this variation started with knight takes f2, white has a great record, like 66% wins, 16% draws, and only 20% loss. But now that we come to the current position, chess.com पे 3 games खेली गई हैं इस position से, and the record is fantastic for black. 2 draws and 1 win. Absolutely 0 wins for white from this position on chess.com. And इसका मतलब है भाई लोग कि maybe Arjun's prep has worked wonders. उसको exactly वही मिल गया जो उसको चाहिए था. And इसका मतलब things are looking great for our hero here. And now rook coming out. Okay, rook d1 played. By the way, this was the move played in all those 3 games. So still in theory, and now 2 games, h6 was played, and 1 game, rook f7 was played. I think both are the best moves in the position. You can also put the rook back on f8 because knight g3 RS, so you kind of preemptively put the rook back. I think f7 is a better square because it gives you more liberty. And यहाँ पे कई draw perpetuals भी हो सकते हैं. So we might even see a quick draw here. But okay, let's see. Depends on Arjun. And Arjun, by the way, एक बड़ी सी yawn लेते हुए वहां पे. So yeah, maybe he is still अब जाके सोचना स्टार्ट करेगा अर्जुन भाई. Imagine. भाई 19 मूव हो चुके हैं and Arjun will now start thinking. तो कई लोग बोलते हैं ना कि should I practice openings? You should. Maybe not till 19 moves, but definitely openings समझना बहुत बहुत जरूरी है. All games 99% accuracy, not surprised. I think we are in the starting phase of the game जहां पे these players have looked at these lines with the help of a computer, so they will play perfect chess. And जो 1% जा भी रहा है ना, it's not really कि they have played a mistake. They are playing something which is the second best preference of the engine, the third preference of the engine, just to confuse their opponent. So actually 99 जो है, it should be 100 in the first 10-20 moves for some players. For example, for Arjun here, it should be 100. For Napo here, it should be 100. But it's slightly less because I think they are trying to confuse their opponents. Where's he going? Chat, during a game, chess players उठते हैं, घूमते हैं. It's very hard to sit at the same place for so long. So, you want to relax your mind a bit because board पे बैठ के relax करना ना, it doesn't feel logical because board सामने है. So you go, you relax your mind, drink some water, kind of walk around, look at other games, and it inspires your mind. Look at Napo there, by the way. You saw him walk past the camera, right? He was looking at the board. So he's walking and he's trying to stay active, keep his mind active, and of course, waiting for his opponent to play. And maybe he has understood the position. Yeah, if the game was more complex right now, he would be sitting right now. There is no uniform, Tarunbhai. Why is Param not wearing? There is no uniform. There is a dress code which you should adhere to in normal circumstances, but it's not forced. I think World Tribalism में देखा कितना controversy हुआ था एक jeans के ऊपर. That is a FIDE event and maybe that was a compulsion there. But यहाँ पे that is not a compulsion. And all players are, comfortable. They can wear even sweatshirts if they want to. Depends from tournament to tournament. Chat, come on, let's find like जल्दी से. And फिलहाल के लिए full pressure on the players because chat, do not forget, this is where their opening prep ends, right? आपका जो भी preparation था घर से आप करके आए थे अब खत्म हो रहा है, and now you are kind of liable for every single move, and this is where the focus shifts from your preparation to your actual skill. So what can Arjun do? I think h6 a very logical move. जो मैंने draw की बात करी थी, by the way, there is a draw here. For example, rook f7. And यहाँ पे I think it was bishop f2 maybe. I think it was bishop f2. I've seen a perpetual यार. मेरी खुद की opening की variation में है ये, because I used to play this as black. I forgot what is the repetition. Maybe the computer will tell me. Bishop f2, rook df8, bishop g3, queen c5. Yes, this is repetition. So you could go back here. Let's say rook f7, bishop f2, rook df8, bishop g3, attacking this pawn, queen c5 check, bishop f2 and queen d6, and this is the repetition. So, and if you, for example, give this check and I go to king to h1, there is e4 actually. And that's why I think somehow with the rooks lined up on the f file, you will lose this. For example, knight d4, simply rook f1, and you are lost the game. So आपको knight d2 खेलना पड़ेगा, and then you did not really get to use the d4 square, so black is already better. So यहाँ पे perpetual हो सकता है, depends on, of course, whether both players want to go for it. I don't think Napo will go for it, so maybe Arjun will not get that option, but that is the available draw. So rook f7, bishop f2, rook f8, bishop g3, and now queen c5, bishop f2, queen d6, bishop g3. How is queen g6? That's an interesting idea. So you want to attack on the king side, and it feels like a logical move, right? कि आपने g2 pawn पे pressure डाला. But first of all, I could just go knight g3. Even if there wasn't a tactical mistake here, I can just go knight g3, and queen कुछ नहीं कर रही है अब मेरे हिसाब से तो. But the bigger problem, of course, is chat. Chat, who will tell us what is the problem with queen to g6? Let's go, chat. कौन निकालेगा? As a Garaso, what would be focus at beginner center? I think middle game has to, basic openings and middle game has to be the focus, and basic openings, theoretical endgames, and middle game. These three focus. And of course, puzzles though is always the case. Not b4 actually. There is a fork. Absolutely correct, Praneeth, by knight to h4, and it's a double attack, and you are going to lose the rook for the knight. So, nice idea strategically if it was working, but tactically it just doesn't work. So, फिलहाल के लिए chat, Arjun thinking about his ideas. Prag की game में कुछ भी नहीं हुआ है. जैसा मैंने कहा था, opponent is in shock. He didn't see 94. I told you, I literally just d5 मारा ना, and that's why you see chess is a psychological game. जिस हिसाब से उसके ओपोनेंट ने e5 मारा ना, इवन प्रग अंडरस्टूड, इफ आई कैन अंडरस्टैंड, आई एम श्योर प्रग अंडरस्टूड कि भाई उसके ओपोनेंट 94 देखा ही नहीं है. So that means even if these both moves were kind of equal importance, I might still play 94, and here the 94 is the better move. So that means now his opponent, after playing d takes e5 in 50 seconds, has been thinking for 15 minutes after knight e4. So Prag in the driver's seat, looking like a great game for him today. And can he get 2 wins in a row? That would be spectacular. So going back to Arjun's game, Nepo not at the seat right now. Arjun ka pehla moment hai where he's thinking. I think he might be out of his core prep, right? So now it goes from exact moves to his अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ द पीस प्लेसमेंट एंड द प्लान्स. सो कई लोग कहते हैं यार ओपनिंग खत्म हो गई, मैंने मूव्स देख ली, अब क्या करूं यार टिको भाई, अब क्या करूं मैं. दैट्स वेयर यू आर लुकिंग एट द गेम्स ऑफ टॉप प्लेयर्स. लेट्स से मुझे लंडन सिस्टम पसंद है, ठीक है, मैंने ओपनिंग वेरिएशंस देखनी, मैंने लवी की 4 वीडियो चाट ली, हो गया, बढ़िया हो गया, ठीक है. बट हाउ डू आई प्ले अ गेम? मुझे उठा के कार्लसन की, निहाल की, गुकेश की, जो टॉप अर्जुन की, जो टॉप लंदन प्लेयर्स हैं, उनकी गेम्स भी देखनी पड़ेंगी. खाली ओपनिंग मूव्स रटने से कुछ नहीं होगा, बिकॉज आई विल अंडरस्टैंड द प्लान्स एंड वी आर इन द प्लानिंग स्टेज नाउ. सो अर्जुन नाउ अंडरस्टैंड्स कि रूक F7 जाना चाहिए, आई कैन डबल रूक्स, आई हैव दिस परपेचुअल, ये सब उसको पता है. एंड नाउ ही इज ट्राइंग टू गो फ्रॉम प्लान्स इनटू कैलकुलेशन, बट द प्लान्स आर गाइडिंग हिम राइट नाउ. अरविंद ने ब्लंडर किया या सैक किया है भाई? तुम डरा रहे हो मुझे भाई. अच्छा पॉन, हाँ, he has sacked the pawn भाई, he has sacked the pawn, but it doesn't have enough compensation if you ask me. But is it complicated enough कि it might work? Yes, it is complicated enough because this is not really mainline theory. So if Arvind backs himself, he can win this, by the way. It is possible to win. But यहाँ पे ये piece बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है चैट. क्वेश्चन फॉर यू चैट, आज तो हमको स्ट्रेटेजिक चेस में घुसी गए हैं तो घुसी जाते हैं. लेट्स से आई प्ले, आई डोंट नो, रूक्स A3, should black take bishop takes F3, yes or no? Come on chat. Or let me make it even more clear. Let's say मैंने खेला bishop G2, should black play bishop takes F3 here or no? Come on chat, should I take this bishop? Prag will take revenge. बिल्कुल भाई, रिवेंज लेना कल का उसका. Absolutely. Fell to Balsat. Bhai, I think tactics, bhai. You're blundering pieces. You cannot lose that much rating without going on a tilt and blundering pieces. You should not. Chat, black का pawn structure dark squares पे है. So this is the good bishop and this is the bad bishop. So अगर bishop exchange करना है तो F8 वाला करो, not the bishop on B7. So even if, this is of course the worst version because मैं bishop से मार रहा हूँ. But even if I play A3, you should not take this. Because after taking this, you can imagine ये सारे squares बहुत weak हो चुके हैं. And at some point, the bishop on F1 will be an absolute beast and game जितवा देगा white को. So that's why जो pawn structure है उसका complementary bishop हमेशा रखो. ठीक है. एनीवेज, सो ये बहुत डीप चले गए हम लोग, इतना डीप तो मैं कहीं नहीं गया था. तो गोइंग टू द गेम ऑफ अर्जुन भाई. कहां है अर्जुन? हाँ, स्टिल थिंकिंग. अर्जुन भाई चलो भाई, पनवेल निकलना है. वीकेंड्स लाइट स्क्वायर्स टू मच. एग्जैक्टली सुकरण भाई, सुकरण भाई यार, आप यार मतलब यार अगले कालसल लग रहे हो मुझे भाई यार, मतलब क्रेजी क्रेजी इनसाइट्स. ब्लैक नीड्स टू अपोज द कैटलाइन बिशप. एब्सोल्युटली अनोनिमस भाई. अनोनिमस क्यों भाई? नाम रखो यार अपने, इतने बड़े बड़े इतने सही आंसर दे रहे हो भाई, यू शुड बी फेमस. Why did Param slide below 2700? Because यार I don't know, I think chess is hard. 2700 के ऊपर रहना बड़ा मुश्किल है यार एक्चुअली, as we have seen. कितने सारे इंडियन प्लेयर्स 2700 पहुंचे and now they are not there. I think we know many names and I think 2700 maintain करना मतलब you're in the top world 30 players of the world, yeah. It's not easy at all. Meanwhile, chat, Arjun still thinking, still not able to come up with the best move. He's kind of ahead on the clock, so not a point to worry at all. But कभी ना कभी चलना पड़ेगा, कभी ना कभी चलना पड़ेगा भाई. He cannot take too much time because वही है ना यार. I think Nepo, looking at Arjun's preparation, might just agree to a quick draw, and that's good for Arjun as black pieces. If you take too much time, then Nepo starts becoming more ambitious, and he's like, okay, time पे आगे हूँ, जल्दी खेलता हूँ. FM क्यों नहीं बन पा रहे? FM तो बन सकते हैं, it's not a big deal. मेरा peak वैसे 2275 है, so with practice I could become an FM, but my life will not change भाई. मेरे हिसाब से CM, NM, FM, IM, मेरे दिमाग में तो almost सब बराबर है in terms of how your life changes. I think the only title which can change your life significantly is the GM title, and that is very difficult. उसके लिए जो amount of effort and financial investment लगानी पड़ती है, which is very hard, and still not guaranteed you'll get there. So it's just not worth it. निर्मला ताई मैं उस एफएम की बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ, वो एफएम बनना बड़ा मुश्किल है. दैट्स क्वाइट डिफिकल्ट. मैं फिडे मास्टर की बात कर रहा हूँ भाई. उसके लिए आई थिंक यू नीड सम स्पेशल स्किल्स. नाइस भाई, नाइस. Is it not allowed to talk to players between games while walking? Bharat Bhai is asking. That's a good question. सो यूजुअली क्रिकेट चल रहा है मान लो फॉर एग्जाम्पल, तो यू कैन टॉक टू प्लेयर्स, राइट? लाइक यू कैन टॉक टू योर टीममेट्स कि भाई बॉल कहां डालूं, क्या करूं। यू कैन डू दैट बिकॉज देर इज नो क्लियर आंसर। ऐसा मान लो अपने रोहित शर्मा, आप मान लो कि आप बुमराह हो, आप रोहित शर्मा के पास गए, बोला आपने रोहित भाई कहां डालूं बॉल यार कि वो बोल्ड हो जाए। रोहित बोलेंगे भाई भाई मुझसे पूछ रहा है। दैट्स व्हाट रोहित विल से, राइट? मुझसे क्यों पूछ रहा है भाई, बॉलर तू है। सो इवन इफ रोहित गिव्स एडवाइस, it's not guaranteed the batsman will get bowled. But yahan pe if you ask for advice, it can be very precise and it can literally end the game. So that's why asking advice or even just talking to other people is not allowed, because potentially they could offer you advice which could finish the game in itself, or have a drastic change in evaluation. And that's why talking to anybody in the hall is not allowed. What happened to Nihal? He's back then. Nihal is still playing by. He's around 27. So he's around, I think, 50 points behind the others. 56, actually more if you look at where Prag and Arjun are. But maybe he will get up there. I think mere se he's one of the most talented players in the world. So I'm hoping he gets to the top pretty soon. Very dangerous explanation. भाई खतरों से खेलने से डरते हैं क्या? हमने भी देखा भाई फियर फैक्टर और अक्षय कुमार का एड, भाई हम भी खतरों से खेलेंगे. Meanwhile, Prag completing his steps. Arjun still thinking. Prag के opponent ने by the way अब तक नहीं देख खेला है कुछ भी. That tells you how shocked he was. So Yakubov, of course, still in shock, trying to cover the best move. Agree with that. He never looks at the board, as we have seen and already shared in short form content as well. He never ever looks at the board. पर मुकेश अगर हो जाए वर्ल्ड चैंपियनशिप में तो आप किसको सपोर्ट करोगे? दैट्स अ गुड क्वेश्चन. आई थिंक अर्जुन मुकेश वी हैव आंसर्ड मल्टीपल टाइम्स. बिटवीन प्रग एंड मुकेश चैट, who would you support in a world championship match? Spam kar do bhai. Let's see what chat says. As you answer that, I want to tell you tomorrow's pairing as well. Tomorrow again, all Indian players are white pieces. It is Prag against Sindarov, Arjun against Nodirbek, and Chidambaram against Nepo. So कल की pairing तो और ज़्यादा खतरनाक है भाई. Oof, that's going to be fire. When is Zagreb town? Zagreb starts from 2nd July यार, and we're going to see Ukesh against Magnus there in Blitz and Rapid both. 3 गेमें होंगी उनकी. बाप रे, इतना support for Prag. भाई Prag Gukesh में Prag is a complete favorite in the chat. Wow. But I am a bit shocked by that actually. So if Prag and Gukesh battle in a world championship, like the support for Prag is pretty obvious. Wow. I'm actually shocked by that actually. I thought like 60-40 in favor of Gukesh hoga, but it's clearly at least 90-10 in favor of Prag. So Prag clearly has the audience support, yeah? भाई पोल क्या करना है, इतना ऑब्वियस आंसर हो ही नहीं सकता भाई. मे बी 85 होगा या 90 होगा, बट इट्स प्रीटी ऑब्वियस कि भाई प्रग को डोमिनेंट सपोर्ट है चैट में. Okay, so question for you now, chat. If Arjun and Gukesh play, then who would you support? Let's see now. By the way, Arjun playing the best move, pawn to h6, काफी logical, preventing knight g5, bishop g5 ideas, and of course giving his king a square on h7. And now white has to choose, right? So does he go for bishop f2? And after rook f7, bishop g3, we might see that repetition again in a different move order. Or will we see Nepo push with the white pieces? यहां पे अर्जुन, सो भाई गुकेश को तो बेचारा गुकेश अगर स्ट्रीम देखा कहेगा भाई ये क्या तमाशा है भाई, कोई सपोर्ट ही नहीं कर रहा है, वर्ल्ड चैंपियन बन गया, मैं कोई सपोर्ट ही नहीं कर रहा है भाई, ये क्या सीन है. इसका पोल नहीं लगाऊंगा मैं, बिकॉज आई थिंक इट्स वेरी ऑब्वियस भाई, मेरे को तो गुकेश दिख ही नहीं रहा कहीं. ये क्या सीन्स है भाई, क्रेजी सीन्स. सो whoever wins, you want him to win against Gukesh. That's the point, right? Yes or no, chat spam karo. I think that's the point, right? Basically. Wow. I'm genuinely shocked by this. I'm genuinely shocked. That's interesting data. Oh, good to know that. Because already won, let others win. नहीं यार, ये तो charity thinking होगा यार. That's not how it works. I think the strongest player should win. सबको बनने दो भाई. भाई world, see, I'll tell you the problem with that thinking, ठीक है? If everybody is world champion, then the world championship loses its value. अगर हर साल नया वर्ल्ड चैंपियन है ना, देन इट बेसिकली लूजेस वैल्यू. Magnus was the world champion for a decade, and that's why you knew he was the world champion. It had significance, right? So अगर हर साल change हो रहा है, so then automatically people say not the real world champion. जो drama देखते हो तुम comments में, YouTube comments में देखते हो. Poll लगाना है, रुको रुको रुको. Okay, I'm going to add a poll. I think at this point, who will be world champ 2026? ठीक है, Gokesh. I'm gonna add Arjun because he's ahead on the ratings at least till today. Let's say Prag and others. Let's see भाई chat किसको support करती है. Let's see chat क्या होता है. Meanwhile, chat Arjun playing at 6 now. Napo being the one kind of calculating, so he will have to make a choice. Does he want to push? Actually, that's an important decision, right? Does he want to push in this game? Is an important decision to make, or does he want to say, you know what, Arjun looks prepared. I think he knows what he's doing. He's already equalized. Let me take a quick draw, go home, and try to prepare for tomorrow. Asking answer and answering own it owns. ये क्या है शौर्य भाई? You know, I suddenly feel कि इंग्लिश दोबारा सीखनी पड़ेगी मुझे. ये क्या था? क्या मतलब है इसका? भाई Arjun is also playing, by the way. लोग कह रहे हैं Prag is playing, Prag fans are here. भाई Arjun fans are also here. In fact, Arjun is on the camera. Prag तो बीच में चलते हुए आ रहा है. So I don't think that's the case. You want to see Bharat dominating our particular player. That's an interesting point. You want to focus, you want the focus to be on India. That's an interesting point. You think कि India अगर जीतता रहेगा, that just puts India ahead as a team. That might be interesting. Gukesh winning poll. Bhai, it's very close actually. Gukesh 33, Prag 34, Arjun 24, others 8. So meanwhile, chat, Nepo still thinking, has Prag's opponent played? Still no moves by Prag's opponent. Still no moves. I told, I think even I underestimated how strong 94 is. Because he is shocked by this move. He's not played for the last 20, 25 minutes. And he took 50 seconds for D takes E5. 50 seconds, by the way, for this move. Yeah, it was 50 seconds, I think. 50 seconds. And now he's down to 50 minutes. Wow, I'm really shocked by how much time he's taking. I think he really underestimated how strong this move is. But of course, I think there are ways for white to maintain equality. E6 is one option we saw. 94, of course, is the risky option because we saw वहाँ पे वो E3 का option है. I don't think he will go for that. Now, if you play bishop g2, yeah, just a developing move, I think black takes on c5 and somehow black's pieces do look like they are more active. You could castle, I will damage your structure. e5 is still weak and my pawn on d5 is just such a strong pawn, yeah? And the bishop on g2 completely blocked by these 3 pawns. So it's not a great piece on g2 right now. So that's why I think white has a tough decision and he's already 15 minutes behind the clock and Prag doing great. So Arjun game में चलते हैं वापस देखते हैं if Nepo can come up with a move, something to challenge Arjun. There's no shock. Even Magnus loves Prag. I do agree on that front. I think if you ask Magnus Carlsen, he will not say it out loud maybe, but ऐसा अंदर से लगता है maybe he has slightly more hopes from Prag there. I think I've seen him acknowledge that a lot. He think Prag is probably a bit more stronger or talented or whatever the correct word is. But it doesn't mean that Prag will come to the top, right? Because Magnus' prediction can be wrong. And even if he's 1% off, then that means somebody else comes up on top. And all 3 Indian players, by the way, literally neck to neck. By the way, Indian ratings right now, Arjun 2780, Prag 2777, Gukesh 2776. Literally 4 rating points के अंदर 3 Indian है. तो they are that close. Thinking for 20-25 minutes in a 90-30 game is not shocking, is it? It is, Dishant bhai. First of all, you think for so long when it's a complicated middle game position. Next चीज ये है कि आपको समझना है कि he played the last move in 30 seconds, 50 seconds. He expected his opponent's response. He did not expect 94 and he's realizing gradually कितनी strong move है ये. And that's why he's taking too much time. मैं तो कलेश लगा, अरे कलेश क्या है भाई? कलेश कुछ नहीं है भाई. Views on Hans, yesterday he won. By Hans winning yesterday is of course a statement that he's a very strong player. But I think पिछले हमने 6 महीने में देखा ही है. He's right now, I think, world number 20. with a rating of 2736. So he's clearly one of the strongest players in the world. And if he does well, more power to him. But of course, like I think he's a bit more controversial than other players. So it's hard to comment on him without starting trending on Twitter. So that's the thing. By the way, Bishop F2 played by Napo. So his plan is pretty obvious. He wants to put the bishop on G3 and pressure the E5 pawn. So now, and also not to forget another secret threat in the position, chat. So let's say I play king to h7. What will be white's move? What is the problem with this move, chat? Come on. Who will come up with the move now? Where do you learn English? By English, I don't know, yaar. I don't learn English anywhere. फ्यूचर में प्रग और अर्जुन जा रहे हैं. आई थिंक अर्जुन इज देयर. इज प्रग देयर? आई डोंट थिंक प्रग इज देयर. आई थिंक गुकेश माइट बी देयर, अर्जुन माइट बी देयर. आई डोंट थिंक प्रग इज प्लेइंग फ्री स्टाइल वेगस, राइट? Magnus waits for Prague, sits, has some soft corner. That is possible. Soft corner ho sakta hai. That is just a personal relationship, right? So yeah. Knight e3, you are correct. It's again a fork, chat. It's basically a fork. Attacking the rook, attacking the pawn. So that's the problem, and you have to be precise. So bishop f2, a dangerous move in the position, threatening knight to e3, forking the pawn and the rook. Let's say king h7, knight e3, rook attack, rook to hilna hi padega, and then I can simply pick up the pawn for free. Then the e5 pawn is free, and this is basically lost. This is basically lost for Arjun. So Arjun, of course, has to be on point. He will, of course, see 93. तो मैंने देख लिया तो अर्जुन ने देख लेगा. But yeah, there is a threat in the position, a dangerous one. सागर ये नहीं साहिल भाई, ये सागर भाई लेवी का क्या लफड़ा है? बस आई डोंट थिंक लफड़ा है एक्चुअली. दे बोथ आर द ओनली वंस नॉट बिलीविंग इन द लफड़ा. आई थिंक वो सुटोस्की जी ने ट्वीट किया था. आई थिंक इट्स जस्ट अ कंपैरिजन, राइट? आई थिंक यू आर बोर्ड वन डे, you think who contributed more to chess? Was it Sagar? Was it Levy? And then you tweet out something. I don't think there was any malice behind Emil's tweet. But I mean, I think everybody does their bit, right? I mean, for example, the players. I think we are focusing on the YouTubers, but the players, without, let's say, Arjun being on top, without, let's say, Prag being on top, Gukesh becoming the world champion, like, what do you make content about? Without Magnus being the GOAT, what would Levy make content about? So, I think everybody contributes, and even the tournament organizers, like वो organize नहीं करेंगे तो content कहाँ से आएगा? So I think everybody contributes, and that's what both Sagar and Levy were kind of saying. Chess.com contribute करता है, कितनी सारी companies हैं involved हैं. FIDE भी of course does bits जितना भी कर सकता है. So I think that's what the players say, but of course वो tweet फालतू में इतना viral हो गया, इतना कुछ crazy था नहीं उसमें. Prag told he's going to Vegas. Really? I didn't know that, yeah. I think that's news to me. So maybe he qualified somehow. I don't remember it. Because I don't think they've released the invited players, right? They've not released the names. So maybe that's why. Arjun, by the way, knows the threat. So rook f7 would be one of the moves. Up knight e3 से पहले ही rook f7 खेल दो. And if now knight e3, it's not the same, right? And now कौन है वो खिलाड़ी जिसने queen to g6 कहा था? This is the moment for this move. And now, chat, comes the question. So queen g6, पर pawn on d5. Wait, what? Why can't I pick up this pawn, bhai log? What's the problem? Or even with the rook, let's say, why can't I pick up this, chat? What is the problem with this move, chat? Who will come up with the best move? Let's go. Black to play. Prag invited. Okay, they announced. Yeah, okay. I must have missed that, I think, announcement then. So if Prag is playing, I think Gukesh world champion, uska spot to reserve hota hi hai. So Gukesh is playing, and then we have Arjun playing. So 3 Indians, yeah. I think only VD is not there, and 3 Indians playing. Rook f3, absolutely right. The queen is not on d1. जहां वो usually होती है defending the knight. So rook f3 is a free knight because you can't take with the pawn. The pawn is pinned. So that's the idea, and that's why queen g6 now would equalize completely. In fact, queen g6 के बाद bishop g3 खेलना पड़ेगा, and that's the only move. Everything else is actually better for Arjun. For example, if you play king h1, let's say I want to sidestep, no rook f3, there is e4 actually, attacking the knight. And if you move the knight, then knight e5. And you know what? This is getting out to be an attack. Rook df8, knight g4, rook f2. Bhai, this is scary attack for black. So that's why I think this is a double-edged street. And if Arjun plays good chess for the next 2-3 moves, we might even see a comfortable draw, if not more, for Arjun. मुकेश नेम इज नॉट ऑन द लिस्ट, आई थिंक होगा यार। जहां तक मुझे आइडिया है, द वर्ल्ड चैंपियन इज ऑलवेज इनवाइटेड फॉर दिस इवेंट, वेदर ही सेड नो दैट माइट बी द केस, बट as far as I know, I think the world champion is always invited along with the top three players. Actually, he declined. Oh, that's possible. He might have declined. That would make sense. But he must have been invited though. And maybe that's why Prag is playing. Yeah, like maybe Mukesh is not playing. That's why. Chad, by the way, 2 gets to 500 likes jaldi se bhai log. And meanwhile, one look at the Prag game. Still no moves from his opponent. Imagine, bhai. Imagine. I think Prag is already thinking कि भाई dinner में क्या खाना है. I think this is really, really, I would say this is not great practical play from White. Like you might just survive this, but you're basically condemning yourself to, struggling on the clock in the final 10 moves to the time control. So, and he did that yesterday as well. Yesterday it worked because Arvind made a bunch of mistakes and gave him a chance to come back. Prag might not do that, especially because Prag is way ahead on the clock now, like 21 minutes after move number 8. That's a huge time lead. So Prag doing extremely well. No moves from his opponent still. And we are in the 48th. He's used up half his time almost, chat. Almost. Almost half his time. 90 minutes से start हुए थे, 48 बचे हैं. So not good practical play from Yakubov here. He should play right about now. I think otherwise Prag is taking this game home. So I would already predict like a 80% chance of Prague winning this game, maybe 10% draw, 10% Yakubov wins. And another, of course, Arvind, who is who lost yesterday. By the way, we have a bunch of moves here. Bishop G2, Bishop E7, castles D3, Knight C6, A4, Queen D7. I think normal developing moves. And now Arvind will have to prove a point ki where is the compensation coming from. I think it will come from the rooks coming to these files. I don't know, B8, C8, Konsas file hoga. But it has to be in terms of not allowing white to break in the center. Of course, that's one thing. Not allowing this bishop to become stronger and not allowing these pawns to get pushed, because if e3 d4 happens, then ये दोनों connected pass pawns हो जाएंगे. Imagine ये दोनों pawn चले गए. Then to bhai, this is gone. So Arvind has to be careful, and knight d2, great move by white, opening up the bishop against the bishop on b7. So you by the way, if you try to go in the center with d5, I think e4 is the plan. And if you go d4, then what a beautiful square for the knight on c4 and the knight on b5. So Arvind has to be very, very careful. The good news is Param Maksudlu way behind on the clock with 48 minutes. So some chances for Arvind as well. Going back to the game of Arjun, has he played something? Nothing yet. Still thinking, and the time is equalizing. Why Rashif like, yeah, I think it's a long story. Gukesh did not confirm his participation. Yeah, so maybe that's why he's not playing. Yeah, that makes sense. So, can you share the requirements that will fulfill to become a GM? I want to say, why GM is very difficult. आपको 3 GM norms करने पड़ते हैं. You have to get a rating of 2500 FIDE, and that's not easy at all. I know of people who are international masters and have been trying for the GM title for the last 15 years and nahi kar paye. So it's extremely difficult to go from, I think IM tak it's still doable. GM karna is not easy at all. I think future world champions Prag or Hikaru. But that's always interesting. I think Hikaru is of course somebody who wants to play the world championship, and Hikaru world championship खेलेगा तो बहुत hype भी होगी because he has insane expressions. He will play attacking games. He'll play quickly as well, and in the tie breaks also he'll be a favorite. So it'll be a tough challenge for Mukesh if Hikaru qualifies. There's no doubt about it. Prag, Vincent Yan qualified to rating spots. Got it. Rating aa gayi unki. Right. They have a new rating. Jahan pe Carlsen has a rating of 2900, by the way, if somebody doesn't know, in freestyle chess ratings. 2900. Just imagine that. Why finally he achieved his dream, yeah? By default, not by getting in field ratings. And he even had a comment, I think, something like, I don't know if Carlson said it. I think he said it, right? Like my wife is more attracted to me after my 2900 rating, something like that. That was hilarious. Why Arjun don't look at the board most of the time? That's the question we've been asking Munir Bhai. I think he prefers calculating in his head. And if your visualization is very strong, that can be an advantage. जो आप बोर्ड पे कैलकुलेट करते हो ना, इमेजिन यार दिस इज द पोजीशन एंड आप कैलकुलेट कर रहे हो. लेट्स से आपने कहा रूक F7, नाइट E3, क्वीन G6. आप दिमाग में पीसेस मूव कर रहे हो, बट जब बोर्ड पे देखते हो ना, तो वो पीस वहीं पड़ा होता है. सो इट कैन समटाइम्स स्पॉइल योर कैलकुलेशन व्हेन यू आर लुकिंग एट द बोर्ड. But when you're playing in your mind, there is no such limitation. The limitation is, however, कि आप, you have to visualize everything completely. So some people prefer, calculating without looking at the board, and Arjun is clearly one of them. Yeah, freestyle rating, of course. Uh, Freestyle rating not impressive. Yeah, I think 2900 is still impressive, चाहे कोई format हो, but of course, like I think it's not the same as classical chess. There is no doubt about it. Um, Prague game chat, we had a look. His opponent is still thinking. 44 minutes now. भाई रिजाइन ही कर दे, ये क्या चल रहा है यार. आई एम जेन्युइनली शॉक्ड बाय दिस नाउ. आई थिंक कितने 40 मिनट हो गए सोचते हुए उसको. नहीं, 35-40 मिनट हो गए ना, आई थिंक. भाई दिस इज दिस इज अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम. I think Yakubov is really putting himself in a difficult spot here. If he wants to win this, like how does he do it now? He has a worse position. He has no time on the clock. Prague has almost double the time now. भाई आई नो योगा डे है, बट इतनी देर भी योगा नहीं करना था भाई. He's still not playing 43 minutes. And this is move number 8. Move number 8. Chad, this is like insane. And just to point out, Arjun ki game mein, just a comparison, they've already played 20 moves. And Arjun has 1 hour 3 minutes. And in the Prague game, they've played 8 moves. 2.5x less moves, and still he has used up like more than half the time. और प्रकल्पन स्टैचू खेल रहे हैं. अरे भाई, वे भाई तो मजे ले रहे हैं, बट भाई I think Prague is taking this home. Like if Prague doesn't win this now, I'll be genuinely shocked. It's just that he can even play risky moves now. He will know कि opponent के पास time ही नहीं होगा calculate करने का. And of course, there's a rating disparity, right? So he's not playing against Magnus. He's playing somebody who's 120 points lower rated. Prague अपनी life की peak form में, by the way, let's not forget, this is the highest rating Prague has ever had in his life. He is India number 2, world number 5, with a rating of 2777, and he has increased 8 ranks in the last month. And if he wins this game, he will become India number 1, will get a rating of 2781. So he's in the peak form of his life, and opponent खेल ही नहीं रहा है भाई. 42 minutes now. What is he thinking about? Bhai, I think he realized that every single move is worse for him, and he's trying to just find a move which is not, but it doesn't exist. Wait, he's about to make a mistake. I think Queen C2 is not the best move here. It's a decent move, but that will give Prague a slight edge. Yeah, Queen C2 played. And how much time will it take? I think we have to look at this. I think for 35 minutes, I'm guessing, yeah? I'm going to guess 35 minutes. Let me quickly check how much time he took. Can we see that? I think we're going to see that, right? I can't see it right now for some reason. Okay, somehow the timer vanished, but I'm pretty sure he took like... Look at my expression. You see my expression? Oh, that was hilarious. That was hilarious. Bhai, timestamp note kar raha hu main, bhai, short ke liye, bhai. If you saw Prag's expression, he was like, what? What did you just play? Oh, boy, it was hilarious. I'm going to see it again on my phone. That was hilarious, actually. Prag was like, what? What? Anyways, I think that means Chad Prag definitely did not think that was the best move in the position, and he's correct. And now, Chad, he has multiple ways to play this. So first of all, he can just take this pawn. He defends his knight on e4, and if you take, I'm going to again take with the knight. I can even take with the pawn. It's up to me, and all of my moves looking amazing. Or he can also take. Now playing queen c2, obviously आपका आइडिया है queen से मारोगे, yeah? Otherwise आप pawn से मारने वाले तो queen c2 खेला. Queen c3 का आइडिया है. And now I take with the knight. And after you play bishop g2, let's say, knight e4, and you again have to move the queen. So queen कितने धक्के खाएगी भाई? गेम की स्टार्टिंग में लिमिट होती है भाई धक्के खाने की. Now queen c2 back, bishop f. अरे भाई माफ करो यार, गलती कर दी गेम में आके. So you can already imagine how like she'll get kicked. अब queen d1 खेलना अबे बाप रे. So I think Prag is in like great shape here. Great position for Prag. Prag drinking water, that's also true, yeah. मतलब you know his that's his finishing move. किसको पता था opening में ही आ जाएगी finishing move आज. And anybody watching chat, do like the stream. Let's get more people because I think Prag is going to get a crushing win today. That's my prediction, and it's going to be fascinating because black के पास white के time ही नहीं है. 42 minutes. That's insane. That's insane. So one look at the Arjun game and we'll come back to this game as soon as Prag moves because बहुत exciting game है. Oh, hello. What? Chat, look at this. Apparently, Rook F7 was the best move, keeping everything harmonious, not committing to anything in life. A true Chandler Bing. But Arjun wanted that commitment from his pawns, and he pushes it to e4. Now that's a very interesting move, and that's why you see Napo holding his head. I don't think he expected that move because chat usually knight d4 aata hai. And if you take with the knight, I take with the bishop. That's a great square for the bishop, right? Now I can bring my knight to g3, even the queen to g3 if the black queen moves. I'm threatening mate on g7. Knight e3, by the way, attacking the rook as well. And kya badhiya position hai. But the problem is, I think black can actually go c5. Bishop f2 back. And now you can see how these pawns can also be scary. इसका मतलब है Arjun is raising the stakes. He doesn't want to draw, I think. He doesn't want to draw, I think. It is a mistake, chat. It is objectively not the best move. But we know Arjun does this. We know Arjun does this. He plays the second and the third best move. And surprise, surprise, e4 is the third best move in the position. And he has played that move again. Now the difference is this time he's playing this against the world top 10 players. सामने कोई 2600 नहीं है, कोई NM नहीं बैठा मेरी तरह. सामने Ihan Nepomniachtchi है, world number 9, 3 वर्ल्ड चैंपियनशिप्स खेल चुके हैं. सॉरी 2 खेल चुके हैं, 3 में कोशिश करी, दोनों हारे, लेकिन he is one of the strongest players in the world. So Nepo, that's why he's a bit shocked. But knight d4 now has to be played. I think anything else would just be equalizing. So knight d4 is the move. And I think Arjun का point है इसको मारना. And his idea is bishop d4 पे c5. And he says that these pawns, this strong pawn chain gives me enough compensation कि your 2 pieces are not enough. Lekin, first of all, first question, what if I take with the pawn? And now I have the c file for my rook. I can always bring the bishop to g3 and e5. And this is still very dangerous. Chat, I'll give you an example. Look at this. Let's say Arjun कहता है कोई खतरा नहीं है भाई, कोई खतरा ही नहीं है भाई, कोई खतरा ही नहीं है, पोजीशन बढ़िया, मैं खेलूंगा यहां पे king to h7. Look at the bar now. I think this is lost already. First bishop g3, Rani ko attack. Let's say queen goes to d7. Now knight to e3, rook pe attack. Rook has to move. Let's say, I don't know, rook f7. And now I can play h3, give my king a square, ताकि rook f1 ideas ना हो यहाँ पे double करके. And slowly I'm going to next play rook c1. Let's say this black passes here, king g8, rook c1. Let's say king h7, and now rook takes c7 is game over. And even if I defend, let's say I play rook c8. Now I can bring the queen in, play queen c6, exchange queens, take on a6. Or I can even play knight g4 with knight e5. And white is completely winning. White is completely winning here. So, अगर ये होता है knight d4 and cd4 मारते हैं Nepo, black has only one move, I think, to continue the game. And that is rook df8. And the idea is आपने pieces को develop करने का time ही नहीं दिया. If now bishop g3, I'm gonna take on f1 with check. And if knight e3, I'm just gonna take on f2. So आपको accurate chess खेलना है, and that's what Arjun has seen. So now the only move for white is rook to d2, and यहाँ पे black continues his attack. You see, he's confused. Nepo is confused, and his confusion is logical because उसने Arjun की crazy lines नहीं देखी हैं. The move is queen to b4, and that's a freaky move, chat. So question for you. Let's say Nepo says, you know what? I'm gonna play knight to g3 to attack this rook. Chat, what is Arjun's move now? What can Arjun play here? Param made a mistake. We'll go to that. Oh, that's crazy. We'll go to the game soon. Praka game be equally here, 0.1. Manjul bhai, maybe it's close to equality, but how much time White used and the practical play, right, seems better for Prag. And that's why White took so much time. Even though it's only +1, +2, he realized he practically खेलना कितना मुश्किल है वो position. Yes, chat, it is over. Rook takes f2, rook takes f2, and queen aapki hanging hai. So the threat here is rook takes f2, winning the game. So a3 now, and now queen to b3. Continuing this weird attack. So now if you play knight g3, for example, I will simply put the rook back. And if you play, you can't play, there's no bishop p3, there's no point. Yeah, bishop p3 ka matlab kya hai? There's nothing, I will continue with my queen side play. And if you play knight e3, for example, rook f7 back, you play bishop g3, chat again, black to play, what is the best move? Basically, white के ये pieces नहीं आने चाहिए. ये pieces नहीं आने चाहिए, and इसको रोकने के लिए queen b3. So what does black play now? What is Arjun's idea now? So हमने क्या किया? पहले हमने खेला e4, मारा मारा, पॉन से मारा. नाउ वी प्ले व्हाट? रुक df8. हमने खेला रूक टू बचाने के लिए, क्वीन b4 रुक को पिन करने के लिए. तो उसने खेला a3 क्वीन को धक्का लगाने के लिए. हमारी क्वीन यहां आ गई. अब क्वीन हैंगिंग नहीं है. एंड नाउ इफ यू प्ले क्या क्या देखा था हमने? हाँ, नाइट g3 आई थिंक. नहीं देखो, नाइट, हाँ, नाइट e3 रुक f7 बिशप g3. यस, एग्जैक्टली. सो व्हाट इज ब्लैक्स मूव? Of course, they will miss nahi karega, but he has not seen it yet. Now he will see it, yeah? Yes, not rook f1 chat. Rook f1 chat doge to I will take with the knight. Yes, it is a queen sack. Queen takes e3 check. Queen takes e3 and rook f1 is checkmate. So यही सब अर्जुन देख के e4 खेला है. And that's what Nepo will now realize. And Arjun ki move actually is pretty strong. But of course, Nepo can get equality. Yeah, it's not so difficult. In fact, agar Nepo ko sab kuch avoid karna hai, he can just take with the bishop, c5, put the bishop back, I don't know, maybe to, f2, yeah, whatever the plan is. Next knight g3, and the game is equal. So Nepo is not really risking much yet, but Arjun has some crazy ideas in the position. So meanwhile, Prag game agar hum jaएं, so this happened, by the way, knight dc5 mara usne, and apparently knight d4 was the best move, and his opponent found it. So his opponent, I think, used that time well at least and came up with the best move. And for example, if you play bishop e7 now, I think he just wants to play bishop g2 and attack this knight and basically force you to take on c3 ताकि वो queen से मार के अपना एक position बढ़िया ले ले. So ठीक है, White is now playing good chess, but इतना time इस्तेमाल कर दिया. You have 41 minutes. I still think Prag, I would give him a 75% winning advantage, I think, at least. I don't think Prag made a mistake, Chad. I don't think it's a mistake. I think Prag is still better. So Prag की पोजीशन बढ़िया लग रही है. मीनवाइल चिदम्बरम की पोजीशन इक्वल हो गई है. चैट करिए. लेट्स हैव अ लुक. आई थिंक यहां तक नाइट 2 देखा था हमने. रूक b8, नाइट c4, बिशप a6, f4 was apparently a mistake. But it does look human, right? Your bishop is set up, your rook is set up, you want to play f4, takes, and now apparently after a move like d5 or even just taking this actually, it is close to equality. So some chances for Arvind, and he has played d5, by the way. The best move in the position. So Arvind, complicating matters, and look at the time. So maybe his gamble of playing this a6 move, by the way, look at what he played on move number 2. That's insane. His gamble of playing a6 might be working. And if it does, he looked like a genius, to be honest. That's the gamble of playing moves like this. You might look like a genius or might look like a big blunder. So let's see what happens right now. A6 is working for now for Arvind Chithambaram. He should be happy with what he has. So going to the Arjun game, can Arjun... Oh, by the way, we have a few moves. Oh, this happened. Exactly, this happened. Oh my God. So we saw bishop to e4, knight d4 khela, knight se mara, and Nepo took with the pawn. Exactly what we saw. Oh my God. And now after rook df8 played by Arjun, the only move, Nepo plays the only move, rook d2. And now queen b4 is the only move for Arjun. He has to find it. भाई वी जस्ट सॉ इट, वी जस्ट सॉ इट। क्रेजी भाई, भाई सब प्रेडिक्ट करते कितना बढ़िया लगता है भाई, है ना? इट जस्ट फील्स सो नाइस कि भाई हमने जो देखा वही हुआ। आहा, मजा आता है यार। ब्यूटीफुल। बोथ प्लेयर्स प्लेइंग एम्बिशियस लाइंस यार। नेपो का क्रेडिट यार, कितना जल्दी कैलकुलेट कर लिया उसने सब कुछ। Lots of exchanges. I don't see the exchanges, Madhu. I don't, Ajit, I don't see it, yaar. I don't see it. I think Queen before के बाद Nepo, now that this is complicated, Nepo की भी kind of, this is the kind of position which, both Nepo and Arjun both love. So they would love to play this. Like, unki curiosity will get the better of them. Like, if there is a way they can keep pushing, both of them will keep pushing. So draw होने के chances maybe are not that high looking at the style of the players. What a position, by the way. टिक्कू भाई इतनी नहीं, अरे हिंदी भोजपुरी कश्मीरी भाई क्या क्या बोलना है भाई, सब बोल देंगे यार, फिक्र मत करो। 9 मिनट में क्वेश्चन करेंगे, 500 लाइक भाई, जल्दी लाइक करो। आ, how is this tournament is an important tournament, by the way, in terms of how many points you get towards the FIDE circuit, how many ratings points you can increase towards the rating spot. So as we move towards the second half of 2025, uh, candidates के spots fill up होने चालू हो जाएंगे, and there are 7 spots to be filled, and that means every top level event जहां पे the rating averages of 2700 matters a lot, and this is one of them. And that's why I think if Prag wins, for example, that will almost seal his candidate spot one way or the other. भाई नेपो से आगे है, बट ही हैज टू यूज दैट टाइम नाउ, बिकॉज चैट, अगर वो यहां पे एक नॉर्मल चाल खेलता है ना, सेकंड बेस्ट मूव भी खेलता है, नाउ 93 बिशप G3, एंड समहाउ वाइट विल विन दिस। आई थिंक दिस पोजिशन इज रियली बैड। बार दिखा रहा है +0.7, बट इफ यू लीव इट ऑन फॉर अ लॉन्ग टाइम ना, it will go up to +1.5. I will not be shocked if it goes to +1.5 even. So I think white के moves बहुत easy हैं। Bishop G3 आएगा, H3 आएगा, Bishop E5 आएगा, then Rook C2 आएगा, then Queen will get into the game, and this will be really really hard for Black to defend. So he better find Queen B4, otherwise Arjun might be going down. And then Prag draw करके भी India नंबर 1 बन जाएगा। uh, Of course, Mr. Neil, anytime. Will Ding get a seat in the candidates? Naiva, he will have to fight for it, just like everybody else. Stockfish में मत जाओ यार। Ajit, the thing is, sometimes practical play also matters, and once you have so less time on the clock, it really plays with your mind as well. So, Prag की game में कुछ हुआ है क्या? I don't think anything has happened, chat. Still the same position in the Prag game, no moves. Prag is still thinking. So we stick to this game for now, and no moves in the Arvind game as well. So let's stick here and see what Arjun comes up with, because he has only one move here. Come on, come on, come on. Chat, no moves. This is the Prag game. No moves. हमने knight d4 देखा था, and still no moves since then. Prag is still thinking. So going back to the game of Nepo against Arjun, will Arjun find? Chat, question for you: will Arjun find the only move Queen b4, or will he get a much much worse position? Yes or no, chat? Does he find it? Let's go. अरे भाई इतनी इंग्लिश, अरे भाई क्या करे भाई, बोलना पड़ता है भाई, बोलना पड़ता है यार। अंग्रेजी भी हमारी एक अच्छी भाषा है भाई, हम ग्रो अप होते हैं अंग्रेजी पढ़ते हुए, वरना भाई अपॉर्चुनिटी जिंदगी में नहीं मिलेगी, ऐसा बोला जाता है हमारे टीचरों के द्वारा। ऑफ कोर्स, यस, यस, यस। सेकेंड वेस्ट में रूक के 7 है, आई थिंक दैट्स क्लोज टू लॉस्ट मेरे हिसाब से तो। Gukesh is not playing this year. Gukesh will be more selective about his events, yeah. And also, do not forget he's the world champion. So, जब भी कोई invite करता है Gukesh को, it will cost a lot more now. I'm guessing finance is also a part of it, and Gukesh himself will of course be more selective now. So he will try to play the strongest events. जहाँ पे he also has players like Hikaru, Magnus, yeah. So he will try to play that. Remember, यार देखो उसको वर्ल्ड चैंपियनशिप के लिए क्वालिफाई नहीं करना है, so he can afford to play less tournaments, but बाकी सब प्लेस को क्वालिफाई करना है, and that's why you see these guys playing. Meanwhile, chat, Nepo not even at the seat. भाई कुर्सी पे भी नहीं है बंदा। अर्जुन टेकन थिंकिंग मूव टू प्रग, भाई प्रग इज स्टिल थिंकिंग एज वेल। सो अगर दोनों को सोचते हुए ही देखना है, So I would rather want Arjun right now because Arjun is in a must move situation, right? Arjun has only one move. Prag could play a6 and still survive, but Arjun has to play queen b4 or he's close to lost. Come on, Arjun, queen b4, queen b4. क्वीन बी फोर अगर 93 खेला हमने देखा हुआ है चैट कम ऑन रुक टेक्स F2 रिजाइंस खत्म क्वीन गई भाई खत्म फिनिश टाटा बाय बाय ओवर मेट सो दैट्स व्हाई बहुत क्रिटिकल पोजीशन है if Nepo would have played the queen instead of the by queen d2 खेलोगे तो I will just pick up the bishop no like somehow in this position usually queen दो रुक आप exchange कर लेते हो but यहाँ मुझे आपका bishop भी मिला so I got a bishop and queen for two rooks and black is completely winning that's why rook d2 ताकि rook से आप defend कर पाओ okay so about queen before come on yes, 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 let's go! Arjun plays the best move as expected, pins that rook, and chat, there is a huge threat of rook takes f2, rook takes, and queen e1. Of course, Nepo will see it, but rook takes f2 is a move you can miss in blitz. अगर ये world blitz होता, तो of course Nepo would have been champion. I mean, he might have missed this, but you know, classical में he will likely not miss it. But of course, he doesn't have too many options. For example, अगर आप rook e2 खेलते हो, then I can still take this. That's the beauty. I can still take it. If you take it, I pick up your queen. And if you take my queen, it is mate in one. So even rook e2 doesn't work, unfortunately. So he has to find either moves like queen d1 or a3. I think ऐसे कुछ चलना पड़ेगा उसको. But queen d1 also has problems, yeah, because यहाँ पे black can even take rook takes f2, rook takes f2, king takes f2, queen takes b2, queen d2, and queen a3. And even this is roughly equal. White is a piece up, but black has a bunch of pawns. And who's better here? God knows. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pawns versus 1, 2, 3, 4. 3 pawns for a knight. It's roughly balanced. And either side could win this. So I think मेरे हिसाब से I think A3 is the most logical move for Nepo to try and kind of play the game on. Dude, this is chess, not football. So, bro, I mean, I don't see why chess commentary हमेशा ऐसी होनी चाहिए. And then, guys, he played pawn to E3. Beautiful move by Nepo, and the queen goes back to A5. And then maybe he will try to sacrifice on F2 again. Like ऐसी commentary जरूरी है क्या भाई? A3 looks natural. Yeah, A3 looks very natural actually. आप queen को attack कर रहे हो, A3 खेला, अगर rook F2 मारा, I will just pick up your queen. Bye bye, winning the game. So फिलहाल के लिए chat, Nepo is the one again thinking, has Prag played something? No moves by Prag also. So maybe the game is not, completely in Prag's favor, and maybe knight d4 is a move that the opponent played is a move that Prag missed. So both players missing a move by their opponent, and now Prag also going low on the clock. Of course, he's still ahead of his opponent. I think इतना time इस्तेमाल नहीं करना चाहिए यार. So full pressure now on Prag, back. Yakubov again staging some sort of comeback. But abhi bhi, I think Prag is in the driver's seat because 10-minute advantage bahut hota hai and he's still slightly better. So meanwhile, chat, going to the Arvind game, has something changed? D5, knight e3, and he just wanted the pawn back. Pawn वापस दे दो, knight to d4, and now basically he's saying rook b5, queen b5, knight b5. तीन तिगाड़े से मैं pawn मार सकता हूं. So as of now, things looking great. And of course, if you take this, and take this, that's a blunder because bishop c5. And यहाँ पे तीनों piece, unfortunately, first took care. So Arvind playing some great chess, by the way, today. So going to the game of, Arjun again. Can they play quickly? Because Nepo ka move, I think it's kind of forced, right? He only has two options. So might as well play it quickly. And he might have seen the move, right? It's impossible to imagine Nepo did not see queen b4. And now he's thinking, like, that's not going to happen. So he's obviously seen this before. Let's see what happens. Yasser doesn't communicate. भाई यासर भाई commentary अलग ही है भाई. I think everybody has their own style ना भाई. वही तो चीज है. Everybody has their own style. calm his voice, not exclude any sport. But I agree, but I think हर किसी का style different है. As I said, I think everybody has their own style. Everybody has a different way. जैसे Hikaru है, he has a different style of playing, right? He likes attacking. He'll give you expressions, but Arjun will not give you any expressions. So if everybody had the same expressions, it would get boring. So same चीज़ है भाई. And that's why there are so many commentators in the world because everybody has their own style. By the way, A3 played and the queen is now attacked. As we saw, Queen B3 is the only move. By the way, if you go Queen A5, trying to maintain the spin, there is Queen C1. And now there is pressure from white on these pawns, and that would be a better position for Nepo. So if Arjun wants equality, he has to find Queen B3. And uske baad bhi, I think, if anybody is slightly better, it has to be white. So Arjun ko bahut precise hona padega, and what he has done is a bit, is a bit risky. Let's just put it that way. बट ओके, खतरों से खेलना अर्जुन का पुराना काम है यार. अर्जुन कभी कापा है क्या? खतरों से खेलता है अर्जुन, एंड ही इज ऑलवेज वन ऑफ दोस प्लेयर्स हु विल टेक दैट रिस्क, एंड दैट्स व्हाई इट्स इंटरेस्टिंग. मीanwhile चैट, लेट्स गेट टू 500 लाइक्स भाई, जल्दी से लेट्स गो टू 500 लाइक्स. लेट्स गो. एक ओहो रेसिस्ट इन द चैट, नाइस टू मीट यू ब्रो. यार काफी किसी ने बैन नहीं किया था यार. नाइस टू नो कि एक बंदे को बैन कर सकते हैं. Glad to know that भाई, बैंड भाई, बच्चे भी रेसिस होते हैं, पता नहीं था. Meanwhile chat बात है, oh कोई भी प्लेट. So Arjun plays the best move in the position, takes around a minute or two for it. So सब कुछ planned है, सब कुछ लिखा हुआ है भाई, सब कुछ लिखा हुआ है भाई, सब कुछ लिखा हुआ है. जैसा हमने कहा, इन द मूवी ऑफ जिंदगी ना मिलेगी दोबारा, सब कुछ लिखा हुआ है. Arjun will not play Queen A5. I know. But I think there's always a chance that he goes wrong, right? Because when you have only one option in life, बाकी सब possibilities गलत है. By mathematics, there's a higher chance you pick up the wrong probability. And it takes a very strong player to come up with the best moves every single time. And now, chat, the queen also defends the pawn here. So अगर knight e3 आता है, I can simply push the rook back and the pawn is not hanging. And h3 play, by the way, very smart move by Nepo, because it has a multi-purpose thing. First of all, there are no back rank issues now. So my king will not get mated. All these tactics, queen e3, rook f2, none of them work now. Second, I want to play knight e3 next. So let's say if you play king h7, now look at the bar go up. This is dangerous now. For example, rook gaya, I don't know, f7 for example, bishop g3. And I got what I wanted again. Bishop coming to e5, rook coming to c2 at the right moment. King can aram se go to h2. And you will struggle in this position. So Arjun has to find rook f7 right about now. And chat, you know what? I have a bad feeling about this. I have a bad feeling about this कि अब तक जो only moves थी ना, वो थोड़ी आसान थी. अब की जो only moves है, they are not easy. So Arjun under some pressure. Meanwhile, लोग कह रहे हैं Prag has made a mistake. Chat, let's have a look if it's a mistake. Apparently, bishop e7 was okay. Multiple moves were okay, but Prag plays queen to e7, and that's objectively a mistake. But let's have a look what the idea is, chat. First of all, idea is simple. प्यादा दे दो भाई. ये पैदा दिख रहा है, मुझे खाना है, टेस्टी है, फ्री का है, मैं ले लूंगा. एज इंडियंस वी नेवर अवॉइड एनीथिंग दैट इज गिवन टू अस फॉर फ्री, सो हम मारेंगे. एंड इसका मतलब क्या है? सो द क्वेश्चन इज व्हाट डज वाइट डू? चैट, दिस इज नॉट अ मिस्टेक. लेट्स हैव अ लुक एट दिस. ठीक है, दिस इज नॉट अ मिस्टेक. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, व्हाट कैन वाइट डू इज द क्वेश्चन. अगर आप ये नाइट मारते हो, आई एम गोना टेक विद द नाइट, एंड यू अगेन हैव द सेम प्रॉब्लम. हाउ डू आई सेव दिस पॉन? ठीक है, फॉर एग्जाम्पल, इंजन की फर्स्ट प्रेफरेंस इज f3. Would you first of all play f3 here, opening up your king's diagonal? It is risky. It is very risky. In fact, queen e5 भी possible है यहाँ पे. If you take this, I pick up this. So this is not easy with white having less time on the clock. 39 minutes now, by the way. Let's go back. Let's say मुझे direct pawn बचाना है, मुझे ये मारना ही नहीं है. ठीक है? How do you save this pawn? If you play bishop f4, there is g5. लात वापस. If you play, what else, by the way, if you play knight f3, for example, bishop f5, black is winning. So the only move for white, I think, okay, you can take and then play this, but the only move is pawn to f4. But you can imagine pawn to f4 is not an easy move. इसका मतलब ये knight यहां से कभी नहीं हिलने वाला. Of course, you can, like, it's not a problem. I think white has ways to remove this, but इसका मतलब है कि you have given up the idea to kick this knight away. You have blocked your bishop as well. And now, at some point, your king can be weak. So, Prag is taking a calculated decision. Yeah, he has not played the best move. He's played second best move, and he wants to sharpen up the position. That's the idea, I think. And you can see White is about to play f4. उसने देखा हुआ है black का move पहले, and he's going to put the pawn to f4. And maybe now White is better, but Black will have his chances too, because this is very, very complicated. And usually Prag is backing himself. कि जितना complicated होगा, उतने मेरे chances बढ़ेंगे. That's the idea. So I wouldn't call Queen e7 a huge mistake. Let's just put it that way. It's not the best move, but not a mistake either. Let's just say that. No, I think f4 he will find. He was about to play the f pawn anyways. But after f4, it definitely makes the game a lot more complicated. For example, one of the moves here is h5 actually. You can imagine, yeah, how already this is getting very, for example, let's say I play a normal move, I don't know, like bishop e3. Already, like h4 is in the air. So you can see how this can get sharp, and I think that's what Prag is aiming for. He wants a sharp battle. I think f4 आएगा board पे अभी की अभी. अरे thank you DC भाई. And फिलहाल के लिए chat. Let's see, will White play the best move? 36 minutes to play 30 moves. That's the problem for White. It's not the position now. It's how much time he has. And 30 minutes, 36 minutes, 30 moves khelna is extremely difficult, even with the increment. Can White long castle? He can. But again, how much sharp the game becomes after that? That's very difficult. I agree. I peaked at way too much to go off this. I think potential अभी सारे Indian players का अभी बहुत बाकी है. Parag is like, I think 20 years old, Arjun like 21, Rukesh 19. All of these players are very, very young, and they've still not seen their peak. That's the basic idea. So full pressure that, and you are Prag thinking right now, so क्या करेंगे उनके opponent going down on the clock even further. This is getting very, very interesting. Pravanda in the driver's seat on the clock, but क्या position उनकी खराब हो चुकी है if White finds f4. And White still hesitating. I don't think, कई लोग कहते हैं कि भाई hesitate. I think White has no time to hesitate. He has to play f4 quickly. After f4, why not g5? Yeah, g5 देखने में अच्छा लग रहा है. But that's, I think, raising the stakes too much. I think after g5, bishop g2, if you take, I will take with the bishop. I will not take with the pawn and allow queen h4 check. That would be amazing for black. But bishop से मारूंगा, and now there is no g5. तो g5 को बचा के रखना है कि जब भी bishop आएगा तब मैं g5 खेलूंगा, pawn के लिए नहीं. That's why I think you need that pawn on g7 कि जैसे bishop यहाँ आए मैं g5 खेल दूं. इसका भी आएगा एक moment, but this is not it. अभी black is not developed. पहले development बहुत जरूरी है, देश की भी और chessboard की भी. By the way, f4 on the board played, and wow, भाई Prag ने seconds में f6 खेल दिया. And now chat, that is a slight error, but White के पास एक ही चाल है. He has to play knight takes e4, or Prag is again better, I think. Wow, भाई Prag playing some critical moves. Let's have a look. अगर ef6 मारा तो queen f6, look at the bar going Prag's favor. Knight is hanging. If you play, let's say, I don't know, what can you play? Knight c6 एक move है apparently यहाँ पे. That's crazy. Pawn takes c6, knight takes c6. यहाँ पे idea है कि अगर knight से मारते हो तो I'm gonna take this. But even this, queen d7, queen a8, and now bishop c5, the queen is actually trapped. Even this is possible. That's crazy. The queen is trapped on a8. So going back, the best move is knight takes e4, knight takes e4, and bishop g2. This is the only way for White to play to get an edge. And now f takes e5, the knight is hanging. F takes e5, queen takes e5, and the idea is now knight takes c6. This is what Prag could have missed, chat. This is what he could have missed. So very interesting. I think we'll come back and see what happens. Arjun game में move हो चुकी है. Let's go there. And he has found the best move. So I see Arjun still putting up a tough fight. He is not going down easily. And now Nepo, I think Nepo की moves काफी simple है. I think knight e3 is the move maybe. By the way, bishop g3 जो अच्छी move लग रही थी अब possible नहीं है because rook f1 wins. So you can't move the bishop. And if you play knight e3, there is c5. एक second. Hello. C5 is very scary actually because अगर आप ये मारते हो chat, there is d4 and it's actually winning. It's actually winning for Arjun because if you take with the rook, the bishop hangs. And if you move the knight back, where do you move the knight back? Let's say knight g4, e3, game over. Oh, so Arjun has set up a very clever trap here for Nepo. If knight e3, the most obvious move, I think c5 is very strong. Of course, he will not take then. He will play maybe knight g4, try to come to e5. But then maybe Arjun has equalized b4. So Arjun playing some amazing chess right now. I think he's playing some amazing chess, and Nepo, of course, being put under pressure in a position jahan pe he should have been kind of better practically, but hey, nahi better actually. Now, knight e3 is the move we saw. Another idea is you can't play rook c2 to attack this pawn because bishop hanging hai. So queen c1 maybe, but now queen c4. And I'm again asking, do you want to trade queens? If you trade queens, then bc4 black is again better. Rook b8, rook b2. Bhai, maybe Arjun is really teasing Nepo here a bit. Not easy position for Nepo. I think once he stabilized that, अगर ये knight यहाँ आ गया और bishop यहाँ आ गया, I think Nepo is winning. बस दो पीस इसको डेवलप करने हैं. अगर एक चाल एक्स्ट्रा मिल गई, let's say knight e3 and no c5. Yeah, let's say you don't play c5, I play c6. Bishop g3 maybe. And white is close to winning, I think. खत्म. Arjun will be struggle in this game. Draw भी मुश्किल लग रहा है मुझे. I think it's close to lost. But एक move का खेल है सारा. Why did Harikrishna pull out the tournament? I don't know actually. He was supposed to play this, but there might have been a reason. It's very hard to know for sure what the exact reason was. Maybe it's a personal reason and we do not know it. But yeah, he did withdraw from the tournament last minute. I think I saw his name till a week earlier and then it wasn't there. पाठक बोलो दोनों का nice, nice, that was nice. पाठक, wow. Meanwhile, chat 48 minutes for Arjun, 46 minutes for Ian Nepomniachtchi here. Chess is so tough. One bad move and you're toasted. Exactly. That is the point. We can see the bar. I know you can see the bar. The point is not about the bar. It's about the practical play here. For example, let's say knight e3, c6, which is 3. Bar कह रहा है it is plus 0.3. Plus 0.3, देख लो. Plus 0.34 कह रहा है. But if I leave the bar open for an hour, it will tell you plus 1.5 maybe. So bar जो कह रहा है and जो reality है, it's not the same. Because it's really underestimating how strong white is, and it's really underestimating, कि black के moves कितने difficult है. So I think that's why bar is not everything sometimes. And sure, Nepo won't see that just दो moves free मिल जाए अर्जुन को. नहीं, Nepo will surely see it. I think Nepo will see कि भाई knight e3 c5 आ रहा है. But the thing is, what else can he do? Like there is no other option, right? For example, queen c1, queen c4, knight e3, c5. If you play king h2, for example, then there is c5 anyways. And you take, I play d4 anyways, because again the bishop is hanging. So c5 is a constant threat to many of white's moves. And of course, you can't move the bishop because f1 is hanging and you resign. Khatam. Finish. So that's why I think Nepo's choice is not easy here actually. And you see him thinking, it's not going to be easy to come up with a move. By the way, important moment as Maksudlu blocks our view, white has come up with the best move. So Prag being put under pressure. Will Yakubboev stun another Indian player? We already saw this, knight e4, fe4, sorry, Bishop g2, fe5, fe5, queen e5, knight c6 is the move. And if you take this knight, queen c6, I don't know, bishop d7, queen a8, and this is completely winning for Nodrbek. So going back, after knight c6, queen f6 is the only move. You threaten mate here with queen f2 or some sort of, devastating check, and also the knight. So bishop takes e4 marna padega. Pawn takes e4. Queen e4 check. The game goes on. Crazy, hai bhai. Bishop e7. Now you exchange everything. Oh, sorry, not this. And this game, I think, is equal. I think opposite color bishop's hair, white is a pawn up. But I think black is probably fine. I think koi stress nahi hai. So probably Prag has seen this and Prag has said, you know what? If white finds all this, he gets a draw. And if he doesn't find all this, I think I win. So it's a pretty, I think, practical decision for Prag. But I think Yakubov has seen all of it. So that means we might have an opposite color drawn endgame here. Why Napo is way low in FIDE rating, Mr. Milton? I think that's not true. He's around 20 points lower. He's world number 9. He's extremely experienced, and he also has played 2 world championships and 3. And he's the winner of 3. I think the last candidate Ukesh won. Uske पिछले दोनों candidates Napo won. So I think Napo is quite strong. And I don't think like as of now he's like weaker than Arjun. I think he's pretty equalish. He plays less nowadays. टिकू भाई का बुलेट में डाउनफॉल चल रहा नहीं भाई 25 रेटिंग है बुलेट में यार क्या डाउनफॉल है भाई बढ़िया है सब and meanwhile Bishop need to play it so he plays the only move Prag under pressure so he can actually go for this line as we saw this is a draw or will Prag try something fancy here could he potentially play f5 that is a move but that is a risky move I think that could be lost for him long term so I think maybe he should go for the opposite color bishop endgame, and Yakubov will get a draw. So Prag is not happy now. I think you can see him do like I think he missed something there, and now the game might be equal. So meanwhile, going to the Arvind game for a second because Arvind has completely equalized. Takes knight f5, rook b5, rook a6, rook b8. Chat, he's already. I don't know. Like I sense कि Arvind could win this as well. Like rook takes b3 आ रहा है. I'm winning another pawn. And although you have some active pieces, no doubt, I think you can attack here. Rook be active hai, not to forget, some back rank issues. But I still feel like this is all 3 results possible. Like anybody can win this. And look at Maksudlu's time, 29 minutes against a 57-minute time. Bhai, that is a huge time edge for Arvind. So could Arvind pull off an upset with the black pieces? Yeah, Rakesh will join us soon. Yeah, I'm hoping he will join us soon. But as of now, Arvind could be, away from moments away from another victory. Who knows? And also Arjun game, by the way, very important. Nepo still not able to come up with the move as we expected. The move is not simple. If he wants a draw, he can take it. I think Queen C1 would be an easy way. Queen C4, and they kind of shake hands. But if he wants to push, it is what? Okay, so Nepo wants a win. Nepo wants a win, chat, but there is a big difference between the knight on e3 and the knight on g3. The knight usually is the best blockader of passed pawns. The knight should have gone to e3 ताकि bishop यहाँ आके e5 आ सके. The knight on g3 does not really have any squares to go to. Even e2 doesn't feel impressive because the bishop is hanging. So Nepo, just to keep the game going on, has kind of messed up his coordination a little bit. I think he now intends to play bishop e3 and so on, but it's not the same. I think the knight needs to be here, the bishop needs to be here. And now, Arjun can start, pushing his pawns. So c5, I think, doesn't work now because you can just take. And d4 pe, I mean, you can just take with the bishop now. So there is no, e3 coming. But what you can do is potentially start playing b4 ideas. And let's say you take with the queen, again the rook is pinned, and now you can start thinking about transferring the rook here. Maybe even a5, a4, c5 also at the right moment is possible. So yeah, I think Arjun has counterplay. Arjun has counterplay, and this could go like either way. All three results possible after knight to g3. It will not be a one-way street for Nepo because the knight needed to be on e3 for that, and the bishop needed to be on g3 for that. So a5 is a good move, b4 is a good move. You just want to create counterplay as quickly as possible on the queen side. Yakubov +9. Bhai, I'm telling you, yeah, I think Prag has messed up his game a bit now. But still, I think Yakubov not having a winning position, I think Prag is still okay. टिकू चुप, अरे भाई तो कौन बोलेगा भाई, एक ही कमेंटेटर है तो वो भी नहीं बोलेगा तो कौन बोलेगा. आप ही आ जाओ भाई, अभिषेक भाई बता दो भाई क्या बोलना है फिर. If Indian player wants to be India one, they need to cross Vishy's peak rating 2817. Agreed, but I think we are also seeing a rating deflation. At that point, when Vishy sir was 2817, I think they were like at least 5 to 10 players above 2800. Nowadays, we only have two. So we have seen some level of rating deflation in the last 5 years. So because of that, I think maybe let's say 10-15 पॉइंट का आप वो लगा सकते हो. I think 2805 now would be तब का 2817, something like that. By the way, somebody is saying rook f3. By what is that move? What if I just take? I don't think this is working actually. Yeah, I don't think so. I could even just sacrifice the piece actually for 2 pawns. I'm a piece up. Yeah, this should not work. Yeah, this should not work actually. At some point, just pushing the maybe king g2 as well. Very, very safe. This will not work. तो चैट 44 मिनट्स फॉर ब्लैक, 41 मिनट्स फॉर नेपो. फिलहाल के लिए टाइम पे आ गए हैं. दैट्स रेयर अकरेंस एज वी हैव मेंशन्ड अर्लियर एज वेल कि नेपो बहुत फास्ट खेलता है. थैंक यू निकुंज भाई. ठीक भाई, जून 26 का टॉप 5 प्रिडिक्ट करे. अरे बाप रे यार, ये तो तुमने बड़ा मुश्किल कर दिया भाई. आई थिंक टॉप 5 प्रिडिक्ट करना मुश्किल नहीं है, ऑर्डर प्रिडिक्ट करना बड़ा मुश्किल है. आई थिंक दैट इज द डिफिकल्ट पार्ट. टिक्को आपका रियल नेम क्या है भाई? टिक्को मेरा रियल सरनेम है भाई, TICK00. कश्मीरी सरनेम है भाई ये, किसी को बताना नहीं लेकिन रिस्की आजकल. Best move by Arjun A4, A5. I think you mean A5 would be a great move actually. Chat देखो ना, king side पे white has domination of the pieces, more pieces. You can't do much. You don't want to push your king side pawns and weaken your king. You can't push C5, the only move you want to play. So यही pawn बचे. So push करो उनको. Let's make improvements. जब life में ना, when you're struggling in life, I think as Jordan Peterson used to say, make minute improvements. Yeah, start with something small. Get that confidence up and start with something small. You can't do anything else. Let's push the A pawn. Let's push the B pawn. जो भी possible है, make slight improvements and things will get better with time. अच्छा तो बोलो कश्मीरी. I don't wanna say that भाई, छोड़ो. डर ही लगता है भाई कश्मीरी है आजकल. By the way, chat. Okay, so as he thinks, Prag की game में Prag has taken on e5 and Yakubov takes back. So now Prag faces a critical dilemma. Does he play queen e5, allowing knight c6? In which case, he's basically fighting for a draw, a pawn down. He will get the draw, but he cannot win that game. It's impossible. Or he plays bishop d7, controlling this, allowing this. And then he's basically 1, 2, 3, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. He's a pawn down, but has the bishop pair. And then he plays bishop 3 to prevent castling. But I think white is better here, yaar. I think white is better here. Like this does not feel like enough compensation somehow. Agar black ki piece developed hote, the bishop was on c5, black was ready to castle, then maybe you could have done something. But black का bishop blocked है, there are weak squares here, queen g6 check आ रहा है, white is also ready to castle. In fact, bishop e3, white will castle first. Yeah, if you castle, I castle. I don't see how black is getting compensation actually. So maybe Prag will have to make the hard choice of accepting that slightly worse position and going for the draw. E5 is a strong point for white. Exactly, and that's why the bishop belongs to g3, na, ताकि वो e5 जा सके. The knight cannot go to g3. That's a long, long way away. That's why knight e3 in fact was closer to e5. तभी knight यहां चला चाहिए था, bishop यहां, and which Arjun did not allow him to do. आप थोड़ा पानी पी लो, पीता हुआ पानी पियेंगे भाई, बिल्कुल भाई। भाई आज तो कोक पीने का मन कर रहा है फॉर सम रीजन। करता हूँ ऑर्डर। अर्जुन कह रहा है भाई थोड़े हमें भी पिला दो कोक। नहीं नहीं भाई, आप फोकस करो अर्जुन भाई। यू प्ले द बेस्ट मूव्स, आई ड्रिंक द बेस्ट ड्रिंक्स। Why is rating deflation? I think it can be due to multiple reasons. Very hard to be sure. I think as more people come into the game, let's say there are people who have learned chess online, they've learned from Levy, Sagar, Agalmator, but they've never played over the board chess. So they are strong, but when they come and play over the board, they don't have a rating. So they can really decrease the rating of many stronger players. And that's why you might see the deflation. So when we have lots of people come into the community, chess community, I think you might see some deflation there in the ratings. And it just makes sense, yeah? अबे हिंदी में बोल ले, अरे भाई सानू सानू हिंदी पंजाबी सब कुछ बोलने आती है तो कुछ भी कर सकते हैं यार, कोई स्ट्रेस ही नहीं है भाई, हिंदी बोल देंगे भाई, कोई चक्कर नहीं है, बट लेकिन फिलहाल के लिए मूव्स तो अंग्रेजी में रहेंगी भाई। नाइट टू जी3। King h7 threatening rook takes f2. So king h7 you want to play, but how are you threatening rook takes f2? Because I'm still kind of defending. Acha, oh, wait. If I play a4, got it. You want this. Nice, actually. Nice one. I missed that for a second. So idea is that's a nice move. So chat, the idea is black could play rook f2 and queen g3, but now there is rook f8 check and I pick up your queen. So you could just play king h7, threatening rook takes f2. That's a nice trap. Yeah, I missed that. Nice trap by who was it? एबी भाई नहीं भाई, बिल्कुल एबी यार, मतलब आपके नाम में बी बहुत आता है, ए रखो, ए प्लस रखो भाई। ब्यूटीफुल ट्रैप देयर। Of course, Nepo will not fall for it, but I think it's worth trying because it doesn't spoil your position even a little bit. So king h7, definitely a practically nice move. I like that, honestly. ठीक है, कौन सी लैंग्वेजेस बोलते हैं भाई? हिंदी, इंग्लिश, कश्मीरी, बेसिक बेसिक फ्रेंच और जर्मन, मतलब कि इतना कि भाई बंदा जिंदा रह सके कंट्री में, ऐसा कुछ। कमान कमान। मराठी नहीं आती यार, बस काइज हालो और जोपी आता है मुझे मराठी में। बट काफी है भाई, 3 वर्ड तो आते हैं ना भाई। ओके चैट, अर्जुन सोचते हुए डीप 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 सोच में, पराग ने भी and he plays what? Rook f6, I think he plays. Okay, you know what? That's a very nice move actually, chat. That's a very nice move. It's a multi-purpose move. First of all, it can kind of attack you on the king side. It can also swing via the queen side. I love that move from Arjun. Beautiful move. Chat, can we have Arjun OP for that move ek bar? Bhai, beautiful move. And chat, you know why it's even stronger? Can somebody tell me the best move for white here according to the engines? Come on, chat, take a guess. Take a wild guess. Take a wild guess. What do you think is the engine's first preference after rook to f6? And that's why it's so strong. I think that's why practically it's just a mind-blowing move from Arjun. You will realize the importance of its moves after that. The best move here is, I think chat mein bande ne likha bhi, it is knight to f1 back. Imagine you just came to g3, your opponent plays rook f6, and now you have to come back. That's insane. That's insane. So it's not easy for Nepo. And if he does play knight f1, Arjun could simply go back and offer a draw, and a draw is great with black. So Nepo is now stuck. Either he plays the best move and basically repeats, or he has to accept a worse position. For example, let's have a look. If you play, for example, let's say king to h2 pehle, then there is b4 and black is already better. If you play knight to h5, there is rook takes f2, rook takes f2, rook takes f2, queen takes f2, queen d1 check, you pick up the knight, game over. If you play knight e2, then rook f2 is lost. If you play, I don't know, rook e2, then rook c6. वही आइडिया जो मैंने कहा. Rook is coming to c2 and black is better. So, chat, this is a beautiful move. It's highly underrated how strong this is. I think I would really like to give this an exclamation mark. I don't know whether it's showing as one. मैं तो उसको brilliance ही तो नहीं देते. I think it requires a sacrifice, but a beautiful move, rook f6 by Arjun here. Oh, I'm proud of my surname भाई. लेकिन it's proud होना private में ही proud हो सकते हैं भाई. Public में proud होते हैं तो थोड़ा risk रहता है health के लिए. Knight f1 would be a draw offer, but I still don't think Napo will draw. If he does play knight f1, then I think he might play something else on the next move after rook f7, and even Arjun might not repeat for that matter. Arjun is the only player who takes chances in best and worst. I disagree, I think Gokesh has also done that. He has accepted worst positions in Norway chess consistently and still gone on to win the game. So I think Gukesh also does that. Prag maybe less so. I think Prag doesn't like accepting worst, and that's a good trait to have, honestly. I'm in Prag's boat here. But Gukesh I think, would fall in that category. He also loves pushing, even accepting a slightly worse position. By the way, in the Prag game, Prag did take a knight c6 by Yakubov on the board, and Prag is now objectively worse. He has to play queen f6 and head off into this endgame where the position is just equal. In fact, white is better, but because of opposite color bishops, this should be a draw. So a great result for Yakubov. Prag is basically playing for two results now, Chad. I don't think Prag can win this one. In fact, I predicted like a 75% chance of Prag to win. I think he spoiled that with one of the moves, and now Yakubov must be very, very happy with where he is. He's playing for two results, win or a draw. And queen f6 is the only move. If you play something like queen c7, trying to pin the knight, white will take this. If you take this, there is queen e4 check, bishop e7, for example, queen g6, king f8, and castles. And this is basically game over. So you have to, I think, play queen f6 if you want to draw the game. So going back, chat, I think this is interesting. Arvind game, by the way, not many changes. I think he just grabbed the b through pawn. Oh, wow, look at this. A beautiful move by Param Maksudlu, avoiding the trade. Rook to c6, nice. If you take the rook, there is knight e7, forking king and queen. So beautiful move. But of course, it doesn't do anything. I mean, you can just continue rook a2 and the game is still equal. But nice move, nice move. Have to appreciate rook c6 by Param. But he's still 23 minutes, more than double the time. So as of now, Arvind Chithambaram doing well, at least on the clock. So going back to the game of Arjun, jahan pe, Napo in a critical situation. Does he repeat the moves or does he accept a slightly worse position, chat? Super critical moment for Napo. Chat, question for you. Does Napo play knight to f1? Yes or no? Context, anybody joining in, knight f1 is the best move, but he will have to repeat moves here. Does Napo play knight f1 or does he push even at the cost of a slightly worse position? Come on, chat. Knight f1, yes or no? Two back in the middle. Exactly, I think he missed the critical moment there, and now he is basically playing for a draw. No, 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 no. He played bishop e3. Bishop e3, by the way, I think it's a decent move, but again, black can just continue, yeah? And black ka plan clear hai. I think black will be better here, so Napo will have to accept a worse position if he avoids knight f1. And chat kariye, no, he will not play it. I agree. I think knight f1 वापस जाना. First of all, you have to understand every single black idea. Rook c2, c5, a5, b4. All of these ideas you have to understand. Okay, Napo will do that, of course, with time. But then you have to also admit कि भाई गलती हो गई. And that's not easy. That's not easy. Your psychology doesn't allow you to admit the mistake. Knight, double exclamation means a brilliance, Ankit. That means it's like a beautiful move जिसमें आपने कुछ sacrifice किया है, but if your opponent takes it, it's only going to end up badly for him. It's like a beautiful move. Yeah, it's a Let's just say कि it makes people feel proud about their chess. By the way, king h2 played. Nepo has made a mistake. As we expected, as you predicted, chat, king h2, and now a5, b4, and rook c6. All three moves give Arjun a slight edge. So Nepo is saying, "Mujhe win karna hai. If I lose, I lose." This is a golden opportunity for Arjun. If Arjun can win this, he will cross Fabiano Caruana and become the new world number 3, and he will take a huge leap because Nepo ki rating bhi bahut high hai. He will get 4.5 points, and he will take, in fact, almost 5. He will take a huge leap towards overtaking Hikaru in the rating spot for the candidates. That's a big risk from Nepo, and it might bite him later in the game. And the time situation is decent for Arjun. He is capable of finding one of these moves, chat. Interesting position now. What about queen 3? I think up to white ne chal diya king h2. So now looking at queen 3 doesn't make any sense. So let's see what happens. And rook c6 is a very interesting move, of course. White can try to play knight h5, try to attack, but then you have rook f5 as well. And all your pieces are really playing. So white ko wapas aana padega, and then you put the rook back on f7. And if you play knight h5 again, this time I defended this, and now rook c2, and black is actually already winning. So you can see if white is not precise in what he does, black ka plan bahut simple hai. It's very simple. Take the b2 pawn, take the a3 pawn, push the pawn, queen, khatam. And white ka problem pata hai kya, chat? I'll ask you a question, theek hai? Let's see who can spot that. What is the problem? Why is white worse? If you had to point out one problem, like one piece for white, जिस piece की वजह से he is not doing better here. He's like minus 0.6 now. Why do you which piece is that? Which is the problem piece for white here, chat? Come on, let's go. The best move, by the way, is b4. Second best is a5. King h7 भी अच्छी चाल है, rook c6 भी अच्छी चाल है. सारी move अच्छी है. But best is apparently b4. The problem piece here is कौन निकालेगा? Not the knight actually, not even the bishop. I think it's the queen. मुझे ऐसा feeling आ रहा है. Of course, bishop is misplaced. I agree with that. But I think the queen, if it was on g4, for example, let's imagine the queen on g4 and the bishop is not hanging, yeah? Suddenly white has an attack. So white can then attack. Queen g4 आ गया, knight h5 आ गया, mate लगी हुई है. The queen is passive. That's the problem. The bishop can be improved in one move. Literally, imagine bishop यहाँ होता, queen g4, bishop h6 के ideas होते game के अंदर. So the queen is passive. I think that's the problem for Nepo here. He's not able to utilize the two pieces that he has against the rook. वो advantage का फायदा नहीं उठा पा रहा. The pieces alone can't do much. They need the queen to attack, and there is no path. If queen into rook f2 wins. So the queen has no way. If queen d1, I take the queen. So how do you actually improve the queen? So that's interesting. Wait, what? Oh my God, blunder. Param Maksudlu has blundered the game. Oh my God, look at this. Rook c6, rook c3, rook a6, rook a3, rook c6. Arvind was okay with the draw. Arvind ने कहा ड्रॉ करते हैं, घर चलते हैं मेरे भाई, हैंडशेक करते हैं, चिल करते हैं, जल्दी सोते हैं, डिनर खाते हैं भाई, चिल करते हैं, लाइफ में कल आएंगे दोबारा खेलेंगे. लेकिन परम ने कहा नहीं भाई, मुझे जीतना है. After rook c3, queen a4, a big mistake by Param Maksudlu here. As we know, chat, I don't know if you remember, Param played a game against, I think it was Vidit, if I'm not mistaken. I think in a very important clash, somewhere in some important event, and he was winning, and he's a guy who will try to conjure up some crazy attacks, even in a drawn position. And Queen a4 is a blunder. It's a blunder from Param Maksudlu. So let's have a look how, chat. First of all, idea kya hai? If let's say you play random move h6, the idea here is rook takes f6. That is the plan. By the way, Arvind has played the best move. And if you take here, I pick up your queen. If you take here, I give this check. King h8, I don't know where you want to go with the king. Now rook f7, and I've sacrificed the queen. basically for a piece, rook and some pieces, and now I will play rook g4 and mate you. So that was the plan, but he completely missed bishop d6. And this is beautiful because this is hanging from the rook and the knight. दो पीसेस अटैक कर रहे हैं बिशप को. He played it, chat. He found it. He found it very quickly, actually. If you take with the rook, I think that's obvious. You lose the queen. If you take with the knight, then rook takes c6. I'm an exchange up. Hello, sir. So this is crazy. And by the important, if you had taken the rook directly, there was queen takes c6. Queen c6 and knight e7. So that was the plan. So I simply move the bishop out. So not so difficult actually when you look at the tactics. And now Param Maksudlu is clearly worse. Wow. So chat, Arvind getting that important mistake from his opponent. His counterplay worked. He repeated the move twice. His opponent panicked. And you can see Param's face is turning red. His face is turning pink. He senses he has made the mistake. And now it's Arvind all the way. Of course, the game is not over yet. There are some complications here because both the kings are a bit open and the black king can be open. In some cases, there will be some sacrifices coming up, knight h6 and so on. But whatever it is, I think Param Maksudlu is clearly worse now. Arjun better, Arvind better. Prag is the only one I think who's worse right now. But Prag ke game kuch hua hai, by the way. Wait. Queen f6, bishop e4, d4, queen e4. He did not play bishop e7. He played queen to e6. No, knight e5 and bishop d6. So he's trying to maintain the bishop pair. He doesn't want to go into the opposite color bishop endgame. That's a very, very, I would say, practically nice decision, I'm going to say. It does give white some winning chances, but it also maintains black's winning chances somehow. So, if white goes wrong, which he can under time pressure, with the bishop pair, it's possible to gain that pawn back very quickly, especially the pawn on e2 is a random pawn, weak. The king is not castled. I think Prag coming with a nice trick. So I think Prag in the game still, definitely in the game. And now white has only two moves, queen g6 check or queen a4 check. So Prag fighting it out, great news. And by the way, chat, good news. Arjun plays one of the best moves in the position, pawn to a5, playing on the queen side, creating counterplay. भाई Arvind better, Arjun better, Prag creating counterplay. भाई मस्त दिन लग रहा है black pieces के साथ. Wow. This is a beautiful day, man. Beautiful games, chat. Chat, come on यार. जल्दी stream like करो यार. ऐसे नहीं चलेगा भाई. This is amazing. भाई, and just to point out the stakes. If Arjun wins, he's the new world number 3. If Prag wins, he is the new India number 1. If Arjun doesn't win, of course. And if Arvind wins, he's back to world top 11. So lot at stake. Wow. Man, this is fascinating, chat. This is so amazing to see. And Nepo now not able to come up with the move. And it's understandable because what is his move? Knight h5 doesn't do anything. I'm going to put the rook on f5 or f7. You didn't achieve much. Again, the queen needs to be on g4, chat. That's what white needs. He's not able to transfer the queen there. And black is saying, okay, I'm going to play b4, exchange some pawns, bring the rook to c2. My plan is simple. What are you doing in the next 3 to 4 moves? And great point by Milton भाई. बॉटल मेरे पास बचने मिल्टन की हुआ करती थी, आज तो दोस्त भी बन गया. 99.1 accuracy by अर्जुन. भाई स्टॉकफिश भी ब्लश कर जाए भाई. Imagine. Prag is in trouble, I know. But the thing is, the alternative we saw Pranjal, in that he was playing for 2 results. Like opposite color bishop endgame, pawn down. But the endgame he has now, I think he has more chances, I feel. Like he has more chances to somehow confuse his opponent and even win. Like there's this outside chance he wins. So that's why I prefer what he has done instead of what we saw, that depressing opposite color bishop endgame. अर्जुन की अभी 90 तक से नीचे नहीं आई भाई. एंड 27 मूव हो चुके. ओ माय गॉड. भाई 27 मूव हो चुके हैं, ओ माय गॉड, एंड 99.1 एक्यूरेसी। भाई मोदी जी को इसी बात पे ट्वीट कर देना चाहिए भाई। आई थिंक वी सॉ प्राइम मिनिस्टर्स ट्वीट फॉर गुकेश when he defeated Magnus. We saw it for Divya when she defeated Huey Fan. That's so nice to see that the prime minister himself is acknowledging this. I think अर्जुन अगर आज 100 एक्यूरेसी कर देना और हरा दे तो उसके भी ट्वीट बनता है, एक तो बनता है भाई। बाय द वे, who is going for candidates is Arjun Prag eligible for that? I think candidates के लिए इंडिया के एटलीस्ट दो तीन प्लेयर तो जाएंगे। It will be very hard to imagine कि कोई क्वालिफाई ना करे। So I'm gonna assume Prag Arjun तो 100% क्वालिफाई करेंगे one way or the other. In fact, they might qualify through more than one path, which is very likely for Prag at least and maybe for Arjun as well. So वो तो क्वालिफाई करेंगे, उसके अलावा कोई क्वालिफाई करेगा कि नहीं पता नहीं। आई थिंक इट डिपेंड्स। अरविंद will have to play consistent chess for the remainder of the year to qualify. Then you also have Vidit, but I don't know how much Vidit will play. So that's the problem with Vidit qualifying. Then you also, Vishisa will not play, of course. And then you have Nihal, who can qualify via the World Cup. You also have, Ronak, Hari Krishna, who will also try to qualify. But I think in terms of qualifications, Parag Arjun, I would say, should be almost guaranteed. And maybe one more spot can be filled up. So three players, maybe, I think. I think Arvind with me, I think if I had to say it directly, I think Arvind maybe because he's been playing so well for the past 6 months. Vidit, I think, was getting married, so he's a bit busy. So it's a bit difficult to come. Oh, by the way, 95 played by Nepo. So now let's just put the rook back or rook f5. Any of these moves, I think he's offering a draw. I think he's offering a draw. Rook f5, knight g3, rook f6, knight h5. I think it's a draw offer from Nepo. That's my guess. Because rook f के बाद he has no moves. He has to put the knight back. So this is a draw offer from Nepo chat. Question for you. Will Arjun play rook f5 and take the draw? Or will Arjun play rook f7 and say, picture अभी बाकी है मेरे दोस्त. Draw, yes or no chat, spam कर दो. Oh, he plays rook f5 and Nepo is repeating. Will Arjun repeat? I think he is repeating, chat, as of now. I think he is repeating. Oh, he's repeating. Okay, the advantage is only slight, so maybe Arjun, maybe the draw would not be so bad for Arjun, but he can push if he wants to. Wait, Nepo pani leke aa gaya. Okay, I'm a bit confused. If you want to repeat, you don't really get a bottle of water, right? So Nepo is giving me confusing signals. I thought that was just my ex, but okay, anyways, maybe there are some confusing signals because you don't get a water bottle if you want to repeat. So maybe Nepo will not repeat, yeah? And I think it's very smart for Arjun to kind of repeat once very quickly because if Nepo becomes overconfident and plays anything else, I think Arjun is better. So, but I'm still not sure if he'll repeat. I think Arjun might just repeat as well. Let's see what happens. He should not repeat chat carrier. I know he should not, but does he sense कि he's better? And of course, yeah, when your opponent has two pieces ना, थोड़ा डर तो लगता है कि if the queen activates, I might be completely lost. So full pressure right now on Nepo. Will he agree to a draw is the question. As of now, it's not clear. Meanwhile, in the Arvind game chat, Arvind has made a mistake. Knight d6 was played and yahan pe rook c6 was the move he had to find. But he plays queen c6 and now if the queen takes d4, unfortunately, the game is again even. So Arvind is missing some probabilities, chat. I think he missed some yesterday. He's missing some today. Oh, I told you, Prag is back. Chat, did I not tell you कि Prag ने best खेला and Prag will be back? Bhai, editor, I clip करो भाई. Did I not say he did something fantastic and he can come back here? And he did. Queen g6, knight g6, rook g8, and bishop f4 is already a slight mistake. Didn't I say that actually? I said that. I remember. King f7 now. Knight is almost trapped. If knight e5, okay, but this is again equal though. Yeah, this is again a draw. I think it's still equal actually. Maybe white is like draw kar leta hu, khush rahunga. But it's still equal. I think it's still equal maybe. But it was obvious, yeah, Prag is gonna be back. The question is, chat for bishop f4. I don't think he has a move apart from king f7. So if Prag plays anything else, I think he could be worse. So he should go into that endgame of opposite color bishops. King f7, knight e5, takes. Just head off into that endgame. Otherwise, he can be clearly worse. So let's hope so he finds the only move king f7. I don't think it was luck for Prague. Yeah, I think Prague was holding that draw anyways. Meanwhile, chat Arvind has spoiled his advantage and Maksudlu has taken on d4, and now the best he can do is offer a queen trade. Because white के पास एक attack है chat, knight f5 आ रहा है, rook f6 आ रहा है, he has an attack right now. So if the queens get traded off, then your material rook against knight, for example, let's say queen c4 c5, you can see how the bar drops in black's favor, because now there is no checkmating ideas and black can basically consolidate and win the game. So queen exchange karo. I think Arvind has spoiled his edge a bit, but he can still get it if white exchanges queens. Arvind had an advantage yesterday as well, I agree, but I think कल भी उसने spoil किया था and आज भी कर दिया. So not a good sign for Arvind fans. I think he is missing some ideas there. But the good news is, chat, look at Maksudlu's time. I think that is the silver lining here कि 16 minute है against 44 minutes, and that just makes me wonder, why did Arvind hurry? If he had so much time, he could really have gone deeper and tried to figure out why rook c6 better. So that's a puzzle to me. Why did he hurry with that move? But yeah, now it's roughly balanced. And going to the Arjun game, जहां पे Arjun is better. By the way, Nepo has played knight h5 chat. This was the position. Arjun was slightly better. Knight h5, rook f5, knight g3, rook f6, and knight h5. So Nepo is offering a draw. Rook f7, rook f5 he plays. Nepo will claim a draw with knight g3. So the game could be over in one move. If Arjun wants to play, he has to put the rook on f7, because rook g6 अगर आओगे तो bishop h4 and suddenly white के pieces game में आ रहे हैं. So I think rook f7 has to be played, and if bishop h4 here, then there can be some rook f1 ideas, there can be b4, and it's not the same. So he has to keep the rooks doubled on the f file ताकि bishop ना हिले. So rook f7 is the way to play. Chat question for you. Does Arjun repeat? Yes or no? Because if he does, the game is over. It's a draw. समय क्या कर रहा है? अच्छा, यू मीन मकसूद लू मैच था, समय कहां से आ गया भाई अभी? Exchange is easy to, yeah, it's still, I think Arvind has the better chances, but now Param can also win Pranjal, because when the position is equal, even though you are an exchange down, that means ki bhai, you have an attack. Otherwise, it not would not be equal. So that means it can go either way. And Nepo, by the way, shaking his head, but yeah, such a comfortable game by Arjun. Yeah, मतलब brutally आराम से equal position, better position ले ली. I think only a couple of people saying yes, कि he will repeat, but not the others. Very interesting. Arjun should continue. Actually, he should. But the thing is, advantage उतनी ज़्यादा नहीं है. It's minus 0.39. So it's not that high. And he would also sense it, right? He will sense ki maybe I am better, like a little bit. But my opponent also has the bishop and knight. And if I go wrong somewhere, then it can be very harmful. We are reaching the time trouble phase now, only 30 minutes. So draw is good enough. I think he might also repeat. There's some logic to just repeating here, because it's not winning for Arjun here. It's only slightly better. So he might just take the draw, chat. He might just take the draw. Gukesh would have never repeated. That is, I think, true. Maybe you're right. Gukesh would not repeat here. But Gukesh would be okay with getting a worse position also. He would say worse आगे देखी जाएगी. So you are right there. I think Gukesh would not repeat. I agree with you. 99 accuracy, true. एडवांटेज इतनी ज्यादा नहीं तो हिकारू क्रॉस करके कैंडिडेट्स के सपने क्यों देखने लग गए? दैट इज ट्रू. आई थिंक इफ यू रियली वांट टू क्रॉस द रेटिंग स्पॉट, यू हैव टू टेक दैट रिस्क in life. Like in these games, when you're slightly better, you will have to take that risk. But the thing is, right now he's so far away from Hikaru's rating that maybe he will think he black say draw is okay. So when he's closer, he might take that risk more, and he will have enough opportunities to cross that later as well, right? He has enough rounds in this tournament. There are multiple events coming up. He's playing Chennai GM, World Cup, Grand Swiss, बहुत events है अभी. So he can afford to draw this game if he wants to. Silas has a degree in psychology. Yeah, but I'm an introvert. I don't know if there's an introvert in chat. You spend most of your time observing people rather than interacting with them. So sometimes you learn a bit more about psychology than others. But it's not like I can guess Arjun's exact thoughts. I mean, that's not possible. But I think it might be an option that he just agrees to a draw. Critical moment though, regardless of how you see it, the time is dead equal now, and it's a critical moment. So he needs to kind of decide what to do right about now. Come on, come on, come on. Arjun bhai, I think I would love it if he plays, but it is risky. It is risky. I have to admit it is risky. I know Arun bhai, you're correct. August से rating calculate होनी चालू हो जाएगी. So that is a good point. And Hikaru already is on 2807 and he's not planning to play till the candidates. So उसको कोई stress नहीं है. He can just take his time. I know बुमराह आउट हो गया, कोई चैट में लिख रहा है, समझ गया राम भाई. तो बुमराह बॉलर है भाई, तो उसके आउट होने पे इतना स्ट्रेस क्यों लेना? Good point, by the way. Good question by unknown. Rook c6. Why not this? The point is कि यार, I again get the ability to develop my pieces, I think. ये तब अच्छा है जब नाइट g3 पे है. अगर नाइट ऑलरेडी यहां पे है ना, I can play bishop e3, and if you play rook c2, I have queen g3, and you can see how दो चालों के अंदर ही white is completely winning. And that's the fear I'm talking about in Arjun's mind right now. वो ऐसी वेरिएशंस कैलकुलेट कर रहा है कि जैसे मैं रुक c2 आ रहा हूं, दो ही चालों में हम कंप्लीटली लॉस्ट. रुक f7 फॉर एग्जांपल, रुक टेक्स, क्वीन g6, थ्रेटनिंग बिशप h6, नाइट f6, बहुत सारे थ्रेट्स हैं. And it's just too much. It's lost. It's already lost basically. So that's why I think maybe rook f5 is not so bad. Practically, this position to play as black is not easy. You will have to play the perfect moves every time for the next 10-15 moves. If Arjun backs himself to play the best moves for the next 10-15 minute moves, let's say, then he should play on. If he thinks the time come hai, it's gonna be difficult, then he should take the draw with rook f5. It's all about thinking ki how comfortable he is with this position. अगर जीता तो पार्टी मेरी तरफ सबको. अरे बढ़िया, ये गेमर जोन का नाम सब रट लो भाई. ठीक है, इस बंदे को जाने नहीं देंगे. एक बंदा था भाई, मुझे याद है वर्ल्ड चैंपियनशिप में आया था, कहता है कि इफ वर्ल्ड चैंपियन था या ओलंपियाड था, आई डोंट नो, कहता है कि अगर ये गेम मुकेश जीता तो टिको है आपको ₹1,00,000. मैंने कहा भाई ठीक है, डन भाई. बंदा वो मुकेश जीत भी गया, इंडियन बंदा गायब भी हो गया भाई. दैट गाय वैनिश्ड. मैंने कहा भाई कहाँ है मेरे पैसे? सो याद रखो उस बंदे को भाई. टिको भाई दिख क्यों नहीं रहे हो भाई? क्योंकि यार मैं अभी चिल कर रहा हूँ, लेट के कमेंट्री कर रहा हूँ मैं. And he repeats chat. I think that's a practical decision. I also like that decision, to be honest, and it's going to be a draw. I think rook f6, and we will see handshakes just right about now. Eye contact, आंख मिचोली होगी, and then it is handshakes, and it is a draw. I think a very good result for Arjun overall. I think White usually is better in these structures, तो उसने perfect chess literally खेला. 99 accuracy से खेले भाई. You know, the accuracy dropped because he repeated, but 99.1 accuracy थी till the end of the game. So great play by Arjun. And now it's time to shift to the other two games because दो और Indian खेल रहे हैं. By the way, Vokidov and Sindalov is also drawn. So let's go to Arvind right now, जहाँ पे Queen D4 के बाद Arvind is still thinking. So let's go to Pragg's game. Prag has played King F7. So Prag likes the plays the best move and that is amazing. Thank you Vivek bhai. So हमारी chat में विवेक नाम की चार लोग हैं. So बड़ा मस्त है भाई. That is amazing. So king is played and now white has to make a choice. Either he can play castles. The idea being if you take the knight, I'm going to take this with check. But regardless of what white does, we're going to go to an opposite color bishop endgame, and that should offer Prag enough drawish chances. So Prag will draw this, I think. By the way, 18 minutes. Oh, that's very interesting, by the way, chat. 18 मिनट है 19 17 मिनट है 19 चाले खेलने के लिए. So if Prag can somehow avoid the opposite color bishop endgame, I think he could have some chances. I'm curious. So 95, what if I just play king somewhere, like attack it? King e6 खेलूंगा तो knight d3 strong apparent. Yeah, that is actually irritating because मारने के फिर से check आ रही है. So let me go king f6 maybe. Knight d3. But this is too much actually. Yeah, this is too much. I castle. Okay, I can't castle actually. King has moved, but yeah, this is too much actually. I think king e developed there. Yeah, probably doesn't work. Bishop e7 खेलना पड़ेगा. White castles. Okay, maybe this is also possible actually. Maybe it is possible. Who knows? The bar just went to equality. By the way, wait. Oh, he took the bishop. He took the bishop. I think while it is like, भाई मेरे को draw चलेगा. उसने opposite bishop ending चला गया. And now he's a pawn up. So I don't think he's risking much here. But I mean, it is a draw. I can't imagine white also winning this. It's a dead draw now. Complete draw, I think. Chat Arjun draws. Gukesh likely to sorry, Gukesh no, Prag likely to draw as well. What will happen in the Arvind game? I think that game becomes super crucial because if you look at the evaluation, Arvind is an exchange up. He has a rook for a knight, but white is attacking. So, for example, let's say you play a normal move, rook to c1. Rook f6 is winning on the spot because gf6 and now queen f6, queen f7 का threat है, queen g5 का threat है, and this is basically game over. There's nothing you can do. For example, queen c5 threat queen g1. आप ट्राई कर रहे हो queen f7, king h8, queen f8, king g8, knight f5, threatening knight h6 mate, queen g7 mate, knight e7 winning the queen. It's all over. So rook f6, a huge threat in the position. So Arvind has to be careful. He has to be careful. In fact, one of the moves is rook d3 actually. Distracting the queen and then taking on d6 and saying, let's take a draw. So Arvind has to be very careful. The moves are not too many. And if queen d6, then I pick up c3. So that's why rook d3 makes a lot more sense. The only way for Arvind to continue the game and not sacrifice material instantly afterwards is queen c5. That's the only way. And then you play queen e5 as white, threatening rook f6 again. And now you play d4, queen c5, rook c5, rook d4, and you've won 2 pawns. And again, the game is equal. So chat, ड्रॉ के चांसेस वेरी हाई. साहिल एंड गेम कोर्स कब? यार मेरा एक लंदन सिस्टम का कोर्स है भाई, एंड गेम का तो नहीं है. एंड गेम कोर्स कौन बनाता है यार? एंड गेम कोर्स अकेले आई थिंक इट्स टू बोरिंग एक्चुअली. Gukesh legend for sure. Prag should hold this. I think he will hold it comfortably. Like it will not even be difficult, I feel. Very easy. Is it more Gukesh's endgame technique is really brilliant and it's better than other things? I think it's possible, Shian. I think it's very hard to compare endgame skills because like at the end, it's a you don't get the same endgame, right? So everybody gets different endgames, so it's very hard to compare. They are rook endgames. Somebody might be better in the rook endgame, but might be better in the bishop endgames. So it's very hard to compare. But I do agree that Gukesh is one of the stronger players in the endgame there. By the Parham, yeah, two brilliancies by Param. So, but it didn't work out. He blundered after the brilliancies. But I think Arvind also blundered back. So he also missed a chance there. So super important moment in the Arvind game. Can he create some chances or will Rook F6 happen and Arvind could lose? So super important moment. Dina says endgame the opening. What do you think about it? I think endgame ऐसी चीज है जो आपको करनी है. इट्स लाइक एक ऐसी चीज आपको करना ही करना है, बट आप थोड़ा बहुत करके काम निकाल सकते हो. समझ रहे हो? लाइक इट्स लाइक You walk for half an hour a day, you should be okay. You don't need to go to the gym to stay fit. But openings are like openings, you cannot just do a little bit, आपको काफी सारा करना पड़ेगा. But even if you not do anything in openings, you can survive. So end games I think usually थोड़ा बहुत करना compulsory है, otherwise you will not be able to win games. Checkmate करना आना चाहिए, but you don't need to go into depth. So it's debatable I think end game में opening है कि नहीं. Yeah, Capablanca ने वो कहा था. I think, but Capablanca is also talking about like very strong players. For the average player, I think maybe end games is not like you can learn basic end games, theoretical end games, basic rook end games, rook behind the pass pawn, seventh rank, whatever, and that should be enough. ड्रथ की एंड गेम मैनुअल उठाने की जरूरत नहीं है भाई, मतलब वो मैं समझने कहने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ. और बाद में फाइटिंग इट आउट प्राग की गेम पे अगर हम जाएं, रूक F1 प्लेड बाय वाइट, सो बेसिकली कटिंग द किंग फ्रॉम द F रैंक, वो नहीं बाहर आ सकता. बट ब्लैक कैन जस्ट प्ले बिशप G4 एक्चुअली, वेरी सेफ मूव, थ्रेटनिंग रूक E8 एंड सिंपली रूक टेक्स E2 जब ब्लैक बेटर हो जाएगा. सो वाइट को थोड़ा ध्यान रखना पड़ेगा, रूक D1 में भी, and then if rook E8 or maybe the other rook to E8 actually I think it looks better, then you can play rook F2 and the game is just even. I don't see how white can even push here. Should be a draw, chat, should be a draw. Prag is best endgame player. यार वही ना, it's very hard to compare. Yeah, it's incredibly hard to compare Indian players at their endgame. I mean, you can start building up a chart and adding points: rook endgame, bishop endgame, knight endgame, pawn endgames, and it's very hard to compare. I think all of them are strong. That's the good news. White E3 खेल के bishop को वहां छिपा सकता है for saying, yeah, white can play E3 and he will. The bishop will sit on D4. I think ये ऐसा कुछ setup रहेगा white का. But the thing is, black's bishop will also be active. So it will not be enough for white to win. Because white ka passed pawn hai, but black will put his king on e6 or e4, and there'll be no way for you to push that pawn beyond the past the king. There'll be no way. Do you think Nihal come in top 10? I think Nihal will either enter top 10, top 15 in the next year, or he might not do so. आई थिंक चेस इतना कॉम्पिटिटिव होता जा रहा है ना कि ही विल हैव टू डू इट क्विकली. द ओल्डर ही गेट्स द मोर डिफिकल्ट इट विल बी. ही इज क्वाइट यंग अभी, एक साल बहुत कम बोल दिया मैंने एक्चुअली. बट इफ इट डजंट इन नेक्स्ट 2-3 years देन ग्रेट, अदरवाइज मुश्किल हो जाएगा बहुत. क्योंकि भाई ये यही कंपैरिजन करते जाएंगे हम लोग बस. अंचार फिलहाल के लिए फुल प्रेशर ऑन प्रग बिकॉज एट दी एंड पॉन डाउन तो है ही. So it's not really a comfortable situation to be in. Like you don't want to be pawned down as the stronger player, but that's what you have. Meanwhile, क्या अरविंद ने खेला? अरविंद ने, by the way, Arvind has gone for the safer choice. So after this, he did play rook takes d3, which was a brilliancy, by the way. So Arvind avoiding, the attack on f6. If you take with the pawn here, for example, queen d6, and there is no rook f6, so that's a yeah, queen से मारा, queen d6, rook d4, and chat अरविंद की गेम बहुत जल्दी ड्रॉ हो जाएगी मुझे लग रहा है. So it's going to end in a draw. ग्रोवर किधर है? ग्रोवर खुद टूर्नामेंट खेल रहा है भाई. सो ही इज एक्चुअली प्लेइंग एन इवेंट हिमसेल्फ. तो ही इज ट्राइंग टू गेट बैक 2500. लेट्स सी इफ ही डज. एंड सो ही बैक फॉर द जागरेब इवेंट, या जो जुलाई फर्स्ट वीक में है. तो ये वाला इवेंट मैं करूंगा कवर विद सम टाइम्स राकेश ज्वाइनिंग इन, एंड देन वील कवर बुलेट चेस चैंपियनशिप, दैट इज मी एंड राकेश अगेन, एंड देन Saj joins in for the GCT Zagreb tournament. Okay, I think Maksudlu also realizes कि भाई ये draw ही है. If you look at the evaluation chat, queen queen, rook rook, bishop knight, but pawns में black has an extra pawn. So if anybody is better, it's black, because I can save this pawn actually with this. But then white has e4, and I cannot take this because I lose the queen. Knight से भी नहीं मार सकते because I can again take, take, take. And the problem is you can't take the queen because there is back rank mate. ये तो कोई basic funny सी mate लग रही है. So that means white can win the pawn back with e4. You go back rook a8, try to attack, you take, and yeah, this should be equal. Maybe black can push, but most likely this should be a draw. Predictions for India USA. I think India जीतेगा भाई. India is on the upward trajectory and USA is on the decline. I think India जीतेगा भाई. That's my guess. अब तो रैपिड ब्लिट्स भी अच्छा खेलने लगे इंडियन प्लेयर्स. सारे गेम ड्रॉ होंगे आज के पॉसिबल. बट आई स्टिल नॉट श्योर दो बिकॉज वहां पे प्रग इज अ पॉन डाउन एंड यहाँ पे अरविंद इज अ पॉन अप. सो इवन दो पॉन का डिफरेंस है द ऑब्जेक्टिव वैल्यूएशन इज अ ड्रॉ बट दैट डजंट मीन कि प्लेयर्स गलती नहीं कर सकते. सो अरविंद वही सोच रहा है अभी. दैट्स एग्जैक्टली व्हाट ही इज थिंकिंग राइट नाउ कि क्या मैं पॉन दे दूं. लाइक डू आई हैव समथिंग हियर. फॉर एग्जाम्पल रुक बी फाइव नहीं खेल सकता. रुक इज हैंगिंग. सो रुक D8 इज आई थिंक द ओनली मूव टू सेव द पॉन राइट. और कुछ है नहीं. He could just play H6 and say कि भाई ठीक है भाई आओ मेरा pawn मार लो and yeah we agree to a draw and then they can shake hands. Or he can play rook D8 and say कि भाई मैं pawn नहीं दे रहा. I'm forcing you to play E4 and then I will bring the rook and try to attack you in the second rank. So वही वो calculate करने की कोशिश कर रहा है कि is this enough? Because I am not forced to take. I can even play Queen D2 right about now. You still can't take this pawn. And now I will take on D5. So is this position better for black? Maybe slightly. Yeah, Rook D8 played. I think we'll figure out pretty soon what Arvind's plan is. I think most likely a draw though. यूएसए टीम में यूएस के प्लेयर है ही नहीं. नहीं है. आई थिंक अब वही है ना. कोई इंडिया में खेलने आएगा बाहर इंडिया का शिफ्ट अगर इंडिया की कोई सिटीजनशिप लेता है तो इंडियन प्लेयर ही हुआ ना भाई. आई थिंक इट्स प्रीटी फेयर. Magnus got humbled. Yeah, I'm sure he lost a game. I think that was a spectacular win for Gokesh, and it's amazing. But Magnus is still by far the strongest player in the world. इसमें कोई doubt नहीं है. Predictions for Gokesh is Zagreb, Rapid, and Blitz. Now that's a very interesting question because Mukesh पहले रैपिड अच्छा नहीं खेलता था. We saw that multiple times. But what we saw in Norway chess was arguably the best rapid and blitz he has played. Although he only had two Armageddons, he had multiple games जहाँ पे he had 10 seconds on the clock. So that means maybe his rapid blitz has improved. And we might see a stronger Gukesh play Magnus. And if he does defeat Magnus in rapid and blitz, that might even hurt more because that is Magnus's favorite format now. So I think that's going to be very interesting to see how Gukesh performs. And E4 on the board, by the way, of Maksulu. Prag game, by the way, Bishop F5 खेला है Prag ने, so he is developing the bishop, and now the rooks will come to E8 and D8 or C8 for that matter. And yeah, it's completely equal. I think I don't see how White can win this. To be honest, Black's pieces are very active. So I think next game जो खत्म होगी likely will be Arvind's game. Either Arvind creates some chances or White just wins the pawn back. So let's kind of stick here. Meanwhile, G6 played. Commentator, please disrespect USA. Why disrespect कहाँ किया भाई? I think India will win. That's my perception. It's not really disrespecting any country. Um, भाई इंडियन प्लेयर्स क्लासिकल में इंजन से खेलते हैं बट रैपिड डबल्स में अच्छा परफॉर्म क्यों नहीं करते. बिकॉज क्लासिकल में उनके पास टाइम ज्यादा होता है. सो दे कैन एक्चुअली नो they have more time to think about the moves. Blitz में क्या होता है your the experience matters, right? कितनी बार आप पहले चेस खेल चुके हो, कौन सी टाइप की पोजीशन आपने खेली है. The experience comes to the front, I think. तो सोचने का टाइम नहीं होता. That's why I think it takes longer for a player to become stronger at rapid and blitz than it is at classical. But I think it happens eventually because at the end chess ही है. So it will happen with time. By the way, pawn has been grabbed. So Arvind Knight d7, nice move by the way. I think he wants to. The only advantage black has is a slightly open white king, but the advantage white has is a pass pawn. So, if the pawn gets to d7, then, or even d6, actually, white would be better. So, you have to be a bit cautious. We don't want the pawn to be pushed further somehow. I think this should be a comfortable draw for both sides. Arjun has drawn Chad against Nepo, so that game is over. Yeah. Magnus will win the event most probably, and I'm not. Yeah, I think he will win the event. Very likely. ये फैंटा क्या है भाई. Okay, found tactics in Ding Magnus game. Yeah, I think Mukesh, of course, is very strong. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. बट दूसरी गेम में मूव निकालना आसान है भाई, एज वी ऑल नो. दूसरे की गेम में मूव्स निकालना इज क्वाइट क्वाइट इजी एज कंपेयर टू अपनी गेम में. फ्यूचर इंडिया कौन सी टीम होगा यार, अभी पता भी नहीं कि वो हो रहा है कि नहीं हो रहा है, बिकॉज देयर वर सम इश्यूज. आई रेड एन आर्टिकल समवेयर, सम न्यूज आर्टिकल की कुछ स्पॉन्सर नहीं मिल रहा है उनको इवेंट के लिए, सो इट्स नॉट क्लियर इफ इट विल इवन हैपन. तो लेट्स सी क्या रहता है. आई होप इट हैपेंस बट एज ऑफ नाउ इट्स नॉट क्लियर. Yeah, Sahaj will be there for Zagreb, bhai. He'll be there. Meanwhile, chat 97 plates, so 13 minutes for white. I think Param should not worry about the clock though, because 7 minutes remaining at time control. Tak, he will get another 30 minutes. So, in fact, 40 moves tak to game khatam hi ho jayegi, mujhe lag raha hai. So, I don't think they will even play that long. Meanwhile, Prag game में Rook D1 आ चुका है. And okay, I think Param was about to play a move, right? उसने हाथ उठाया. So, let's first check that. क्या खेला उसने? Queen E3 played. Okay, so Queen comes out to E3. Is the plan to go to h6 in some cases, potentially? And even rook e4, rook e8. Because I think if the rooks are traded off, I don't know who it helps actually, because white का benefit ये king mate नहीं होगा. But black का benefit है कि भाई, now I have a perfect blockader. Queen knight usually is better against queen bishop. And the bishop is not really a good bishop here, blocked by its own pawn. So not sure exactly. I think it's kind of just a improvement, nothing crazy, and not much changes after queen to e3. जागरेब कल से क्यों नहीं शुरू होता भाई, ऐसा थोड़ी होता यार. विश और साज पेइंग यार सम टूर्नामेंट इन टर्की. सो साज भाई टर्की में बहुत खेलते हैं. आई थिंक लास्ट ईयर भी आल्सो ही वाज प्लेइंग दैट इवेंट, जहां तक मुझे याद है. So meanwhile, Paramaksulu still thinking what to do. Oh, and 95 played, so he wants the bishop. Ye bishop mujhe de de Thakur. I think that's the plan. So rook e4 could be a move. Wait, he's moving the bishop. Oh, he moves the bishop back. That's very interesting, actually. I thought he would allow black to capture it. But he's like, no bishop for you, Mr. Arvind. I want to play rook e4 next. Or you can't play rook e4, there's queen d5. So what's the plan here, actually? Not really sure what the plan is. I think ये draw ही होगा chat. आज दोनों games draw होने वाली हैं. I don't see how either side can really push. In the Prague game, by the way, bishop f5, rook d1, rook g d8, bishop f or rook f4, sorry, and now rook c8. So very solid play by black. Bring the rooks into the game. Rook c2 आ रहा है अब. Not much has changed, honestly. Bishop e5, for example, का white खेलता है. Rook d1, king d1. You can't go rook c2 yet because of some tactics here. I think g4 also wins. Bishop hilega, so I'll pick up the rook. So, but I think rook c2 nahi aayega to, but I can still give a check anyways. And you don't really have much, I think. Comfortable draw for Prag. I can't wait for. अरे आएगा बहुत जल्दी आएगा भाई. जागरा ये बहुत जल्दी आएगा. Meanwhile, chat. कोई कह रहा है नोदरबेक रैपोर्ट. यार वो गेम नोदरबेक बेटर है. I think he's bishop against knight. By the way, kya actually nice. Look at this. Bishop knight 3-3 pawn, but white is just better. Wait, why is Vokidov's camera there? I think camera कुछ error है वहां पे, maybe. कुछ तो camera का error है. Wait, what? अच्छा, I think ये कुछ camera delayed है. Okay, it's delayed. Let's go to our game, yeah. The camera is delayed there. Let's focus on our players. नहीं नहीं, वोकी की तो ड्रॉ होगी भाई. तो स्टिल शोइंग कि वो वहीं बैठा हुआ है. आई वाज लाइक, इतना देर तक कौन पोस्ट गेम एनालिसिस करता है भाई. ओके, याकूबोव भाई जल्दी चल दो यार, पनवेल भी निकलना है. जल्दी बिशप e5 कर दो, एक्सचेंज कर दो सब कुछ. नॉर्वे का फॉर्मेट लाओ यार बहुत. हाँ, आई थिंक नॉर्वे फॉर्मेट, दैट्स व्हाई आई मेंशन इट्स एन एपिक फॉर्मेट. First of all, no extra time after 40 moves, so you see a lot of mistakes. Next, the increment is 10 seconds. Okay, I can debate that 10-second increment is not the best, 30-second is good. But I think no extra time of 30, 40 moves is amazing. And next, there are no draws. ऑलवेज ड्रॉ किया, चलो टाई ब्रेक. आई लव दैट फॉर्मेट. इट्स आई थिंक द बेस्ट फॉर्मेट फॉर क्लासिकल चेस इन द वर्ल्ड दैट आई हैव सीन. आई लव इट. रैपोर्ट ब्लंडर्स व्हाट? ओ, A4 भाई, ये कौन से प्लेयर है भाई? ना ये रैपोर्ट है और ना ये नोदर बेक है. भाई. बट एनीवेज, नॉट इंपॉर्टेंट. चैट बोर्ड देखो, बोर्ड की नजाकत देखो. B4 आ रहा है एंड नाउ ब्लैक विल हैव टू वीकनेसेस and it is all but over. I think Nodirbek is going to win and he's going to take sole lead, by the way. I think because he was on, yeah, he will go to 2.5. So Nodirbek, Arjun on 2 points, Sindarov on 2 points, and Nodirbek could take sole lead after round 3 in this event. So very interesting. याकुबोव बहुत डीप सोच में है. इतना कुछ डीप है नहीं इस पोजीशन में, बट इज ट्राइंग टू थिंक कि भाई कोई तो ट्रैप होगा, कुछ तो होगा जहां से I can somehow create some winning chances. Like it's a nice position to be in, be as white in because you're not really risking much. भाई अच्छा, उसने चल दिया, उसने H4 चला. ओके, डोंट लाइक दैट मूव वन बिट इफ आई एम बीइंग ऑनेस्ट, बिकॉज इट वीकन सम मोर लाइट स्क्वायर्स एंड आपने अपना ये पॉन ब्लैक किंग के पास ले आए. आई नो राइट नाउ इट्स नॉट रियली पॉसिबल टू गो हियर, बट ओके, आई मीन H4 is, I would rather think H3 G4 खेलना चाहिए. But anyway, I think it doesn't change much. I think in the position, Black can just continue as usual. Will Ugesh in Las Vegas chat करिए कि he like he has declined to play, so I don't know exactly. Alan Pitcher is a random player. Alan Pitcher था क्या? I didn't notice. He's a very strong player actually. I think it's not that. It's इसकी मतलब शॉक हो गया भाई, कौन था ये? By the way, Bishop E6, great move, very solid. Bishop B3, by the way, might be an idea here. For example, let's say White plays, I don't know, G4. आराम से Bishop B3 भी कर सकते हो. Attack the rook. Rook D2 आया तो एक और check. You can dance around a little bit. Bishop is very solid. Ask him the question, what is your plan as White? And also, by the way, preempting G4, so it doesn't attack the bishop anymore. Typical 39th move blunder. I think it was already lost though. Very difficult to play in that situation. Yakubov comes in 10 minutes, by the way, for him to play 14 moves. So he cannot really take too much time. I think not typical time pressure though, because he could literally just play rook d4, bishop b4, whatever he wants to. Like it will not change the valuation, but yeah. Meanwhile, in the Arvind game, after bishop e2, rook c8, rook d2 back. I think he wants the queen on d4 maybe, and maybe some ideas here. Maybe h pawn can also move up, and now rook a8. So Arvind activates the rook here. Maybe rook a3 is the plan now, displacing the queen a little bit. But I think both players are playing, but I don't think either of them believes कि यहाँ पे कोई chance है. They both know it's a draw. Sabe, can Hans get a candidate spot? He can actually. I think if he plays the World Cup, he plays the Grand Swiss, he wins one of them, he can actually play the candidates. That would be insane. But the Queen D4, as expected, I think White's plan is to control this diagonal. कि कलो कोई भी check आ जाए, it is actually mate. The problem is there is no F pawn, so how do you really remove the knight? It's not really easy. I can even play F6 in exceptional circumstances. I would not play that usually because my king is pretty safe this way. I can even play king g7 and you can't do anything about this pin actually. That's how bad it is. So, मेरे हिसाब से this should be a draw pretty soon. Imagine Prag and Arvind, if both of them win from here, तो मैं एक बंदे को 1 साल की मेंबरशिप दूंगा भाई. Forget about month and so on. It's impossible कि दोनों जीत जाए भाई. Hans with the World Cup. No, if he wins the World Cup, he will play for sure. He will play the Grand Swiss also for sure. But will he win? That's the question. Come on, chat. One Indian has drawn. Will there'll be an upset or some sort of last minute twist in the other two games? Or will we see a safe day number three? Prakya, meanwhile, no moves from Yakubov, about to play. उनको ऐसे हेजिटेट बहुत करते हैं वो लाइफ में, ऐसे पीस के आसपास हाथ रखते घूमते फिरते हैं, चलते नहीं है जल्दी. I can't see Hans win the World Cup. I mean, it can happen here. It can happen, I think. ऐसा नहीं है कि he can't do it. He definitely can do it. But it will be difficult, of course, because the World Cup is an event for all the top players in the world. Everybody knows the stakes and uh, everybody wants to win. So for Hans to win, it will take a Herculean effort. भाई 7 मिनट है. याकूबो भाई देख लो. टाइम प्रेशर में बड़ी बड़ी अजीब चीजें होते हुए देखी है हमने. Okay, rook e4. Is he offering a draw? I don't think so. And I think his idea is bishop f5. He wants to go rook e7, and that's actually something, chat. This will not be easy to defend. Ooh, this is tricky actually. Rook e4 is a nice move. So you don't want to allow the rook to e7. Rook's on the 7th rank. Always dangerous. So what should Prag do now? Maybe rook to e8 then. Countering and this is a nice move actually because कल को e2 pawn पे pressure आएगा. So I like this. For example, rook d4 at some point bishop g4 when this is not hanging. So I like rook e8. I think rook e8 is a very practical move. Can four players play candidates? Yes, they can. They can. Four Indians can play candidates. By the way, 500 like हो गए chat. So membership challenge incoming soon in the next 2 to 3 minutes. तैयार रहना. Google जो भी तुम्हें chat GPT जो खोलना है भाई, ready रहो. I think the question is coming. By the way, rookie, a great move by Prague, not risking anything. He wants a comfortable draw. He has it, and he should be okay. If one doesn't write moves, I think the opponent can stop the clock and ask the arbiter to force the player to write the moves. So they will have to write the moves while their clock is running. So that's a possibility. You can ignore it as a player, but you can also kind of point it out to the arbiter and then उसको करना पड़ेगा वो. अर्जुन का ड्रॉ हो गया भाई. अर्जुन हैज ड्रॉन हिज गेम एंड प्राग गेट्स फ्रॉम द बोर्ड. चिल करने के लिए निकले हैं. एक नजर मारते हैं. ओके, अबाउट टू प्ले. चिल करने हमें नहीं देंगे. ओके, बिशप b4. I mean, a nice move actually. Not bad. You put the bishop on c3 and then you try to get a rook to the 7th rank. If you manage to do so, then g7 falls. Um, what's the best way? What's the easiest way to equalize? So first, if I play king f7, is there a problem? No, no, not really, right? Because king f7 looks very logical to me. Yeah, because there is no this check later on. Kal ko jab bishop hile, I defend my rook. Now my bishop can move. So I like king f7. I like king f7, I think. Let's see what Prag plays though. Who would be first to reach 2850 from India? भाई ये तो आपने अगले ही लेवल का सवाल पूछ लिया भाई. पहले आईआईटी का वो बोलते हैं ना वो पेपर पेपर फिर मेंस की बाद में सोचना भाई. पहले प्रिलिमिनरी क्लियर कर लो. बहुत बहुत आगे आगे चले गए हम लोग, आई थिंक. प्राग इज बैक. पानी पी रहा है बंदा as usual. So पानी पी रहा है मतलब he's comfortable. One look at the Prag game by the way. Sorry, Arvind game by the way. Rook a5 खेला, pawn को attack करते हुए. Queen e4 आए, h5, queen d. Oh, white is just dancing. Yeah, queen e4, queen d4, king h7, queen e4, king g7. I think they're about to draw. They're about to draw now because white is playing queen d4, queen e4. Black is playing king h7, king g7. So they're about to draw this game, I think. लेकिन दोनों प्लेयर्स बोर्ड पे ही नहीं है. Ah, they reach 40 moves. That's why they repeated. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. But I don't think they can do anything else also here. So it will not really change much. Going back to the Prague game, मेंबरशिप चैलेंज कमिंग सून चैट बहुत जल्दी आ रहा है, तैयार रहना भाई. सवाल सोच रहा हूं मैं. By the way, Vaishali's birthday today. Congrats, yeah, happy birthday, Vaishali. I don't know how old she is now. Like, सारे Indian players इतने young है ना भाई. It's crazy how much they've achieved in life at such a young age. So congrats, Vaishali, and happy birthday. Come on, Prag bhai. Find the simplest way. So what else? By the way, the engine recommends Bishop D7, which is rather a ridiculous move. Why hanging a bishop? But of course, the rook is also hanging. And if you take, he will take with the bishop. And this is, of course, the simplest way. But there is also rook d6 check. And now no king f7 because I take with check. So king h7 khelna padega. And I can still maintain the rooks. But okay, this is getting a bit scary. So maybe I do have to take. I take with the bishop and bishop c3, and it's still the same with just one rook instead of two. So honestly, it doesn't change much. I think the valuation is still the same. सारे 50% हिंदी बोलो, 50% मोस्ट टाइम आप अंग्रेजी बात करते हो. चलो भाई, मैं अब मेजर करता हूँ, ठीक है. 50% इंग्लिश, 50% हिंदी. लेट्स गो. राकेश भाई ज्वाइन नहीं करेंगे, पता नहीं भाई. आई हैव नो क्लू एक्चुअली. आई डोंट नो इफ ही ज्वाइनिंग और नॉट, बट आई थिंक गेम ड्रॉ ही होने वाली है वैसे. सो नॉट श्योर इफ इट विल हेल्प. भाई 7 मिनट वर्सेस 11 मिनट. Normally, this game should be a dead draw, but the time situation makes it a bit interesting. Like, there are chances that Prague goes wrong, there are chances that white goes wrong, but kitne hai wo chances? Is it something that can happen? Oh, राकेश भाई का नाम लेते ही राकेश भाई आ गए. अरे भाई,
Yo, what's up?
राकेश भाई क्या मस्त बोरिंग मोमेंट पे आए हो भाई.
अरे हाँ, मैं भी देख रहा था ना, अर्जुन का गेम भी जस्ट लाइक थोड़े टाइम पहले खत्म हुआ एंड आई वाज लाइक कुछ तो हो यार, मतलब बार थोड़ा तो ऊपर नीचे हो, बट नहीं, इट्स लाइक डेड इक्वल.
या, और जो है भी हल्का फुल्का वेरिएंस वो हमारे फेवर में नहीं है. सो इट्स नॉट रियली अ गेम जहाँ पे कुछ क्रेजी होने वाला है. एंड although Arjun taking the draw, right? I think he could have played on, but I think he was like, ठीक है भाई, black से draw ठीक है. Nepo है, खतरनाक खिलाड़ी है, and two pieces can be very tricky against a rook, even if you're better.
ट्रू एंड आई थिंक गुड प्रैक्टिकल डिसीजन देयर, मतलब अर्जुन
Hmm.
के द्वारा.
Yeah, yeah. So I think वो गेम तो ड्रॉ हो गई and Nodilbek winning, so he will get sole lead after round 3. And अब I think it's just about Prag and uh, Arvind. By the way, Arvind का एक मौका तो मिला था उनको, उन्होंने छोड़ दिया वो मौका यार. एंड इस एंड गेम के बारे में क्या कहोगे भाई? Why did Arvind just not repeat with king at 7? Is he really thinking about a win here? Because he played f6. You wouldn't do this unless you're trying to win, right?
Yeah, of course he is trying to win this, क्योंकि ना जो d5 का pawn है might look थोड़ा dangerous as a passed pawn, but it's nearer to the king. मतलब ब्लैक का किंग ना फटाफट आके कभी भी डिफेंड कर सकता है.
हाँ.
दैट वुड हैव बीन रिस्की अगर ये अगर ए फाइल पे एकदम लेफ्ट में अगर लेफ्ट वाला कोई पॉन होता, ए या
हम्म.
बी फाइल में, तो फिर
हम्म.
अरविंद डेफिनेटली रिपीट करता. और ऐसा कहते हैं कि क्वीन एंड नाइट इज अ बेटर कॉम्बिनेशन देन क्वीन एंड बिशप. तो
या.
मे बी अरविंद इज ऑल्सो बैंकिंग ऑन दैट. एंड कहीं ना वो पिछले गेम का जो एक सदमा था, उससे
हाँ.
आई थिंक रिकवरी के मोड में है अरविंद, ऐसा लगा.
Yeah, but it's still difficult to imagine. Like I think if he has to win, I think अब 40 moves हो चुकी हैं, so both players have gained 30 minutes. I think it's gonna be very long game and very difficult game. So Param के point of view say, as white, let's say you're defending a tiny bit, does he just sit tight? Just play queen e4, queen d4, queen e4, queen d4, queen d4. Black तो दिखा तो क्या है तेरे पास? or does he try to simplify matters? Yeah, like I play rook c1, exchange some pieces somehow, queen c3, and put the queen. What does he do? So does he sit or does he simplify?
I think this is one of those positions जहाँ पे ना you can do the passive defense thing, क्योंकि ना
Hmm.
बहुत कम pieces रह गए एंड
हाँ.
टिकू भाई ऐसे नॉर्मली बोलते हैं कि इधर डू पैसिव डिफेंस और एक्टिव डिफेंस, बीच वाला फंडा नहीं आपको काम में नहीं आएगा. So I think he
हाँ.
can just sit tight and he has had a decent start. दो ड्रॉ किए परम ने पहले दो में. एक one thing to worry I would say for परम is the clock, क्योंकि
Hmm.
ना वो आई थिंक टाइम ऐड हो चुका है ना उनका 40 मिनट
नहीं
के
नहीं, अभी
बाद.
वो जीरो जाएगा तो ऐड होगा, सो दे हैव 39
क्या अभी
मिनट्स
तक
राइट नाउ.
जीरो नहीं हुआ है. फिर आई
हाँ.
थिंक देन इवन दैट इज नॉट अ वरी.
या.
बट इट वुड बी लाइक यू नो अरविंद हैड अ 10% चांस ऑफ विनिंग आई वुड से, बाकी का 90% तो ड्रॉ ही लग रहा है.
I would also give it even more, like 95-5, maybe something like that. But I
करेक्ट
think वही
करेक्ट.
है कि Param, I think, can just sit. And जब भी अरविंद को कुछ करना पड़ेगा, he will have to take some risks. And that might involve pushing these pawns more, and that might open up his king as well. Not to forget, उसका भी 7th rank open है. So it can be very risky to kind of push. But of course, the fact that he played f6 means कि he might just try to push a little bit. Just feel the position a bit and see how Param reacts.
या करेक्ट करेक्ट. लेट्स सी चैट में क्या चल रहा है. अब्दुल सदर इज क्रशिंग रैपो आई थिंक. या इट इज ओवर.
या वो जब भी
नो
मैं
नो
क्लिक
इट्स
करता हूँ तो
ऑलमोस्ट ओवर.
कैमरा किसी और का ही आ जाता है भाई. सो आई एम काइंड ऑफ अवॉइडिंग दैट फॉर नाउ. क्लियरली एलन पिचेट और अब्दी मलिक है. अब आई डोंट नो, आई कांट रीड इट प्रॉपर्ली, बट या नॉट रैपोर्ट एंड नोदरबेक. In this game, Rakesh bhai, I think bishop c4 was played by Prague. Very practical decision. Rook d4, and now bishop b5. What do you make of this? Any chances of white? ये तो dead draw लग रहा है मुझे देख के.
This is very equal, I would say. And white has the extra pawn. But हम कल भी ये बात कर रहे थे. Opposite colored bishops है, bro. Very, very
Hmm.
difficult to do that. And normally, attacking side needs to keep both his rooks to win. ताकि ना आप तीन पीसेस के साथ G7 अटैक कर सकते हो. फॉर एग्जाम्पल दो
Hmm.
रुक्स और ये बिशप ऑन C3. बट अगर एक रुक एक्सचेंज हो जाएंगे, विच इज वेरी लाइकली बिकॉज अदरवाइज ब्लैक will capture the rook takes e2 अगर आप rook trade नहीं करोगे तो.
Yeah.
So then it's just very easy to hold this, and I don't think Prag is in any trouble whatsoever.
इनफैक्ट अगर व्हाइट ने कुछ नहीं किया, आई थिंक दिस माइट बी एन इंस्टेंट ड्रॉ. फॉर एग्जांपल किंग f2, ब्लैक जस्ट टेक्स एंड जस्ट प्लेज रूक e8. इफ यू मूव आई पिक अप e2 एंड देन ब्लैक स्टार्ट सेइंग मैं खेलूं क्या. सो आई थिंक दिस इज एंड दिस वुड बी एन इंस्टेंट ड्रॉ. ऑफ कोर्स व्हाइट विल प्ले फ्रॉम हियर, बट आई जस्ट पुट द किंग ऑन e6 and there's
Mhm.
nothing you can do.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be afraid, but दोनों ही गेम्स आई थिंक टिको भाई काफी ड्रॉइश लग रहे हैं. तो मैंने वही सोचा कि आप बेचारे अकेले बोर होने से अच्छा हम दोनों साथ में
पता है
मिलके बोर होते हैं.
पता है, आई वॉज थिंकिंग ओनली राकेश भाई की वो सिचुएशन है जो मेरी वर्ल्ड चैंपियनशिप के आखिरी दिन में थी. सो चैट आई डोंट, फिर मैं जब डिंग ने ब्लंडर किया था, इट वाज अ डेड ड्रॉन
या
पोजीशन,
या
ठीक है.
या
और उस टाइम पे समय आया था, उस दिन समय लेफ्ट, ही हैड अ पॉडकास्ट. देन आई थिंक वी
हाँ.
आल्सो हैड तन्मय और somebody else who also, सुहानी, आई थिंक somebody was there who left.
सुहानी वाज
एंड
देयर.
वहां 4 सीट में से एक सीट खाली थी फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम. For the first time, one seat was empty. And मेरे को आई थिंक अवध told me कि जाओ बैठो. मैंने कहा यार अभी अभी ड्रॉ हो जाएगा 2 मिनट के अंदर. नहीं हुआ तो जाता हूँ मैं. भाई अभी ड्रॉ हो रहा है एंड सडनली वह ब्लंडर हो गया. सो वो सेव्स जो राकेश भाई थे भाई, अरे भाई अभी ड्रॉ हो जाएगा भाई रुको.
बट वो अभी आई होप कोई ब्लंडर भी कर दे, मतलब जैसे ताकि कोई ओ माय गॉड रिएक्शन तो मिले.
हाँ.
बट या ओवरऑल लुक्स वेरी मच लाइक अ ड्रॉ. तुषार भाई, हेलो. साहिल भाई, राकेश भाई, क्या हाल? बढ़िया बढ़िया. आई थिंक लुक्स ड्रॉइश. टोटल राउंड्स आई थिंक. और एक इमरान भाई पूछ रहे कि इतने राउंड्स है टोटल. 9 गेम्स and this is round 3 of that, so 6 more to go after this.
या एंड फिलहाल के लिए लाइफ पोजीशन ये है दो. एंड आई थिंक इफ व्हाइट वांट्स टू प्ले ऑन, he needs something here. It cannot just be कि rook takes e4 allow कर दिया. But I don't see a way you can push actually. There is no way. How can you avoid trading both the rooks, Rakesh?
I don't think so. There is a way. And the point that it is Arvind who's just playing out of uh, थोड़ा inertia बोलते हैं, like he's just wanting to see कि क्या करेगा white, मतलब just waiting for a blunder basically. At some point you have to take the risk, मतलब आपको F5 G5 H4 कुछ मस्ती करना पड़ेगा, but वो backfire भी हो सकता है then आप पे. And
Hmm.
even camera में I think we can see it's like uh, they both players look very normal, like it
Yeah.
doesn't look like anybody is under pressure.
राकेश भाई, आप आए हो तो एक काम कर सकते हैं, हमें ना एक 3 मंथ्स के चैलेंज देना है, बिकॉज कल हमने नहीं किया था. सो कैन यू
Okay.
आस्क चैट अ क्वेश्चन फॉर 3 मंथ्स चेसकॉम डायमंड मेंबरशिप. द फर्स्ट पर्सन टू आंसर दैट with his chesscom id next to it gets a
Okay.
3 month diamond membership. राकेश भाई, क्वेश्चन तैयार कर लो, चैट तुम भी तैयार रहो.
अब तब तक एक ये लाइक्स का कुछ दे दो ना, काउंटर, मतलब
वो 500
कितने
हो
हैं.
गया, हो गया 500 हो
तो
गया.
500 हो गया, 500 ही था.
हाँ हाँ.
ठीक है. सो लेट मी थिंक ऑफ अ क्वेश्चन. नीरी भाई, इफ
हाँ.
यू आर आल्सो थिंकिंग, यू हैव अ क्वेश्चन, would be nice to get it in the
हम्म.
chat. So yeah, I think अपोजिशन पे तो कुछ है नहीं, तो आई थिंक मेंबरशिप क्वेश्चन ही कर लेते तब.
और ऐसी पोजीशन नहीं है कोई मेंबरशिप क्वेश्चन भी कर पाए कि क्या खेलेगा यहाँ पे अर्जुन. ओह ऐसा भी नहीं हो रहा कुछ. कुछ भी खेल दे भाई,
या.
ड्रॉ हो रहा है.
एंड शुभम सैनी बोल रहे भाई इजी क्वेश्चन. देखो भाई, क्या क्या करो, इजी पूछो या टफी.
आई थिंक टफ. नीरी भाई, वो क्वेश्चन जो आपने बोला उसका आंसर मैं अभी कर चुका हूँ भाई. मैंने अभी किया उसका आंसर गलती से, तो वी कांट डू दैट. तो वो क्वेश्चन नहीं कर
वो
सकते.
देख सकते हैं क्या कि कौन ज्यादा अलर्ट है, क्लास स्कूल जैसे.
बट हर किसी को पता होगा, वो हर किसी को पता होगा.
हाँ हाँ, तो मतलब स्किल्स नहीं है ना कुछ, आप ये बोल रहे
हाँ
हो.
हाँ, मेमोरी है,
लिसनिंग
वी नीड
स्किल्स के
स्किल्स.
अलावा.
हाँ. रेक्टाफिकेशन नहीं भाई, हमें चतुर रामलिंगम नहीं बनना है, हमें छोटा छाछड़ बनना है. सो चैट, these two draws brought to you by chess.com India. फिलहाल के लिए भाई हम लोग देख रहे हैं पोजीशन. 1 मिनट है याकूबोव के पास, 11 मूव्स को खेलनी है. सो आई एम गेटिंग अ बिट नर्वस भाई, खेल दे. वरना ऐसा ना हो कि प्लस सडनली कहे भाई पॉन अप क्या होता है, मगर खेलते हैं भाई चलो.
नहीं, और वो भी मतलब सब भूल तो नहीं गया वो कि भाई आधा घंटा 40 मुंह के बाद नहीं है.
हाँ. कैन वी गो फुल स्क्रीन, एक्चुअली हो भी सकता है भाई, लाइक अनलेस ही स्टेयर्स एट द क्लॉक. until he stares at the clock, I am not convinced he realizes time कितना
ही
कम
इज
है.
चिलिंग डूड. डूड उसको लगे, यू कैन सी लाइक ही डजंट केयर. नहीं, अभी अभी उसने
देखा 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 देखा.
देखा.
प्राग भी मस्त सीधा देख रहा है भाई. प्राग, ओ इट्स अ ड्रॉ नाउ, ओके खत्म. किंग F2 टेक्स रुकी, इट इज ड्रॉ, खत्म.
या, दिस लुक्स वेरी टफ एंड आई थिंक प्रग भी बोल रहा है लाइक ब्रो रियली, मतलब ये खेलना है तुझे जीतने के लिए. So yeah, I wouldn't be worried about Prague
या.
here.
सिंपल टेक्स चैट एंड रुक E8 के बाद इट फोर्सेस द सेकंड रुक ट्रेड. बिकॉज अगर आप मूव करोगे तो E2 पहुंच जाएगा, एंड देन ओनली ब्लैक कैन बी बेटर. तो इसका मतलब चैट की दिस गेम शुड एंड इन अ ड्रॉ सो फार.
Yeah, and Prague they're drawing a game against Yakuboev on his sister's birthday apparently. ठीक
या.
है भाई, तो वैशाली जी जिन्होंने नोडिरबे को बहुत ही अच्छा गेम आई थिंक हराया था रिसेंटली. सो
तड़ा तड़ासिल में था ना, आई थिंक. या.
Tara Steel, man, I think उसके बाद Nuremberg apologized kind of, with namaste because he didn't
हाँ, द
shake Vaishali's
हैंडशेक
hand.
कंट्रोवर्सी
Sagar
है.
bhai, again they're covering that as well.
हाँ
तो सही सही था वो. बट
भाई, आई
देखो, आई
थिंक.
थिंक ये तो
भाई
अपन भी ड्रॉ कर लेंगे याकूबोव से. रुकी वो
हाँ
रुकी
भाई,
और अपना.
एक तरफ समय है जो पॉडकास्ट में मस्त कहता है भाई कि कुछ ऐसे मुकेश आके बोल दे कि भाई मैग्नस कार्लसन को भाई क्या है मैग्नस. और एक तो सागा भाई जो सारी कंट्रोवर्सी सॉल्व कर देते हैं भाई. कंप्लीट ऑपोजिट्स भाई.
कुछ तो मतलब जूसी था ना, मतलब ऐसे.
The complete opposites in terms of take on controversy, but yeah, I think both's contribution to chess is insane. And although इस
भाई
गेम में तो
विकास
वो भी
भाई
कुछ.
ने तो बिना
हाँ.
आंसर दिए यूजर नेम दे दिया है. बोला मेंबरशिप दे दो. अरे ऑन दैट नोट,
वो कह
सॉरी,
रहा है ये
मैं तो
सवाल नहीं पूछने
क्वेश्चन
वाले.
पूछने बोली.
हाँ. एक दिन ऐसा कर भी देंगे, पता है. सवाल पूछने वाले होंगे एंड जो पहला है उसको वैसे दे देंगे डायरेक्ट खत्म।
क्या क्या क्या?
लाइक एक आई डोंट नो इफ यू हैव सीन द मूवी द टेस्ट और समथिंग, ऐसे कुछ मूवी है जिसमें, कुछ मूवी है बट चैट बताइए, कोई मूवी है जिसमें सवाल पूछते हैं एंड दे गिव देम अ एम्प्टी पेपर टू राइट द आंसर इन। उस पे कोई क्वेश्चन नहीं लिखा होता, कोई आंसर नहीं लिखा होता, सो एवरीबडी इज कंफ्यूज कि भाई सवाल क्या है।
और फिर फिर क्या होता
मूवी एग्जाम, हाँ एग्जाम, थैंक यू निधि भाई, एग्जाम इज द मूवी, देखना राकेश भाई,
है?
मस्त मूवी है।
मैंने नहीं देखा, नाइस।
हाँ मस्त मूवी है एग्जाम, थैंक यू।
भाई व्हाट इफ प्रग जस्ट प्लेज एनी मूव बिकॉज नोडिरबर्ग शायद वॉशरूम गए।
भाई दैट्स अ गुड
इट्स
भाई, इन्होंने कल भी ये किए थे, 54
हाँ,
सेकेंड्स पे चल दिए, आज 1
it's a
hour 40
Chad
का
move
मिस।
यार, but he won that also. What a Chad move then. Exam, yeah, देवांश भाई also the exam अतुल। Okay, ठीक है, I think question तब तक मैं सोच लेता हूँ।
हाँ हाँ। मीनवाइल जब तक प्लग खेलते हैं, अरविंद गेम में एफ से कुछ मूव्स आई हैं, क्वीन बी2 खेला गया, रुक ए7 टू प्रिवेंट दिस चेक। ऐसा मैंने कहा कि ब्लैक की भी 7th रैंक वीक है, एंड नाउ क्वीन डी4 बैक, रुक ए5, सो दे हैव रिपीटेड वंस, या क्वीन बी2 एंड रुक ए5, क्वीन बी2 एंड नाउ ही प्लेज रुक ए4, सो ही नाउ अलाउज दिस चेक, ही सेइंग भाई दे दो चेक, कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता मुझे।
Yeah. चलो, I think एक easy सवाल है टिक्कू भाई।
हाँ तो चैट रेडी हो,
But yeah,
लेट्स गो। पहला आंसर विद द आईडी विंस द मेंबरशिप,
yeah.
राकेश
So
भाई
there are,
ट्रैक करना।
because it's
हम्म,
3 months, it's two answers, but एक ही question है।
हाँ
ठीक है।
ठीक है, लेट्स गो लेट्स गो।
So chat, ready लिख दो एक बार chat में, so we know that you are there. So
हाँ
एक बार हिंदी में एंड एक बार इंग्लिश में। फास्टेस्ट फिंगर फर्स्ट, फर्स्ट पर्सन टू राइट इट विंस। भाई आईडीज मत लिखो यार, ये द एग्जाम के बाद लोग सीधा आईडी लिखने लगे चैट में। नो नो, क्वेश्चन इनकमिंग चैट, क्वेश्चन इज इनकमिंग। So all right, let's go chat. All the best to everyone. We'll be fair and square. First answer with that includes both the first comment with that includes both the answers and your chess.com username is the winner. Chalo. So the question is, because we have the Chess World Cup coming up in India, when was the last time the Chess World Cup was organized in India and who was the winner? पिछले बार इंडिया में कभी वर्ल्ड कप हुआ
ओ
था और कौन विनर था?
आई थिंक आई
लेट्स गो।
रिमेंबर द ईयर, जीता
ईयर
कौन
चाहिए
था?
नहीं मेरे को, सिर्फ ये चाहिए, सिटी एंड विनर। सिटी एंड विनर, बोलो बोलो जल्दी
ओके
फटाफट।
ओके,
डू
सिटी
यू
तो
नो द
मुझे आई
सिटी
थिंक,
टिको भाई?
हाँ सिटी आई नो, आई एम नॉट श्योर अबाउट द विनर, आई हैव अ हंच अबाउट
ओके,
2 3 पीपल, आई एम नॉट श्योर अबाउट द विनर।
या लेट्स सी एंड यू नो अक्टूबर नवंबर में होने वाला, आई थिंक इन गोवा, सो वी आर एक्साइटेड फॉर दैट। लेट्स सी हु एल्स। नो, कार्लसन
चैट,
रॉन्ग।
नॉट 2017 16, थोड़ा पीछे जाना पड़ेगा तुम्हें।
या आई थिंक आई सी एन आंसर। नो, नॉट येट, नॉट येट।
स्टिल नो आंसर या?
आई थिंक आई गॉट इट। आई
कहाँ है
थिंक
कहाँ है?
so answer is 2002, जो अभी हैदराबाद में हुआ था, विशी आनंद। So हैदराबाद विशी आनंद combo we have to find basically. But
आई कैन सी
I
वन
didn't.
आंसर, रविकांत आई सी, आई थिंक ही इज द
Ravi.
फर्स्ट वन या, नो सुशांत पटेल आल्सो।
Yeah, so Hyderabad and Anand is the answer.
या आई थिंक सुशांत
काफी लोग है
पटेल।
भाई।
आओ काफी लोग है यार,
बहुत
बिकॉज
लोग हो गए, अभी
बिकॉज
क्या करेंगे?
आई नहीं, फर्स्ट पर्सन फर्स्ट पर्सन फर्स्ट पर्सन।
फर्स्ट पर्सन तो चैट और मॉड्स, अगर कोई मॉड है तो
भाई
uh,
विकास जी उससे ऊपर है भाई, उन्होंने तो पूरा डिटेल में लिखा है, चैट जीपीटी से कॉपी किया सीधा उन्होंने भाई।
बट इतना तो टाइम कहाँ से मिला होगा चैट जीपीटी को?
नहीं किया भाई, ये
भाई
चैट जीपीटी का
आशीष,
आंसर है।
आशीष ने लिख दिया है भाई। I think
आशीष,
Ashish is the first one.
नहीं आशीष, आशीष की अनीश।
आशीष सिंह कपरवान ने 2002 आनंद हैदराबाद, एकदम मतलब रेडी के बाद का ही कमेंट है।
उनका आईडी लिखा है उसमें उन्होंने?
हाँ, ASK173।
आर यू श्योर ही इज द फर्स्ट वन? मॉड्स कैन यू
आई
कंफर्म?
आई थिंक सो भाई, मतलब अगर ये तो
अच्छा
आशीष
हाँ
ने
हाँ हाँ हाँ, राइट 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 राइट, आई
मेरा
आल्सो सी
ब्रेन ही
इट।
हैक कर दिया यार उन्होंने, मतलब
हाँ ही इज द फर्स्ट वन भाई, तो पहले ही लिख दिया था यार।
ये कैसे पॉसिबल है यार?
He knew it. I think that's the only way. He knew it. Yeah, that's the only way
बिकॉज
it's
वी आर
possible.
स्टार्टेड विद चेस वर्ल्ड कप एंड गोवा, मे बी इन अ वे, क्या पता, बट एनीवे। I think
Yeah,
Ashish looks like Ashish Singh. By congratulations, you have won 3 members, na Tiku? 3 months.
3 months. Yes, 3 months. अभी
Yeah,
ऐड कर
three
रहा हूँ मैं.
months membership. So congrats on that. निशांत में बोल रहे भाई चीटिंग हाउ कैन ब्रो बी सो फास्ट फिर आशीष में रिप्लाई कर आई कैन टाइप फास्ट
आई थिंक ही न्यू इट, दैट्स द ओनली वे. अदरवाइज टाइप कहीं भी पेस्ट करोगे तो. चैट अगर 1,000 लाइक हो जाएंगे तो एक और चैलेंज कर सकते हैं 1 महीने का, पर 1,000 लाइक होंगे नहीं, अभी मुश्किल है एक्चुअली. बट या तुम्हारे हाथ में
पॉसिबल
है भाई,
तो है मतलब
तुम्हारे हाथ में है. सबके सब लाइक साथ में दबा देंगे तो अभी हो जाएगा चैलेंज, लिटरली 2 सेकंड में एक और.
भाई आरजी हाँ आरजी मॉड हैज कंफर्म आशीष ही थे
हाँ,
करेक्ट आंसर
कर
वो
दिया, ऐड कर दिया मैंने. वेल डन आशित भाई, कांग्रेट्स
भाई
मेंबरशिप. फायदा उठाओ. बाय द वे क्वीन B7 चेक, किंग H6 एंड क्वीन C8. तो वो कह रहे हैं चलो भाई किंग तुझे थोड़ा मॉर्निंग वॉक पे ले चलूं, तो थोड़ा सा dangerous for Arvind as well. He has to decide, can he go back?
आई थिंक ही हैज टू ना टिको बिकॉज इफ यू अलाउ चेक किंग ऊपर पॉन से चेक एंड द किंग इज इन अ लॉट ऑफ
Yeah,
ट्रबल
yeah, it is actually, I think, close to lost. खत्म हो गया ना गेम, खत्म. क्वीन
ये तो
D7, क्वीन C2, खत्म, ओवर.
king has no squares मतलब yeah
या
you lose the knight and the rook
भाई
GG
ये तो सब कुछ खा गया भाई वाइट पे.
so he has to be careful there
हम्म. So chat, full pressure on Arvind now. He has more time. But I think time दोनों के पास है. They've reached 40 moves. So अभी तक Prag की गेम में क्या हो रहा है? Prag has taken on E4 chat, takes on
हम्म,
E4, rook E8. Oh, this is the idea he had. Ah, but check
एक रुक
दिया तो.
बचा लिया उसने नहीं I'll take rook takes g7 ना
Hmm.
then you are
But you'll take
in
on B2
maybe
also.
हाँ बट वही वो कुछ मीटिंग नेट में अटक जाएगा ना किंग किंग f3 कैन आई गो बिशप e7 और बिशप e1
Ah, but
नहीं
check.
किंग e3 yeah this is also a draw I think
Yeah.
there's nothing to worry
But ठीक है, उसने H7
but yeah
खेला and
Prag
now.
does the safest thing
Yeah, मतलब he holds on to the pawn basically for longer and rook exchange नहीं किया उसने. But it doesn't really solve many issues for white. Like you
ना
still don't
ना
have access to the 7th rank. Um, जब तक रुक यहाँ नहीं आता, I think you have nothing basically.
yeah and I don't think black वो allow करेगा and
Yeah.
आ भी गया तो भी बहुत मुश्किल है दिशन में वन मोर क्वेश्चन या आई थिंक लाइक टिकू भाई सेड 1,000 लाइक्स पे कर देंगे और एक क्वेश्चन
देख,
करेंगे नो
देखो तो
प्रॉब्लम
800
और
वॉचिंग है. हाँ.
या टिकू एंड और एक चलो 1,000 लाइक्स और इफ एनी वन ऑफ दीज टू इंडियंस विन क्योंकि इतना
हाँ.
अनलाइकली है वी कैन
हाँ.
स्टिल डू मतलब यू आर जस्ट हैव टू प्रे इंडियन जीत जाए तो भी करेंगे हम
बट इंडियन जीतने को वेट करना है. अगर अभी 800 लोग देख रहे हैं, अगर सबके सब लाइक दबा दे अभी हो जाएंगे भाई, तो तुम्हारे हाथ में चैट, देख
मैं
लो.
मेरे मॉम के अकाउंट से भी कर लेता हूँ एक सेकेंड ये चैट को देना है यार मेंबरशिप तो देना
By the way, king E2 played, and now maybe rook G6. Maybe he wants to attack this pawn.
है अथर्व भाई हाउ मेनी इंडियंस कैन मेक इट टू कैंडिडेट्स एक ही बार लाइक वी कैन मतलब रीड इट यार स्पैम मत करो प्लीज आई थिंक 3 अगेन 3 वुड बी माय गेस 3 आउट ऑफ 8 टिको व्हाट आर योर
Bhai,
गेसेस फॉर
wait, what?
2026 क्या
Bhai,
हो
he
गया
played H4. That is a gutsy move.
क्यों
भाई
ओ
चेक आएगा तो क्या?
अरविंद अच्छा मुझे लगा
हाँ
नोडेन बैक ओके ओके आई थॉट
भाई,
अरविंद प्लेड एच
allowing king G5, and luckily the rook defends this pawn. एक लिए शॉक लग गया मुझे, ये क्वीन से क्यों नहीं मर रहा है.
डूड ही इज इन अ मूड टू फाइट नहीं तो H4 ऐसे मियर मॉर्टल्स नहीं खेलते हैं
भाई सॉस जन्म में ना खेलूं मैं H4. भाई दैट्स सो स्कैरी. एंड नाउ क्वीन H8 इज नॉट द बेस्ट. इनफैक्ट क्वीन E6 बेस्ट मूव खेली मकसूदलू ने. So basically, if you take, then suddenly it's like white as a pass pawn. You have to reevaluate what's happening. So now what do you do though?
कैन आई लाइक इवन टू गिव योर चेक इज अ प्रॉब्लम मतलब ब्लैक के लिए तो अरविंद की कोशिश तो है बट क्या खेलेगा लाइक H3 तो क्वीन H3 चेक है दैट्स नो
यार ये
गुड
थोड़ा कॉम्प्लिकेट तो हो गया. Like it's not a, if black takes then maybe it's a draw. But otherwise, with
Yeah,
the
yeah,
queens
yeah.
on board, either way this could go, I think.
What is something like Queen D8?
And if d6, bhai.
तब मैं क्वीन चेक सोच रहा था मतलब क्वीन A8 चेक.
Oh,
I mean, I don't know. It's too now. It's getting into the risky territory. Yeah, ये lost है ना. हाँ, आपका किंग ओपन क्वीन H1 चेक आ जाएगा.
wow.
But you have a simple queen D8. जाओ pawn push queen check तो मैं queen से ही रोक सकता हूँ. हाँ.
Hmm.
And then that pawn suddenly is not stopped on a dark square anymore.
Yeah.
क्योंकि अभी ना अगर आप मारो मारो चैट को दिखाता है. And let's say you want to stop the pawn with your knight, then ये bishop b5 आ जाएगा and suddenly you are in some problems.
Yeah.
फिर भी equally है but I would avoid
Huh.
this.
I get it. I get it. I think because Mara be like you have to play Rook K7 now, maybe, and then yeah, I don't want to calculate this as black.
But looking at Arvind, उसको तो भाई लड़ना है ऐसा. He's not here to draw.
By bold move, I'm gonna say from Arvind to kind of
For
keep
sure,
pushing
for
because
sure.
I think I don't know if they have gained their 30 minutes. If this is including, I don't think so, right? No, no, they haven't. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No chance they haven't. क्योंकि अभी क्या 5 o'clock हुआ है ना.
हाँ, 7 o'clock
15.
हो गया, 7:20 हो गया भाई.
अरे हाँ, सॉरी सॉरी. 7:20. तो नहीं, 3:30 बजे गेम स्टार्ट था.
Yeah,
तो
अभी
हाफ एन
नहीं
आवर
है,
तो ऐड नहीं हुआ
ऐड
फर्स्ट.
नहीं हुआ है.
चेक प्रग गेम प्लीज. क्या हो गया मोमेंट में प्रग के गेम? इट लुक्स वेरी
So,
इक्वल.
भाई, actually evaluation has gone up, Rakesh bhai, from 0.01 to 0.03.
आई थिंक आई वुड बी प्रेइंग इफ आई वर प्रग्स फैन नाउ. भाई कुछ भी नहीं होने वाला है इसमें तो. लाइक
By the way, H5 played, King D3, Bishop check, back,
या
back, Bishop C5, A6, and yeah, no improvement so far.
सारे व्हाइट पॉन्स मतलब ब्लैक के सारे पॉन्स लाइट स्क्वायर्स पे आ जाएंगे.
Yeah,
एंड हाउ डू यू इवन कैप्चर दैट मतलब उसके बाद.
yeah, there's nothing you can do actually.
भाई
I
एक
think G7
तरीका है
is,
प्रग जीतने का.
yeah,
अगर
huh.
नोडेरबेक भूल जाए क्लॉक के बारे में तो.
True, but I think, अच्छा, हाँ, actually, दो move pending. Can we go full screen? He has to play two moves in 40 seconds
एंड
actually. Can we go full screen, भाई?
30 seconds नाउ. प्रग एक्टिंग. हाँ, क्या चल रहा है
हाँ,
भाई?
कुछ नहीं
कट
हो रहा भाई,
कट रही
कुछ
है
नहीं हो रहा,
जिंदगी.
कुछ नहीं हो रहा, कुछ नहीं हो रहा. हाँ, चिल है यार. नेटफ्लिक्स पे
हाँ,
क्या चल रहा है आजकल यार? ओह यार,
थोड़ा
खांसी आ
खास
रही है
लेता हूँ.
यार. व्हाट्स
भाई
हैपनिंग इन
20
द चैलेंज,
सेकेंड.
चैलेंजर सेक्शन में क्या हो रहा है भाई? ओ भाई, वो देख याकूब भाई, क्या गेम है वहां पे.
20 seconds.
सोच ले याकूब भाई, थोड़ा भी श्योर यार. किंग D3,
नहीं नहीं, he's at
एक और चेक आएगी
26:50
एंड द
GM.
बिशप विल बी बैक आई थिंक.
Yeah, absolutely nothing to be worried about. मतलब यहाँ पे. I think we will stick to this. Then, Atiko, I would like to ask you the candidates question once again. एक बार ये
हाँ,
टाइम
हाँ.
कंट्रोल रीच हो गया तो.
आई थिंक ये गेम तो ड्रॉ ही है. इफ दिस गेम इज द लास्ट वन रिमेनिंग, लाइक वी कैन इवन एंड द स्ट्रीम. आई थिंक अरविंद गेम इज मोर इंटरेस्टिंग. आई गेट अ
Dude,
फीलिंग कि हाँ
I mean, we should go to Arvind's game because भाई उसने तीसरा ही मूव खेला है.
भाई.
अरविंद, भाई
Oh,
क्या
it's a
चल रहा
perpetual
है?
now. It's a perpetual now. So Queen F6, Queen D2, Queen H8 check, King G5, and Queen E5 draw. It's a first draw.
Yeah, and Queen E4 check also incoming. Queen D2 played
Okay,
and
so I
draw
think,
incoming.
yeah, draw incoming, Queen H8 check, King G5. No way White can play, right? I don't think so. White can play.
नहीं नहीं भाई, ऐसे उनको देख के भी नहीं लग रहा कि परम भाई को खेलना भी है. और
Yeah, it's a draw. He can actually play with GH4 if he wants to, but it's a risky proposition. I think he should just take the draw now.
या इट्स दोनों प्लेयर्स को पता है. सो नो, ही स्टिल
Yeah,
हैविंग अ थिंग बट आई डोंट थिंक he'll play it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think, Chad, that will be the second draw among the Indian players. So a safer day today. And इसके बाद Rakesh, I think what we'll do is we'll go to the Prag game once. We'll see if there's any chances, and then we end the stream because I think that game is a draw. उसमें कुछ होने नहीं वाला. याकूब भाई को जहां तक
Sure,
जानता हूँ
sure.
भाई, वो भी 30 मिनट मिलेंगे तो 30 मिनट और सोचेंगे भाई, और कुछ नहीं निकलना उस गेम का. But I think kudos to Arvind though for pushing here. That h4 move was crazy. Yeah, I think it needed guts to kind of decide कि okay, I'm gonna push as black here.
आई थिंक H4 वाली मूव और याकूबोव का टाइम, मतलब 40 seconds फॉर टू मूव्स वगैरह, दैट वुड हैव बीन क्रेजी. बट परम के
हाँ.
पास काफी टाइम था, सो इट डिडंट वर्क आउट.
Yeah, yeah, true, true, true. If basically Yakubov was white here, there could have been something happening. But Param had a lot of time, and he just outcalculated any sort of trap Arvind could set up. And Arvind gets a draw. I think he should be relatively happy with it. I think he had a loss there. The last thing you want to do is lose two in a row. Draws kind of
या
stabilize you, give you confidence, especially with black. And tomorrow, by the way, कल की pairing बहुत interesting है. So tomorrow, I'm going to tell you the pairings chat quickly. It is Prag against Sindarov. Prag has white. It is Arjun against Nodirbek Abdusattarov. Arjun has white. That's going to be a star match tomorrow. And it is Arvind against Napo. Arvind is white. So it's very, like, I think the strongest round so far for Indian players tomorrow, Rakesh. And all three are white.
करेक्ट करेक्ट. So definitely expecting some wins there for our boys,
Yeah.
Tiku. And uh, before this tournament, Arvin was actually higher rated than Nepo, but अभी
Huh.
with वो एक loss के बाद suddenly he's the low rated. So very
Yeah.
interesting how the ratings are also changing every day.
Yeah, and that's the point, right? It's इतना strong event है, world के top players खेल रहे हैं, and everything changes every single day. And I think जो परम भाई सोच रहे हैं उसमें अगर वो थोड़ा घुस गए तो suddenly Arvind could win. So he better just take that draw. It is possible to play GH4 here. That is a possibility, but it's not a
कितना परसेंट चांस है मतलब?
nice zero. I think zero because if you take this, there is Rook G4 check, and you might think this is equal, but I mean then Queen D4 has to be played
नहीं,
apparently.
याकोबोव तो खड़ा हो गया, आई थिंक हो गया, हाँ 40 में हो गए इसके लिए.
हाँ, अब वो सोचेगा
अब वो चिल
फिलहाल के.
करेगा, हाँ.
हाँ. आई
ब्रो
थिंक
हट
दिस इज द
जाओ ना,
मोमेंट.
कैमरा के सामने हो आप. या थैंक्स.
भाई. हाँ भाई.
भाई ये तो क्लिप बन सकता है यार, मतलब
नहीं 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 नहीं
डियर
नहीं, रहने दो
एडिटर.
भाई. नहीं 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 नहीं, रहने दो ये. नहीं नहीं नहीं.
But yeah, I think Param about to take the draw with Queen H8.
Yeah.
I would be very
The thing is that
surprised if anything
in some
else.
cases this might be okay for white to play on, but the white king is actually like the thing is, for example, there's one variation GH4, Rook G4 check, King F3, and Queen D4. This is the only equalish way for black to play. And now you take, and you lose the pawn, or you can even give this check first. Queen D3 check, King H7, and you can actually keep playing this. Yeah, you can see how the game still goes on, Rakesh. By D6, Rook H4, the game still goes on. But I think it's risky for both, too risky for both players somehow.
इसमें और हारने का डर तो व्हाइट के पास ही है ना हमेशा.
हाँ, हाँ.
हाउ इज व्हाइट प्लेइंग ऑन, मतलब वो मेरे को
Yeah,
नहीं समझ में आ रहा.
yeah, yeah. Like you will have to hope for an elementary blunder from Arvind, which he has shown zero signs he'll make.
नहीं नहीं, हाँ टाइम भी कम नहीं है. ब्लिट्ज गेम
Yeah.
होता तो कर सकते थे,
हाँ,
बट
हाँ, फिर कर सकते थे. True.
नॉट इन क्लासिकल दो. Yeah, like I think Tiku bhai, you mentioned we'll wait for this and then we can kind of
Yeah.
wrap up.
पेन नीचे रखा उन्होंने.
पूरा
एंड
गेम टिको भाई, मतलब चैट ऐसे डरा रही है, बट कुछ हो नहीं रहा है वहां
by lot has changed. So Rook has changed his square from d4 to d8
पे.
with zero changes in the actual position. I would just play Rook f6 and Rook f7 and ask White कि क्या plan है भाई आपका. There's no plan भाई.
Yeah, yeah, this is very easily holdable, I think.
What White needs is this pawn to be pushed, then the king coming up. Even then, I'm not sure how do you push it further. Like you really need the pawn to go to e6. If the pawn goes to e6, then it's winning, I think. तब तक के लिए, yeah, it's not gonna work. Too hopeful, I think. By the way, check given, king g5. So we are seeing repetition chat.
Yeah,
Now he
draw
can play this
incoming.
with check again. एक और चेक है यहाँ पे भाई. इट इज पॉसिबल टू डू दिस
Ooh.
राकेश भाई. GH4 चेक.
And can Arvind then try to play on, somehow?
चेक. क्वीन D8 चेक भी है. किंग F5.
Oh, give up
क्वीन
your rook,
F8
but take.
check. King E4. Queen E7 check. King D4. This is lost. So King F5. Queen E6 check. King G5 and back to this variation. So I think there's no point actually.
एक ही है, GH4.
हाँ.
Black can't go king F4 क्योंकि queen H6 check में आपकी queen मर जाएगी. So that is the
Ooh.
only line which
Yeah.
black has to be wary of.
So you see these variations, you feel like playing GH4. Now you feel like doing this, but of course you can't expect Arvind to blunder that. So I think practically taking the draw is Janit Majari. Let's go.
And also, bhai, bottom right पे if you see, same accuracy,
Yeah.
96.6 for both. Parham with three brilliancies and one blunder. तो वो
Yeah.
kind of even out हो गया और फिर उसके बाद
Uh, हाँ. In fact, there was a time in दो बार repeat किया था and then Param played on and then he kind of blundered and Arvind couldn't capitalize on it. So he did miss
yeah,
another opportunity today, slightly. So कहीं ना कहीं पे when he goes back, there's something to ponder over. Like there was a golden opportunity there. He missed that one. And he hurried with that move actually. Rook C6 possible thought it could have taken more time. He had a lot of time and but this one was not as crazy as yesterday, of course. That was a heartbreaking loss. This is still okay, I think.
correct. Yeah, and also, uh, you'll take it after losing a game.
Yeah.
Draw against a strong player like Param is not bad. भाई ये टाइम कैसे बढ़ गया यार. थैंक यू देवी जी फॉर आंसरिंग दैट क्वेश्चन. 40 मूव्स के बाद ना बोथ प्लेयर्स गेट 30 मिनट्स ईच. So that's why
हाँ. Basically, परम
that's
का
why
टाइम
I
जीरो
added
चला
it.
गया ना. So that's why you see it happening now. जब जीरो
Correct.
जाता है and this can be a bit freaky sometimes. Like you can think कि 40 मूव हो गया है कुछ something and you don't see the time on your clock. You're confused कि भाई हुए तो clock sometimes होता है ना कि like it doesn't register a move or something. तो you feel a
Yeah, I
bit
don't like that
confused.
actually. मतलब इतना
हाँ.
तो अपन 2025 में है. So there should be a way where the time gets added automatically after the 40th.
हाँ जी भाई adding the cam वो अभी भी बंद हुआ. Adding it. Battery changing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Arvin getting up now. I think pretty fair.
हाँ मतलब कुछ है ही नहीं ज्यादा.
Yeah. Param is shaking his head, but honestly, I don't think he was ever like better in this entire game. So not much to like worry about from Param's side.
Yeah. Yep.
आखिर कुछ कैंडिडेट से सवाल पूछने वाले थे. अब क्या लगता है भाई कौन क्वालिफाई करेगा कैंडिडेट्स में?
हाँ सर, क्वेश्चन टू यू एंड ऑल्सो टू चैट. एक पहला क्वेश्चन, कितने इंडियंस होंगे 8 में से, और सेकेंडली कौन होंगे वो आपके हिसाब से.
I think तीन होंगे. Three is my answer. I think we answered this on day one also. I think तीन इंडियन होंगे. अर्जुन प्रग कंफर्म्ड. उसके अलावा कोई एक जरूर क्वालिफाई करेगा. इट कुड बी
गुकेश को
अरविंद
जरूरत ही नहीं है खेलने की, तो ही इज आउट.
हाँ. हाँ.
फिर
सो इट कुड
तीसरा
बी
कौन
अरविंद.
होगा?
तीसरा वही अरविंद स्लैश विदित स्लैश निहाल स्लैश लाइक वन ऑफ दीज गाइस विच इज विल नॉट प्ले ऑफ कोर्स. तो बाकी
करेक्ट.
सब में से आई थिंक यही होगा. कोई एक बंदा कोई भी हो सकता है. आई थिंक थ्री. हाउ मेनी डू यू थिंक राकेश भाई?
Yeah, 3 is my answer as well, and Arjun Prag confirmed. Third, I think Arvind would be able to make it, is my guess. Just looking at
हम्म.
the form and everything.
आई थिंक हमेशा यही है कि लाइक यू नीड दैट वन टूर्नामेंट चाहे वर्ल्ड कप हो ग्रैंड स्लैम जहां पे यू
हाँ.
आर जस्ट प्लेइंग फ्लॉलेस चेस. जैसे विदित खेला
Yeah,
ना ग्रैंड स्लैम में. लाइक Arvind
correct.
has never done that before. Like he's shown signs of mistakes, so it might be a bit more difficult, but it is doable. I think he can pull it off, but it will
Yeah,
take
but
a
this is also
Herculean effort.
like Arvind was gaining rating, but we were there to go by Chennai GM when he won.
Huh.
And then, oh, GH4, by the way.
What?
What?
Why? Okay, he has seen it. Yeah, Arvind is like, why? Apun dekh liya ye.
हाँ,
He's
एकदम
not worried.
तुरंत. Rook H4, Queen D8.
King F5, only move by the way.
I
But
instantly played. उसको पता है ये draw. And
हाँ.
now,
Okay, he takes the rook. Ah, he's going to the pawn end game, yeah? Queen
correct.
F2. Queen takes F2 and I pick up King E5 and I'm in time to pick up the pawn. अर्जुन पहले देख के बैठा है सब. But fair enough. I think good try from Paramna. Like worth trying this out. There's no harm.
True, true, yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna see a pawn in game. King तक खेलेंगे भाई लोग.
I think king into pawn can Param can also push the pawn. And there you
Ah,
go, he
nice.
does it. Because
Yeah,
Arbitr's नए स्कोर शीट लेके आए जिसकी कोई जरूरत नहीं है. Because game will end soon.
पर उसने ही pawn दे दिया भाई. बढ़िया है भाई.
Perfect.
या मेरे सामने जैसे pawn नहीं देते राकेश भाई, ये मेरे सामने क्यों नहीं देते pawn ऐसे? भाई, मेरे को भी एक तो pawn देते, मैं भी draw कर लेता.
अरे
But
वो
okay.
यहाँ तक पहुंचता ही नहीं है ना आपका गेम.
True, true, true. But a decent result, I think, for both players. I think both players had a moment where
Correct.
they messed it up, but at the end, a fair result. And Arvind should be relatively happy with that draw after that loss yesterday. And the game was quite interesting, though. Both players pushed till the very end, Rakesh bhai.
Yeah, king तक बचा है. Like how what more fight do you want? And 97.1 accuracy for both players.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I think kudos for the fighting spirit of both the players. And can we have just a quick look to Noderbeck and Rapo? मतलब I know
Yeah.
cameras नहीं है, but सिर्फ position
हाँ हाँ
काफी
हाँ
घमासान युद्ध के बाद. अरे अच्छा वो कैमरास तो इनके ही आ रहे हैं ना, एलन के.
हाँ. बट बोर्ड सही है, बोर्ड सही है भाई.
बोर्ड सही है ना, बट इट्स वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग क्योंकि दोनों ही साइड के पास पास पॉन्स है. बट या वाइट इज just in winning because the knight is very bad against these side pawns. उसकी
Yeah.
वजह से.
And bishop b2 only move t, stopping the a pawn and also preparing bishop c1. So only move. And now I think it is over. Bishop c1, bishop g5. And okay, you just in time. You just in time, yeah. So let's say I don't know what you do. कि यहाँ पे क्या ही करोगे? Black has no moves actually.
Yeah, black has no moves. Yeah, king
King g8.
g8 and
Now
king
knight
अगर आप
g5,
पास में लोगे
bishop
bishop
c1,
c1.
king g6, bishop
You,
g5, king
yeah, you can
g5
take
h7, tuck, 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 and tuck, 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 khatam.
खत्म.
So that is a win for Nodibek, who will lead the event after 3 rounds. And final look at the Prague game chat. We're going to end the stream in a minute around. Not much has happened since then. Couple of checks. Bishop comes to d4. And I think White has kind of got the bishop to where he wanted. But there is
Hmm.
no way. And the rook is trapped now, Rakesh bhai. And the rook is trapped. Why?
Yeah,
I think Nodibek बहुत जल्दी हाथ बढ़ाने वाला है आगे. मुझे लग रहा है.
correct. And there is no target now for the white pieces basically. सारे प्रग का अगला मूव मतलब वो अभी तक रुका है, बट रुक e6 आके अगर पॉन g6 कर दिया उसने, देन आप कोई
हाँ.
पॉन ही नहीं खा पाओगे ना ब्लैक का, तो आगे कैसे बढ़ोगे? सो
Yeah.
draw
Yeah.
incoming here in very very quick time.
Yeah, I think it is a draw chat. So we're gonna stay here for 30 seconds and then we end the stream. Rakesh bhai, day 4 tomorrow, 3 Indians. It is Arjun against I think it was Nodirbek, right? Arjun Nodirbek. Nodirbek leading the event. Arjun in second place. And then we have Arvind against Nepo. So क्या लग रहा है उन दोनों गेम्स में
Wow.
क्या होगा?
I think Arjun versus Noderbek will be the game of the day. मतलब पहले से
Hmm.
I would like to predict that for tomorrow.
Uh,
I think Arjun is white will push, but a draw I think so in that one. Arvind
hmm.
or Nepo में Arvind is going to win. I feel somehow there is some something's gonna happen. Something's gonna give in
Yeah.
that. So ऐसे लग रहा है Arvind should win that. And then Prag का किसका था?
Prag, I think, is playing. Let me confirm. Prag is playing Sindarov actually.
Yeah, and Prague is white. So,
Yeah.
Prague will have two draws with the black pieces after this. First white game जीते, second
Hmm.
white game में भी अभी जीतना चाहेंगे, I feel. So I
Hmm.
think Prague will win against Sindaro is my
Yeah.
prediction there.
Yeah. सावे और ऑब्जेक्टिव विनिंग अगेंस्ट अर्जुन इन क्लासिकल गेम भाई, तब वो 2400 था. अब वो 400 पॉइंट बढ़ा गया और मेरे 4 पॉइंट कम हो गए. सो आई थिंक दैट्स अ डिफरेंस. एंड बट इट्स अ गुड मेमोरी. आई थिंक गेम ड्रॉ हुई थी, सो इट्स अ नाइस मेमोरी. अच्छी गेम थी वो. But yeah, so Rakesh bhai, I think thanks for joining. I think we're gonna end the stream because इसमें कुछ होने नहीं वाला. This is going to be a draw. And chat, we are going to see you tomorrow. So same time around 3:40 p.m. And दोनों प्लेयर्स कह रहे हैं कहाँ जा रहे हैं दो कमेंटेटर्स. गेम तो हुई नहीं है भाई, बट ड्रॉ ही है भाई. याकूब वालों को समझाओ भाई, ड्रॉ हो चुकी है, समझ नहीं रहा बंदा. वेरी बेस्ट. Chat, we'll see
Yeah,
you
but
tomorrow.
kudos on him for also
हाँ
trying. Matlab, it's
हाँ.
his right to try. But yeah, chat game is anyway drawn. And Tiku bhai, आप बोल रहे थे 340 कल, yeah?
Yeah, 3:40. We'll see you chat tomorrow again. Sunday hoga, so we're gonna chat three top Indian players with the white pieces. कल तीनों जीत जाए तो क्या मस्त संडे बन जाएगा भाई, मजा आ जाएगा भाई.
Super Sunday. Kal.
हाँ. So Rakesh bhai, thank you for joining. Neil bhai, amazing broadcast. We're gonna see you tomorrow. Chat. Take care. Bye bye and good night.